greed from Meliodas right now. There's no reason, just apart from the tower, he wanted the EXP, he wanted to see if maybe he could get a couple of pot shots with a fadeaway axe, but in the end, it smashes him. Now 2-0 on this Aurelia.
So again, a matchup where we thought Seros was at least looking good in those trades. Boss springboarded up in that 1v1 as he picks up the teammate and walks himself back towards the lane.
And again, I kind of want to focus in as things are settling on the top side. I'm not back to this bot side. Something that's really cool about how this Nautilus is going to interact with the Heimerdinger is now that Heimer has completed his lost chapter, although I may have told it, it's Santos looking for a gank, has flash.
Null the target, no cleanse up, but does have the flash as you mentioned, so just fine there.
Yeah, trying to find that window. Is that if Heimer is going to be so far forward down the lane, has the mana to sustain that so he can be constantly pushed. With a Nautilus ultimate, it makes it so devastating to be on that long of a lane because you have immediate hard CCs. Taking another look at this one here.
I mean, they tried something, but the CC was there. Easy follow-up, and then just a quick Q there from Boss to finish it off. This is what you're mentioning, though. Greed here from Meliodas.
Yeah, and, you know, maybe he gets a hold of Boss. He's able to turn that one around. Now hit.
To no man's forced to flash away, but there's the follow. Killer instinct again from Big Koro, although it's Null that gets the credit.
Big Koro is unlocked and ready.
Yeah, this bot lane, we talked about maybe in the 2v2 they can find some traction. Well, they did that, and now they're moving that advantage over the map. Again, Nautilus, a champion that we may be expected to rise in priority.
Null the target.
Support,
no
don't get as much damage, but the CC is still certainly there.
But this is what
Just
we want from Santax, who has the, superior roam is going to be with the Galio versus the Nautilus. He wants him unlocked from his lane, assisting with dives like that. But unfortunately, just hasn't found the same traction that Pallet has.
Decent block there, using the turret. Now a TP coming in from Vega. Pallet going to be the target. Ignited by Santos, his boss. The big strong member is going to try and get himself a Nautilus. Close but not there. Gadget though finds the missiles. Now a 2v3, make it 4v3 as the rest of PVB have made their way down. Santos channeling the W to try and buy some time. There's the Vanguard Death from Boss, but it won't delay the death of Gadget. Now the dive coming out. Not going to follow just yet, but have to be careful here for Aurelia.
But again, Big Koro picking up more of these kills. Now 4-0 on the Kai'Sa, has the completed Blade of the Rune King, probably going for a 2-item power spike as we normally see on Kai'Sas. Just a bit of a different order here, and picking up more plates. So this is right on track for PVB to start running away with this game.
Yeah, plates go over as Zeros and Big Koro collect some of that gold. Boss will stay for the wave because Gadget decided he's had enough of that Nautilus. He's going to move from the bot lane in towards the top. Rift Herald also channeled. Nanasik did at least get that when all the bot action was happening.
I'm just curious, normally when you make a play like this and you give so many plates over to a champion, it is something like a Kai'Sa, maybe one of your top laners in Aurelia or Jace, like that feels so impactful. On the likes of Heimer, I don't know the champion intimately well enough to decide if that's a good call. Like we just gave Gadget all of this gold, he's already far behind. It feels like he has a lot of not utility, but like frustration built into his kit that he doesn't necessarily need to be that nuke, but we'll now pay attention to Gadget. His team prioritized him there with the Rift Herald call, and he better start hitting really hard to get back in the game.
Yeah, Boss also
Let's go over.
trouble. Currently in a bit of a situation with the Pallet.
Gold. Boss will stay for the
Found the
wave.
friends of Vega running down,
had
but
enough of that
really
Nautilus. He's going to move from the bot lane
trying to find a
into
kill,
the
won't
top.
grab it, but will at least try and pressure for a second
at least
turret.
get
All
that when all the bot
actually.
action was happening.
Yeah, just trying to
I'm
get
just
some
curious,
control
normally when you
over
make a
this
play
area,
like this and you
unfortunately,
give
with
so
no
many plates
dragon
over to a
spawn,
champion,
I think
it
PVB
is
are
something
investing
like
a bit too heavily
like
down
a
bottom
Kai'Sa,
because
maybe one of
Vega
the
in the
top
last
laners
3
in
minutes have
Aurelia
actually
or
made
Jace,
better
that feels
macro
so
rotations, I
impactful.
feel.
On the
Not
likes
necessarily
of
winning
Heimer,
those
I don't know
skirmishes,
if
but
he's
taking down top
intimately
tower
well
and
enough
taking
to
good
decide
chunk
if
damage.
that's a
Certainly
good
one
call.
of the
Like we
things
just
that
gave
Heimer is
Gadget
good
all
at.
of this gold,
Does
he's
drop
already
the
far
ulti
behind.
turret to get a
He has a lot
decent
of
chunk of damage onto the turret and collect himself,
utility,
get
like
another plate.
frustration built
So
into his
despite
kit
being
that
down
doesn't necessarily
20
need to be that
CS or
nuke,
so,
but
that's a very
we'll now
large
pay
influx of
attention to
gold, and
Gadget. His team
Aludin's now
prioritized him there
completed
with the
there
Rift
for the
Herald
Heimer.
call, and he better start hitting
Just kind of one of
really
those
hard
things
to
where,
get back in the game.
if you see
Yeah,
Aludin's
boss
come
also
out on a
go
champion
over.
who's
Rumble.
struggling to
Currently
find a way there,
in a
you see
situation
Aludin
with
that
Pallet,
work
Gold
that
Boss will
that
stay
one.
for the wave.
Now
Gadget
Vega
decided
running
he's
down
had
on
enough of that
Heimer,
Nautilus.
already
He's
has
going to
a
move from the bot lane
Trying to
into
find a
the
kill,
top.
won't grab it, but will
Again,
at least
I'm
try and
all
pressure
eyes
for
on
a
Gadget.
second
The
turret.
team
all the bot
made a
action
conscious
was
effort to
happening.
try to get him back
I'm just
to
curious,
by
normally when you make a play like this and you give so many
into
plates
dragons.
over
I
to a
don't know if that's
champion, it
necessarily
is
a right
something
call with these different champions.
Yeah, again, if they continue to pay attention, I think Boss, who is ahead in this situation, also might wish that he had some support around him. We've seen that Zeros is capable of playing when he doesn't have support, and still making sure he plays safe enough to not do too much silly stuff. See if Boss has kind of afforded the same luxury, because again, imagine if the plate went over to him, maybe that Triforce is now done, and you could start playing a little bit more aggressively. As it is, I think, with this Heimer being quite strong, playing for this next Drake might be fairly important, and it is going to be an Infernal as PVB already grabbed that first cloud.
Yeah, and they're also moving in, making sure that they get control of the scuttle. They want to have priority over into this mid lane. Maybe they hunt for a pick here. Pallet looking to go fishing.
Zeros does get some poke onto No Man's, but PVB going to group and try and do some structure damage. Plates have dropped off, but still want to try and take the objective if you can.
They do need to be respectful though, because Big Koro, their big cannon right now, is still down into that bottom lane, so they don't want to force too heavy of a fight unless someone just really steps out of bounds, unless he's with the squad.
Right now, they're just happy to try and take a turret for himself and continue to extend that gold lead. 4 out of 6 kills do belong to Big Koro, and a bit of extra gold there coming from the turret as well.
Yeah, and he should or be really close to his Rage Blade now, so it feels like we should stall this Infernal with your PVB until he has access to those 2 items, and then he's going to feel really comfortable walking into that scenario. Whereas for Vega Squadron, it's kind of the same thing if they want to contest for it, where you need to walk into the area early, clear out a lot of the vision, and then just start setting up your Heimer turrets. He's kind of like a champion like Gangplank, where, you know, when he's reacting to a fight, unless he hits his rockets, he's not going to bring much. If he gets there early and he has his setup, then he feels a lot more viable as a champion.
I mean, if you have the vision, Heimer plus Zoe seems like a pretty good area of influence to have when you're trying to take an objective, and Vega did actually take the time to push down the mid outer, so they still stay up in the lead as far as towers go. But with 10 seconds remaining on this Infernal, buys have come in. No major completed items just yet, at least not the Rage Blade we might have expected, but certainly a fight will be had for this objective.
Yeah, which is why Null's just trying to get priority. Maybe
Ooh,
caught.
Shockwave onto Boss does a decent chunk of damage, but Null will not have that cooldown now.
Yeah, that's massive, not having access to a big burst here. It feels like it'll change PvP's playstyle here, where they just run full steam ahead into this fight, versus this is really about trying to draw Vega Squadron out and threatening pressure on the mid tower, which is why you see them cutting upwards. But like, without Shockwave, we can't fight this unless it's a perfect scenario.
Yeah, and you gotta go, because as you said, walking into a Heimer with no vision doesn't feel like a particularly fun scenario. So the Infernal Drake will go over to Vega. PVB will trade for the mid-outer turret. And gold is staying relatively close. Phong Buffalo up about 2,000 gold. Zeros will extend that lead as they actually take the turret lead for the first time this game as he finishes that off. And also, Boss, don't know what you're doing there, but that's an easy pick off.
TP.
In fact, Santa's completed that, now forced to flash away. Zeros going to come in and try and change the play. Olaf already popped the Ragnarok, but Zeros there with a flanking jet. An absolutely massive accelerated shock blast. Make sure Gadget's demise is felt. And now another sick knockback. Big Koro finds the ulti there in, and that's going to be yet another kill. In fact, make it almost an ace. It's just Santa's that survives.
And the devastating thing is that Vega Squadron had placed all of their vision to control the Infernal, but they didn't exit to the correct side, and they didn't have vision to spot out anywhere else that PvE were. Maybe they thought they went for a reset. Maybe they thought that they skirted up towards the top of the map. But Boss overextends, and the trigger is immediately pulled.
Again, your poke champion's far away in Fog of War, great. Your champion's next to a Nautilus with way more of the enemy team around than you, not a great idea. So watch this one again. I mean, Boss, just a greedy recall here.
Right on vision too. Yeah, you hate to see it, and then immediately the dog pile on top. Santos is trying to get in there, trying to save his top laner. Ultimately, it just baits out the rest of his team where they try to hang around, and Zeros doesn't hesitate. Immediately the teleport comes through, and he finds them on the back half with massive Jace damage.
Nice target selection as well. Knew they could try and chase for 2 targets and do so successfully. Phong Buffalo certainly have not lost their luster for blood throughout this tournament.
It's my favorite type of team. And watching Phong Buffalo, we were having this conversation earlier, Patient Time. I was like, you know what they kind of remind me of? They kind of play a little bit like the Flash Wolves.
Yeah, Flash Cubs.
Yeah, where they unlock themselves really early from the lanes. They like to skirmish. It feels a lot like rotating priority around plates and rotating priority around Rift Herald, especially early on. And I kind of have a feeling that if you are Team Liquid versus Phong Buffalo, and you are Vega Squadron versus Flash Wolves, that it makes sense that you would cross-scrim. And so I assume that PvP probably scrimmed a lot with the Flash Wolves.
And again, if that team was good enough to pretty convincingly take down Vega, at least in this first game, warning bells are starting to ring a little. Next Drake will be up in a few minutes. It will be Infernal number 2. Phong Buffalo up about 5,000 gold, pretty substantial, as we're not quite at 19 minutes through this game. And again, Vega, despite all their creativity and the way they were able to pick up the pace throughout their playing group stage, they were not as good when behind. And I think the long game they eventually lost over to Mega is kind of a sign of a team that went ahead, they seem good. Went behind, they can maybe struggle to find their way back into the game.
And the reality is like you were just saying, there was only one game where they really fell behind, so they didn't get a lot of immediate practice with it on this international stage. And specifically for this composition, it just hurts. Whenever assassins like, not assassins, well, no, I'll call Zoe an assassin. She's a mage, assassin, wave clear priority, utility bot. She's fun. She's not fun, that was sarcasm. When you have someone like Zoe who doesn't have 100-0 kill pressure on something, she loses a lot of her valuability across the map. For this composition, it just hurts. Whenever assassins like, not assassins, well, to prioritize gadget, like getting access. No, I'll call Zoe an assassin. She's a mage, assassin, wave clear priority, utility bot. She's fun. She's not fun. That was sarcasm. When you have someone like Zoe who doesn't have 100-0 kill pressure on something, she loses a lot of her valuability across the map, where she just becomes kind of a utility choke bot. And so maybe that's why they decided to prioritize gadget, like getting access to gold so he can do really nice line damage with his rockets. Because think about this, if No Man's isn't able to kill anyone on PVB, which a lot of them have shields, a lot of them are naturally tanky, he's basically looking for Kaisa and hopefully that's it, then you need to have the follow-up damage from the timer, that if a Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands on someone, something has to nuke someone.
So PVB are setting up for this next stroke, up at a minute 10 for the Infernal. And Vega Squadron very bold, farming in their own jungle here, to be honest. Probably going to try and start the fight up again. It stands as it's rooted there by the passive. Redemption goes down. Depth charge is going to be stasis down. Boss there on the run with a good Vanguard dead. Zeros throwing a rampage. Takes down another sick. No Man's able to get a trade kill, but Nor finds another as Gadget goes down. PVB blinking low, but not dead. They will get a trade, but a shutdown and an ace across the board for the Phong Buffalo.
Just absolutely obliterated right there. Big Koro with the confidence that he ults into the middle of all of that action happening right now. But 3 members still alive. The creep wave behind them and knocking on the base door.
Would have been happy to get a kill and take the Infernal in 30 seconds. They'll be even happier to take this inhibitor at 21 minutes. In fact, Phong Buffalo might not be going too far after this. Looks like they will back off. Timers are still a little low. But all of a sudden, Vega's job was already very difficult. Now it's borderline impossible.
But you said it, you called it. You know, why are you farming in your jungle right now when you were so far behind? There is free access to gold across the map. You don't need to be in there. Now, they take the fight. You can look anywhere on your screen and kind of pick something cool that's happening. And by cool, I mean just a lot of explosions. Particularly the fact that Gadget really didn't have any impact on that team fight because he was immediately caught out by Null's Oriana.
Yeah, it's got zoned by the Ori.
It's bold.
And now Vega are doing their thing we just told them maybe not to do. But now they have a... No, they don't even have a man advantage. They're going to start this Infernal though, and Phong Buffalo are going to make them pay. Zeros already with a massive shock blast. Gadget at 50% health. Shockwave finds 2 and Adasic dead. Can't take the Drake now. Vega, what are you doing there?
Trying to fight from the back. It's bold. That's all I got for it. It's bold.
I mean, maybe at this point you feel like the game is far enough out of reach that you have to do something desperate, but that seems reckless.
I think you're trying to drive tempo where you assume that maybe PVB have made a hard reset and you can take the dragon before they get back onto the map. You look at something like Heimerdinger, it should be able to clean up dragons or monster objectives very quickly, and it's just kind of the wrong gamble. They did manage to disengage safely, although as I say that,
you can kind of tell the kind of...
Ow.
Now, Zeros is quite the character. He's the kind of guy that, you know, if emotes were enabled, you'd see them all the time on top of this guy's head, I think. He just flashed shock blasted over the wall, and then didn't even follow, just assumed Gadget would die from the poke. Gadget lives, so thankfully for him now with the Zhonya's Hourglass, might feel a little bit safer, but you can kind of tell the kind of swagger that Zeros is playing with right now. This team feels very comfortable.
And it's not just Zeros, it's also Big Koro. We talked about the last team fight. He immediately triggered the Kaisa ultimate to get into the thick of it. And it just feels like all of PVB really bounced back from the loss against TL yesterday. And whether that's, you know, hometown advantage, the fact that this is maybe a stylistic mismatch, a very fast team versus a very controlled kind of outthink team. But they're looking good today.
Certainly in this game, as they will pick up the Baron and move themselves ever closer to the 10,000 gold lead mark, up about 8 or 9k, with a Magi's finish there by Null. Looks like he needed some reading to do. They'll take the blue buff away and look to try and start the push here on the bot lane, as Zeros going to run down and escort those minions in with the Baron buff.
Yeah, it looks like we're pivoting between mid and bot lane, although that was a pretty healthy chunk
2.5 minutes, that's actually
maybe
quite a lot of
to
time.
Boss
also realizes he's in the wrong neighborhood. Does get the stun down, but just Blue Buffalo are too
You know,
far
press his
forward.
buttons, I think, at that point. Because they'll take the blue buff away and look to try and start the push here on the bot lane as Zeros going to run down and escort those minions in with the Baron buff.
Yeah, it looks like we're pivoting between mid and bot lane, although that was a pretty healthy chunk taken out of Pallet, so maybe hope still left there for the Vega Squadron.
Again, if you're going to get something done, you have to do it from a distance or find a pick-off if someone from the Phong Blue Buffalo are too far forward. To their credit, they've played pretty disciplined, I have to think, this game. Been nice and well together, taking opportunities very swiftly. And again, if you want to compare this team favorably to the Flash Wolves, they're a team that, you know, pulls the trigger as soon as they see an opportunity, and I do see that kind of crispness in this first game for PVB.
It was one of the nice takeaways from yesterday's series between Vega and Flash Wolves is that it felt like PVB have a bit of a Flash Wolves-like-esque style about them. Again, opening up maps, very skirmish heavy, rotating around and skirmishing over monster objectives.
Alright, well, Vega will give up that inhibitor tower. Guess I don't feel like...
Get eaten alive right now. You're watching
Gonna run down.
but you know, unless No Man's really tags significantly mid and bot lane, although that they don't have a lot of consistent hard engage. It's, you know, an Anasik, good luck. We will remember you fondly. Go in.
And then Santos usually follows and probably meets the same fate. I mean, they have cooldowns up, they can maybe try and look for a flank, but even those control wards moved up to support that seed from PVB. Just again shows this is a team that does their homework before they, you know, attempt anything too risky. Yes, they go at you quickly when they're trying to end the game or start an objective, but still make sure they do the little things first. And in this absolutely massive lead,
I was curious what Little Gadget was up to right there. I feel like
what's some fun?
he was trying to. I actually think he was trying to assassinate Big Koro. He had an Anasik behind him. Speaking of that,
Boss is going to get 1v1 by Zeros, top lane matchup, which looked good when Boss was 2-0-1, is now certainly not that.
is it a 1v1 or is it an assassination? I feel like
I think if you have a Dustblade and you get a kill in a 1v1, I agree with you, it is an assassination.
I just feel like if you never get the opportunity to punch back, that's not a fight.
It's a stealth kill. Alright, well, top tier 2 is dead. That's 8 turrets to 2. Mid inhibitors back up. It's about all the good news I have for Vega right now, unfortunately for them.
They're getting blitzed from all sides.
Meliodas popped his stopwatch. Probably didn't need to do that, but all 3 inhibs are down. Baron is going to wear off. Beautifully timed. Just walk onto No Man. See you later. Big Koro's going to grab himself a kill. No, he gets the inhib. That's Null that picks up credit. Not sure it matters too much now though. 5v4, everyone dying. That's a double kill for Null. Big Koro picks up another. Onto Zeros, they will get the kill. Vega just trying to collect what they can before they wrap up their keywords for game 2, because Null gonna grab the triple. That's gonna be an ace in the base. Nexus turrets and the Nexus will fall down as the Phong Blue Buffalo blitz through Vega in game number 1.
Felt like it was a fight fire with fire, everything. There was so much action across the map in the early game, but that just did not play into Vega's playstyle. I think you need to hit a hard reset, shake this one off and say, okay, let's try to slow down this game pace, because obviously going tit for tat against PVB is just them punching down. It wasn't even close.
If that was fire versus fire, Frostguru, and that was a candle versus a flamethrower, it did not feel close at all. Never bring a candle to a flamethrower
You
fight.
need help lighting this? That's basically what that was. Yes, can you please light my candle, please, sir?
I agree. I think don't play into the hands of Phong Blue Buffalo. Your strength as Vega is, you know, playing unconventionally, playing through a more steady landing phase. That's the games we saw in that group. That was the identity in a lot of ways for Group B. I just feel like if you play the first 5 minutes again, things may look very different, because that was too fast from Vega.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it was, you had your pick. You didn't get the Karthus, but you did get the Heimerdinger, but it felt like there was a disconnect between Santas and Gadget. The fact that Santas goes in, ends up giving away kills, expending valuable summoner spells. So Gadget sitting there on the Heimer like, mate, what do you expect me to do? This isn't how this champion works right now.
All right, well, PVB have kicked off the series with quite the win. For more on how they did it, here's the State Farm Analyst desk.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. First win goes over to PVB in a smashing game 1 here against the Vega Squadron. Champion select is where we're going to start because, of course, as we were talking about these two squads, it was the more standard-oriented PVB that we think would adhere to the meta versus Vega. And how many tricks do they have up their sleeves when it comes to champion select? They did get the Heimer.
I mean, they pulled some tricks out. I didn't hate it. We saw a lot of flex picks, you know, like Spawn and I were saying. The whole first half of the draft had 3 picks as well as 2 bans that were all flexes, so you can see the importance of them. It was just what they did with those flexes I'm not quite sure was right.
Yeah, and I think that
There were criticisms in my eyes of both drafts here. I didn't really see the place of the Olaf. If this game slowed down at any point coming into a comp that has a Zoe as well as a Heimerdinger, that seems like a pretty difficult late game comp to navigate if you are playing Olaf. And then you could also maybe say Orianna as well if it didn't have such a brilliant laning phase. There were windows for Vega to win, but the game comes down to execution at the end of the day. And when you have a look at, the first 5 minutes of this game, you can just see such glaring flaws in the way that the approach was there for the Vega Squadron lineup.
In particular, we got to look at the bot lane. Rather, we called out Gadget and Santos as possibly being a liability for this squad, and they were exactly that in this game. Credit to Big Koro and Pallet though for abusing that kind of disparity in the 2v2.
Yeah, Pallet was an absolute monster this game. It started off very early on. He made one mistake that ended up actually working in their favor. You took a hook in, at a Heimer like level 1 and was like, oh, I lost all my health. And so then after that happened though, the enemy team thinks, okay, we can kill him. And you heard Frost saying, this is not what Heimer does. If they had waited for one more level so you can actually combo with your Q better so you get more laser beams out, you can kill people. But once it started going in their favor, Pallet's completely unlocked.
Yeah, and this is kind of where he becomes the jungler almost from the squad. Visits mid lane, gets summoner spells, goes top lane and protects Zeros while he's pushing out the map. The ability to translate a lead around Summoner's Rift is something that is quite difficult to do at times, and Pallet did it pre-level 6 as a support.
He's top lane at level 4. I love it. No wonder he picks up MasterCard Player of the Game for this one. You mentioned it, Mark. He maybe was highest deaths on his team, but that was because of the plays he was able to make across the map to help all 3 of his laners get ahead.
Right, and that's what's so impressive about it. It was all 3 lanes, that bot lane as well, going back down, finding more kills. And the reasons he was topside, it was like, this is a jungler's job. Your wave is pushing in, your top laner feels a little exposed. Your jungler should be up there protecting him. His jungler stealing the enemy team's blue buff, and he's topside.
And that's what I was going to say. This is Phong actually setting up multiple areas of the map at the same time. You would expect if he's coming off a reset and they are going for a blue invade, that he's coming back bottom lane, that they're looking for that play. So, maybe some potential review there for Vega to do. If you don't have information, maybe search for it. But that's what they're doing. They're like looking at the vision game of Vega on the bottom side of the map. They're saying, this isn't good enough at the moment. We're going to look to abuse this. And kind of negating some of the strengths as well of the lineup. They had some slip-ups like Meliodas just charging in, kind of at that first top lane gank was a little bit strange. So it's not like it was a flawless performance. Flash shot blast over the wall for kind of no reason, but still.
Oh my God! Don't.
That was a baffling.
Take it, put it in the jar, and never see that again.
But when it mattered, they played a control style to League of Legends.
Right, and all of those early kills across all 3 of the lanes also netted CS advantages for at least Null and Big Koro. Saros did, of course, fall victim to that early gank, which gave the Aurelia a bit of real estate to work with, but ultimately just that one lane wasn't enough for Vega Squadron to get anything done.
And before that gank was successfully completed from the Vega Squadron lineup, that was still a positive 12 CS gap for the favor of the Jays, and it was quickly wrestled back as well. This is a Phong lineup that looked like they had control of all 3 lanes and were pushing forward on the map.
And I think one of the most evident things was that with that lead, or that they had secured themselves there pre-20 minutes, they did exactly
That's why he's the best flex pick. Right there. 21,500 damage. That's why he's number 1.
There you go. Point for Spawn on the flex pick tier list.
He had Aurelia higher than me too, though. And it got slammed by the Jace. So what's going on?
It's a good matchup for Aurelia.
And how about that Nautilus, that mid lane Nautilus that can be flexed to support that neither of you decided to throw up on the list there.
Yeah.
And he can jungle too now. Look at that.
That was like a multi-flex at the same time. I think, as we said, flex picks are super important. Right. And at the same time, you had Vega Squadron trying to do it a little on their own, but just not. The concern is what you're getting with it. It didn't feel quite right. The Heimer lane could have worked if they played it a little slower, maybe. But then, how does their comp all come together? Where you have a Zoe, which is picking, and Aurelia that wants to go in, the Zoe or a Heimerdinger that's like kind of an early pressured control champ.
See, I actually saw how it came together because I was thinking if they get ahead, face checking this comp with Heimer turrets, Zoe bubbles, and the catch potential of the AoE taunt from Galio is incredibly potent. They have great setup around objectives, and one of the strongest split pusher if you're able to accelerate the Aurelia. But then you look at the kind of checkbox that you have to go through, and then you evaluate your opponent. Okay, so we have to be ahead of the team that has the best early game in the whole of the play-in stage, that was willing to throw down with TL in that early game and looked impressive. I just think that they've gone towards the wrong kind of bucket when they're picking it. Pick some scaling, just like kind of let the game come to you at some point.
Well, right, yeah. You're like, we want to get ahead and have objective control, but you have 2 losing solo lanes, so it's like, it's going to be kind of hard. And then, yeah, the bot lane went south too, so it was a problem.
All right, well, things look good for PVB following game 1. Vega Squadron have selected blue side going into game 2. We'll see if they can build a comeback versus PVB when we return.
Gadget though does have the ulti ready. Big Cora charging in with a killer instinct. Flashes forward, grabs the kill, and now it's Santos that's in trouble. Pallet hit 6, he pops the depth charge, and Santos, it's goodbye and a double kill. Now a 2v3, make it 4v3 as the rest of PVB have made their way down. Santos channeling the W to try and buy some time. An absolutely massive accelerated shock blast. Make sure Gadget's demise is felt. And now another sick knockback. Big Coro finds the ulti there in, and that's going to be yet another kill. Zerostar in a rampage takes down another sick. No Man's able to get a trade kill, but Nor finds another as Gadget goes down. PVB blinking low, but not dead. Not sure it matters too much now though. 5v4, everyone dying. That's a double kill for Nor. Big Cora picks up another.
To change the world of gaming, you have to go beyond what's next. Break boundaries. Make
Welcome back to Ho Chi Minh City for Game 2 of Vega Squadron versus Phong Vu Buffalo. Vega is selected blue side for this time around for Oscuran, and again, we talked a lot about how Vega's draft is going to be a big thing to follow throughout this series. I think for the first time in a while, actually switching back over to blue.
The surprise picks, the last picks are not working out for them. The Heimer didn't go as expected, and because I feel like you know where it's gonna go, just take blue side. Try to get like a big, strong priority pick, whether that's the Jace for you, whether maybe you're trying to expend that on something like a Hecarim. I expect it to be something for Boss's champion pool, simply because No Man feels like he has a wider, effective champion pool, but we will keep our eyes on it. I want some sort of change up here. I'm kind of done with the Gouda. I'm done with the grilled cheese. I just want like some nice vegetables from Vega Squadron. Give me some standard.
And it does feel like, again, if Vega just, calm themselves down, play it much more slow than they did in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the game, then things could be quite different. Because again, if you say, I want to play a high-octane, ultra-fast-paced game with Phong Vu Buffalo, that is not a winning formula.
Well, not with those picks, certainly, but here we are, back into the draft. I do like the fact, again, the respect given to Meliodas. I actually wanted one of these priority picks possibly to be something like a Jarvan, but like I said, it feels like with priority pick, they're going to prioritize Boss's champion pool.
And a blue side Silas ban, kind of continuing to add to the idea that I don't think they play the champion, or at least a comfortable enough pick it here, so they will ban it away. PVB, they'll go with Karthus and Hecarim, so as you kind of mentioned, we normally see some more quote-unquote required bans on the side of red, but PVB just going for target bans right now as a Kali. Going to be the third there for Vega.
And kind of the last one opening up is the likes of this Taric, and this is something that really hurts Vega Squadron. Because they ban Silas and Akali from the blue side, it means that they don't have to get anything taken away from them on red side. They don't have access to getting the Sona Taric because maybe PvB want to take away the Assassins versus taking away that bot lane. Maybe Boss's Hecarim sneaks through, but I just think it's a really big hole that if they go farther in this tournament, if Vega Squadron do win this best of 5, that the main stage teams will certainly abuse.
Well, there's Aurelia, their first pick, but had to leave open something, so Jay's still on the table here for PVB. Zeros had a pretty strong showing last game, although they will actually take Rek'Sai as the first pick, so Meliodas fancies himself taking away a jungler from a Nanasik.
I really did like the hover of both the Jace and the Galio, though. I think it would work really well in tandem with Rek'Sai. If they go this early on into the draft, maybe they're suspecting that Big Cora might not get another pick like Kai'Sa again. This makes more sense.
Yeah, I think I like Galio a little more here, and they will decide on that. Big Cora certainly, though, can't fault him. Had a monstrous Kai'Sa game in the last one, so not a bad man to get the champion.
Okay.
Sejuani Braum, though, Vega pick defaulting back to the Freljord.
Okay, here we go. I'm feeling much better about this one. So something that I really like about Sejuani is her ability to contest forward Scuttle Crab, because she does have a surprising amount of burst damage onto her kit early on due to her passive, and just kind of how like her W and her E and that ridiculous damage is going to work out. And so if you get things that can either skirmish like an Aurelia or have wave priority, you can get absolute control over rivers with someone like a Sejuani, who most people think doesn't really come into impact until post level 6.
Also pairs up nicely with that Aurelia, which we heard Spawn talking about earlier when they did this thing on Flexfix. Makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. So again, lots of good straightforward CC. We saw Nautilus do wonders for PVB in that last game for a lot of the reason that when you find something, it's very easy to take an opportunity. However, bans are now kicking off in Phase 2. Kai'Sa was the last pick there in Phase 1 for PVB, and Gadget will continue to lose champions from the bot lane.
But I don't think they're going to ban the Heimer from him. I think if he wants to, that would be the option to go for. I would love to see a more traditional ADC, something that would pair a bit better with a Braum, be able to follow up on the concussive blows versus something like a Heimerdinger, which I think we're finally going to get. I think we're going to get standard League of Legends from Vega.
At least in the this tournament, doesn't strike me as much of a Lucian play, but that's a pretty good way to bully a lane if you want to try and get aggressive in the 2v2, but we've seen 3 Varus games from him. That certainly strikes me as the champion you could pick here. Zeros, though, will lose Jace, as that's the ban from Vega, and one more ban now for PVB. We'll see if they do take your advice and stay away from the Heimer ban.
It is interesting the priority that PVB gave Big Koro and Palette in the draft, which I like it because I think Big Koro and Palette are having phenomenal tournaments so far, and you should just get right behind these guys, give them their comfort picks, allow them to impact the map. But coming into this tournament, you know, the big name that everyone wanted to talk about was Zeros. So the fact that you're in a situation where you grab the Kaisa and then you allow the Jace to be banned away when you know that Zeros really can perform in that champion, I think is something to spot through, again, if PVB are the team that joins the main stage, where they'll stack their solo laners to help their bot lane get ahead, not just on the map, but in champion select.
Well, there's actually Rise, so nice flex there for PVB. Have to feel pretty comfy that both Null and Zeros can play that champion, so now Vega have to finish off their draft. We'll see if they do opt for standard this time around, or if they want to show us something a little different.
Is it going to be the Varus? Will it be the Lucian? There we go.
It's actually the Lucian.
So, yeah, pairing with that that bot lane, everything is going down there. Everyone's dying at level 2, level 3. Might as well take a very strong 2v2 Lucian Braum. Doesn't get more stock standard than that.
Yep, also, again, Nanasek, who we did see on the Sejuani in their series yesterday, hanging around that bottom lane for quite a while in that first game, so certainly expect him to be going there as well. Syndra also the last pick here for Nomads. That leaves one more for PVB.
Oh boy. Is he gonna lock it in?
How's he feeling? Again, Zero certainly a player that likes to do this sometimes. That is Fiora locked in for the Phong Vu Buffalo.
Okay, very excited to see Fiora. I believe it was on the most recent patch that she was touched up a little bit coming into MSI, so you definitely know that this is going to be volatile, that one of these champions can pop off, but eventually, if the game goes long enough, Fiora will just take over any sort of side lane. Now, speaking of side lane, looking across PvB's composition, you got the likes of the Rise, you got the Realm Warp, you can swing out with the likes of the Galio and the Kaisa, and then you have Fiora that can blow things up. So it's not just about running a 1-4, the possibility of constantly collapsing with so much cross-map mobility, like PvB, you expect them to be high octane, high tempo, very mobile heavy, very skirmish heavy. This comp gives them all of the tools to do that.
And on the Vega side, it has to feel like, you know, I look between Sejuani and Braum, and I think I want to 5v5 where I can, or at least try and use that CC in the early stages of the game to get an advantage in the early game, because for both these teams, charting their journey throughout this tournament, you certainly saw that when they had a lead, they knew exactly what to do with it.
And I feel like Vega Squadron's composition is much more dependent on kind of how things work out in the lane phase. I do feel that they have a lot of tools that they can contest for vision in the river, especially during lane phase with the likes of the Syndra, the Aurelia in tandem with Sejuani, you know, whether she's playing up top side of the map or bottom side of the map. And you really want to abuse some of these early either level spikes from your composition or, you know, 2-item power spike windows. So it feels like Vega Squadron, they don't necessarily have the same scaling potential, but they really can take over this early lane phase depending on where they play their cards.
Well, we'll have to see as the teams will spread out onto Summoner's Rift for the second time today. Vega can get themselves on the scoreboard. Phong Vu Buffalo would be very happy with a quick sweep, and they can just stay home, relax for a few days, and then start the main stage of groups here at MSI. But still quite a while to go here, as I already see a number of members of Vega all grouped together, and they have a Braum on their team, so kind of know what this means.
Makes sense to go for a level 1 invade here, not only because, like you're alluding to, the fact that Braum is so good at level 1 with the concussive blows and the Winter's Bite, but also you're against Zeros' Fiora. I think they're hiding in Fog of War on the top side. Yep.
Zeros though, in the right spot, lunges out of the way, does not get tagged by Braum Q.
But I think it's important to peek in here, try to get information about where Meliodas is going to be starting, and then if they continue to push in, placing wards, and maybe, again, trying to split the map or look for some vertical jungling.
Unfortunately for them, no deep vision placed, and PVB move their bot lane to make sure to ward the red buff, and we'll see if Nanasek goes there. At least get information on one half of the map. As we can see, looks like both junglers currently heading towards that red.
One of the tricks that Palette and Big Koro love to play, especially with Galio, is that when they don't have to leash for Meliodas, they'll actually walk down into the bot lane, get pushed forward really far in that brush, and try to get a surprise sneak attack as the 2v2 walks in. I think because it's a Braum and Lucian, they won't be so audacious, if you will. But always keep track of how those guys specifically are setting up their 1v1, because often they don't have to leash for Meliodas.
Instead, they'll just start the wave early, so get a bit of an advantage there for the early push. And Nanasek, as we mentioned, on his red, Meliodas has finished his and now is on to his next camp. That's Krugs. And we'll see again. We saw a lot more bot lane attention in the last game here. With a pick like Fiora, I have to think. Although I feel like I say this every game, and then no one ganks for Zeros until the one time you just don't say it, and then they chain gank for him. But I would expect some attention here in the early game.
And I think it's a credit to the fact that Zeros is able to make his own leads quite successfully. He's really good at recognizing when, Meliodas isn't on his side of the map, so he needs to have the minion wave pushed into him, or when he does have the emphasis that his jungler can join him, that he can be aggressive, he can trade on his superior mechanics and really start to put people down. I think in some of the matchups versus Impact, he was something like 40 CS up, so in the 1v1, he is very impressive.
And that's certainly been true for him. Throughout his domestic career, he dominates the top lane in VCS. Of course, a very different set and caliber of opponents when you move to international, but certainly right now looking good as zoned boss off quite a lot of that wave, and right now looking 10 CS up, although I imagine that won't stay true as the wave eventually will crash toward.
I want to quickly talk about the jungle pathing as we see Ananastic is about to secure both Scuttle Crabs here. It was a red into Krug, into Scuttle, into Raptor start there for Meliodas, and by taking your Krug camp so early, you reset the timer on having Krugs available, which is the #1 experience camp for the jungler. And so it feels like a kind of like a power farm type of pathing, although things getting changed up now as we're posturing for a gank.
Yeah, not very far forward. Stun gonna miss though from No Man's. There's the root gonna run away. Phase Rush procs as well. So now Meliodas knows he actually stole the blue buff away, which Ananastic does not know about yet.
And I love this adaptation here. We'll see where Ananastic goes. He's walking into the mid lane to help No Man's push it forward in case Rek'Sai is still around. They don't have perfect information about where Meliodas is. And if Ananastic doesn't walk over to the blue buff, then he is going to get 3 buffed again by Meliodas.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe 2 for 2 on 3 buffs here, and by the looks of things, as Meliodas cruises down towards the blue, Ananastic without that information will go to what we know to be the wrong side of the jungle.
And what incredible adaptation. I felt like Meliodas was just going to go for the power farm, by resetting his Krug camp really early on in his jungle pathing. He can then just go for full clears, reset, walk back up to Krugs, and he's like, my composition scaling, I don't really need to muscle through this lane phase anyway, like Sejuani, this is yours. But as soon as he's giving information, he strikes.
Actually a gank first instead, they're going to go in after the Braum. Santos flashes away, but already ignited down. Stand behind Gadget, but the flash forward from Big Koro, he wants it, he will get it! It's First Blood once more.
So well done right there. A lot expended, but Pallet still holding his flash, and that's the key thing for me. The fact that they still have so much kill pressure in this lane, despite already feeding First Blood to Big Koro, because Galio has access to the flash taunt.
Also Zeros in top lane, boss. Oh, gets slowed by the riposte. Those vitals, nice spots there. Zeros finding those procs. The CS has evened up, which I think we expected, but now Zeros has to play on his weak side of the map, as Ananastic is up here in top lane. Zeros does not have a ward ready, but I think suspects something might be happening here.
Oh, he definitely suspects it, but can he survive it? Flash up.
I think Riposte still down, but he does have that summoner spell. Zeros moves over, dances on, the stun gonna land, the chain CC is good, and Boss able to grab a kill for himself.
And the answer is no. He does not survive. It doesn't expend the flash, however, and does have access to TP. So we'll see if it's the scenario where huge 2 waves crashing into him. If he teleports back, this could be another trigger for Sejuani just to revisit the gank as we look back bottom.
However, you did see Meliodas sacrifice a potential buff to try and get a kill, and Big Koro flashing in, making it look nice and stylish. They did follow for the next kill, but could not grab it. This dive, however, going very nicely on the other side of the map.
And it feels like a tale of 2 junglers. As soon as information is getting over, someone is reacting to something on the map.
Not so far again. Meliodas has won out in most of those exchanges. He actually went over, took the Raptor camp. He's now taking Krugs away. Ananastic is back taking Crabs for himself. Oh, actually going to be stunned there. Good flash stun by No Man's, and that'll secure a kill. This time, Melee was too greedy.
Yeah, finally punish, and a good rotation there from No Man. So just heads up, check if the Rek'Sai was hovering around, and picks himself up some gold.
So TP going over, straight in onto Zeros, who's also TP'd back in. Stun Lance, Riposte for the slower. Zeros is just continuing to proc vitals. No ultis, but we can see the jungler, boss now level 6, and Zeros, I think this is the part where he gets a bit greedy. That's a nice flash, however, gets himself out to safety.
Gets over the big wall. I love the fact that Boss was trying to bait him in, however, looked like Fiora was going to take that 1v1 matchup, make sure like, no, I got access to level 6, we push you off 2 waves, I have the EXP advantage here, and then Ananastic comes around the corner, so while Zeros looks flashy, gets out with his life, it's still a big win for Boss and Ananastic.
Yeah, with flashes like that, you can get out of those situations, but it still costs you a lot, as you mentioned. Demolish gonna proc. That'll be at least 1 plate over to Vega here as Ananastic and Boss split that early gold and make it 2. As Boss, again, springboarded nicely here in the top lane as Meliodas continuing to steal jungle away, will actually take the red buff unless Sanchez runs interference, but doesn't check the brush, and that blue goes over. Zeros, though, good riposte actually. Now gonna try and make some sort of 1v2 outplay. We're gonna get the first kill, finds it, ulti, procs, and now Boss, I think he has to get out of there. He's got no ulti, Zeros still chasing.
I do not know how this guy makes miracles out of nothing. Crazy play from Zeros right there. Managed to get something back for himself. And if he can get this wave shoved in, maybe start inching back some of that CS.
Again, with Meliodas, leaving his top laner just fine in a 1v2 situation means that Gadget going to be forced off this turret, and plates will go over to Big Cora and Pallet.
Meanwhile, though, the tempo of the game is still starting to speed up. So, yeah, Zeros makes a miracle play, starts to grab something back on the top side. Meanwhile, while he's absorbing so much attention from two members, Meliodas just sets up another objective. There's plates going down in the bottom lane. There's Zeros winning the 1v1 in the top side, and now Meliodas picking up a free dragon.
I'm also pretty confident that that blue buff has been up since the start of the game. So he'll finally start it off, although I think he's going to donate it, but let's watch this again.
And you know, I was just about to comment on the fact that Zeros is sitting on basically all longswords, whereas he's competing against a Tiamat. So the play style or a play pattern was going to be that Aurelia was always going to have the priority of the shove there with the Tiamat, whereas Zeros would only win if it went for an all-in engagement. So the fact that he finds it in a 2v1 is awesome.
Bottom lane though, Meliodas gets the kill onto Gadget. Now Nanasik there, too late to try and save his teammates, and Meliodas will keep chasing. Pallet forward, finds the taunt, grabs Santa's. Big Cora there needs to roam himself over. Pallet getting low, but here's the Kai'Sa finally joining the fray. Meliodas gets the kills on knockups found for Pallet's Justice Punch. And PVB winning out in that 3v3.
Curious how it started though, the fact that, you know, people are getting caught out in their own jungle.
Another good stun. Oh no, had enough to flash out. Now gonna realm up out to safety. Has teammates on that side, so can't chase there for Vega.
But doing his job, Nom was actually just posturing there because he was trying to zone off Nomans and kind of keep information if Vega Squadron were going to collapse and try to retaliate in this bot lane. So getting another peek about how all of this started, and it was a failed flash and another fight, just 2v2 up in this bot lane. These bot laners, they cannot stop.
They certainly cannot. Big Cora, as they check back in, actually 30 CS ahead of his opponent. As the play continues, PVB know they've just got more strength here.
And Vega Squadron, to be frank, you just have to learn how to lose gracefully in these types of scenarios. To be that far down and, you know, still caught out in the lane like this, it feels nice to get one back for Nanasik, but Gadget is just finding himself further and further into a hole on a champion that he is not going to scale as well against.
Certainly golf clap there for the pick. Pallet does go down, but Big Cora's already finished that Stormrazor. As we already pointed out, that CS Liquid is only now 20. Still very healthy. Off to another good start here on Kai'Sa. And with Zeros, you know, finding his advantage now, grab his own Tiamat, already got himself a kill in that little outplay. Feels like the top side's maybe on a bit more of its own for a little while longer, and with an Infernal Drake coming up in a number of minutes.
I mean, it must be because everything happens bot lane. You can't even leave the top laners on their own devices.
Both junglers, though, finding the right read. Actually up here in the top side right now, so could see a 2v2 develop. Nanasik will walk over a control ward. Gonna hit down the plant just to make sure no one's there in the Herald. You also see the control ward there. Back down bot side though, Santa's still only level 5. Big Cora level 7. Very significant discrepancy there in the 2v2. Calling out from Gadget doesn't really find much, and just feels like the bot lane's only getting stronger.
Yeah, and now that that calling is taken care of, I expect that Big Cora and Pallet, they're just eyeing him up. They're looking for their window. You can see it, Pallet just sprinting forward. He wants blood. He's like, you cannot compete with us. We will just kill you.
Kai'Sa's level 8. Santis is still level 5.
It's about to get worse because here comes Rise and Meliodas.
Yeah, again, just have to force them off here. Vega, rightfully, do not go there, but it just feels so bad for Oscurin.
Someone has to help them, but the only safe route here, because you can see how carefully Nomans is trying to like smoke PvP out of his jungle, is for a Nanasik. Maybe?
Once a Nanasik there with a counter gank, Meliodas forced to flash over. Good ult finds it. There's a Syndra follow-up. Meliodas low, but not fallen just yet. Flash forward, W is going to grab it. Here's the Galio roaming in. Pallet doesn't grab the knockup, but again, Nor's going to keep chasing in onto the Sejuani. Big Cora's here. He just wants a few more kills. He's going to grab it. Nice snipe on the Void Seeker. Finds yet another kill.
And you can see what an Nanasik is thinking. He wants to make use of the fact that he has a Syndra. You have so much burst damage at this low of level between the Sejuani and the Syndra, and he does rightfully find the shutdown, but it just takes so long. That hurts.
Zeros reads Boss's mind. Just lunges out of the way of that ulti, and that's all called off for Boss in that trade. Zeros might have been fancy a dive here.
He cleaning up the creeps.
Demolish proc, lunges out. Just wanted a bit of damage on the turret.
And look at where Nanasik is. He's sprinting up into the top lane. So I think this is Zeros not only trying to read what Boss is doing, but also read what his jungler is possibly up to.
His jungler, though, already on this side as well. Takes down the Scuttle Crab and pops underground for some Tremor Sense. Is now going to see that Nanasik is in the area. So Zeros will have the information. Maybe he just fancies another 1v2. Not yet, it seems.
But look at this. The fact that Meliodas finds where the enemy jungler is and then just pieces out. You know, this isn't a situation where we can look for this 2v2 here. Like, I'm going to hide around the corner. Let's try to bait them. It's, I got the information. Let's quickly continue to try to set up multiple objectives on this map so that when one thing goes right, it all goes right. Did you see that?
They did.
That was interesting.
It was. Null has arrived, though. EP
What?
will complete it. A minion that dissipated went invisible. Don't worry about it. As Infernal Drake also up in 5 seconds, but Phong Buffalo actually want the Rift Herald here.
And this is part of one of those high-tempo setups. It's that Meliodas finds where Nanasik is, immediately goes back to his jungle, holds the mid wave, the TPs come in, everyone's rotated, and suddenly what could have just been a 2v2 topside to help out Zeros is, okay, you get your back, we already pushed him under the tower, let's set up Rift Herald.
Speaking of Zeros, a man of one way in this 1v1, Ravenous Hydra now completed, so certainly looking for a 1v1 probably throughout most of this game. Great double taunt though from Pallet, but Vega might try and fight in. They find Meliodas, they need to snipe him down. That should be Rift Herald over, but the fight's still going to continue. Big Koro going to try and find the pick up the Rift Herald over. He needs to pick up the eye. He does get it, but it will cost him his life.
Nanasik is trying his hardest, though, to get Vega Squadron back into this game. 3-3-1 right now in the Sejuani. Managed to also secure the Rift Herald for himself there, as now mid.
I take it all back. Zeros goes mid for the dive, doesn't need it as Null, able to find the kill with an assist over from the Fiora. Also gets a TP out of it as well, but Boss probably does not want to tussle here with Fiora.
And this is the feel bad moment where Nanasik is actually having a good game. He's trying to go blow for blow with Meliodas here. The rest of his map just unfortunately is not on the same page. They're not in the same fight.
See this again, Pallet thinks he's got an opportunity, but Vega say this time we can fight.
And I actually want to point at Null here. I think if he actually just turned around and assisted with Meliodas to burn down the Rift Herald, you're in a very different situation. Like, let Pallet zone them away. It's clear that you weren't looking to kill them there, that it was to keep them away from the Rift Herald.
Zeros, though, too bloodthirsty, does chase for the kill, and Null does get it at least, so there was an extra one in there that slipped my mind earlier, but PVB still rocketing up in gold, 4,000 ahead here at 14.5 minutes, and Little Infernal Drake has been abandoned for a number of minutes, but again, there's so much movement around the map. Vega just kind of forced to respond, although this time might be setting something up here. Stun lands in onto Pallet. Meliodas also over the wall, but can see the movement with the Tremor Sense, so knows that Vega have grouped to try and take this objective.
Yeah, trying to muscle for control. What's interesting to me is that Vega grouped with all 5 members, even now No Man's cutting down the river, whereas it's very clear that PVB recognized that the first step to this Infernal Drake was to secure priority over bottom, and instead of pulling down Fiora, they reset Zeros and they send him top lane. And you'll see trades like this all the time from PvP where they kind of think farther ahead. Like, is it nice to have the battle stats of the Infernal? Absolutely. But it's more important for us to kind of get the gold from the towers themselves and get immediate advantage versus like waiting on the scaling of the Infernal.
Yeah, as a note, the gold lead that's pretty substantial here for Phong Buffalo is still without the first turret of this game being taken. So a lot of gold left in one of those turrets if you can knock it down.
And I think this is quite counterintuitive to what a lot of people will read on PvP. They're not just a mindless fight team. Although, as I say that, mindless fighting.
Yeah, Null forced to flash away, and Nanasik does look mid with the ulti.
It's the fact that they will look for cross-map objective trades like that top tower for the Infernal priority.
Fiora is a champion that kind of bends the game to her will in a lot of ways. Zeros, they're going to pop the ulti, try and duel boss, but No Man's right behind him. Vanguard's Edge was the follow-up, and Zeros is able to get the vitals down still. The Chartan lands for boss, now Meliodas in a 1v3. Cannot escape, will get a kill as a result, but stunned down and killed by No Man's in the end.
But the fact that it's Syndra in particular that's picking up a lot of that kill gold is now a possible play set at bottom. Pallet was spotted out by a ward though. He's still going.
He is certainly going. Has the flash ready, does not commit it, and barely misses the taunt onto Santa's. Gadget though going back in, but Big Koro says, hey, I'm here too.
I think Big Koro says, hey, these minions are worth more to me than their lives.
He's got 3 kills, so it's kind of impressive, but again, Zeros chasing in, and this is some of the greed that we can see from him as well.
Some of the greed. I'm going to point out that there was a Rift Herald that was dropped down into the mid lane, so it's not like Null's going to leave that to its own devices on his tower. He's not rotating with you guys.
Distraction worked there, at least for the Sejuani. But unfortunately, that still means that Rift Herald will not take a turret, and Zeros did get the top outer turret, so he collects that gold. Now has a fade for himself, building it towards what... Actually, probably Trinity Force. Although, of course, Black Cleaver a decent option as well.
Can you imagine being a Nanasik, looking for a gank, and the guy that you're going to gank immediately turns and lunges towards you. That is the state of this game, this bot lane. Pallet was not having any of that.
I mean, since that 1v2, that's kind of been the story, at least on the top lane.
Who's ganking who there? You will come down here, you will bring double buff, and I will like it.
And Xerath now with a long lane to play in. And the Ravenous Hydra. This is where Fiora can start to get a little out of hand. Boss still working on item number 1. Actually also have to divert into an Executioner's Calling, because you must cut the healing from Fiora to have any chance in a 1v1, but
In a very long, sustained 1v1.
only delaying the pain that Xerath is bringing to that 1v1. Whether you like it or not, he's making the game about himself in a few ways, although rotating mid. The ganking Fiora, not something we always see. Onto No Man's here to kick it off, but an Anasik might be an easier target. Gadget here, though, to try and turn it back around. Meliodas looks for the knockup, finds it, but he's going to get himself stunned. Actually pops into the ulti to avoid the CC, but will still fall down. Vega starting to punish this over-aggression.
Way too deep there. An excellent setup there. Ananasik, again, it feels like the hard carry, but with some of those previous kills now falling into the pocket of No Man's, it feels like he has someone to actually play around. This Syndra Sejuani combo is starting to be devastating, despite the fact that Null had an excellent sidestep on the Sejuani ult.
Watch that one again. Stun starts off. Null goes in.
Exactly, and you can see that he's just trying to set up for Ananasik to just dunk onto Null, but sidesteps the ult. Doesn't matter though, because they had the numbers advantage. Their bot lane finally rotated an advantage for them. Gadget doing a great job zoning away anyone else to follow up. And Meliodas is like, I'm in too deep, I must go deeper.
That can be the motto of the top half of the map.
I'm not getting out of this one, guys. I'm taking him with me.
Alright, well, again, still despite all that, still 4,500 gold ahead for Phong Vu Buffalo, and most notably in those last 2 fights, Big Koro has not been present, and he's now finished his Ginsu's Rage Blade, so...
He's also 40 CS up.
When he makes his way into a team fight, Big Koro will certainly make his presence known.
And it kind of feels like this is going to be about execution, at least at this point in the game. Like, does Big Koro survive the Sejuani ultimate and the Syndra ultimate? If yes, Phong Vu Buffalo probably gonna win. If no, there's your hope for Vega Squadron.
Well, certainly have the CC to do it, but we're continuing to move around the map here. Phong Vu Buffalo up 2 turrets to 0, so again, Xerath having a great time, but another 1v2 situation is upon us. We'll see how Xerath does this time.
He was spotted out by a ward, so Phong Vu Buffalo know exactly what's up here.
Yeah, this time it's Xerath kind of knowing that, knowing also that his jungler is coming up.
And I also think it's respect to the fact that they're keeping track of Null's TP timer, although...
I expect, yeah, straight in. Big Koro wants to start it off, run up in for Null. Big Koro's gonna face take the CC. Power finds the taunt, Sanchez into stasis, but Big Koro's still alive. Made such a bold play and will be rewarded with the jet. That's too bold indeed.
Oh.
Now Vanguard Z finds 3. Pallet just waiting in the wall as Xerath does get the kill on Ananasik on the other side of the play. Into boss now for the next one. Xerath insta-flashes over to try and seal it all, and PVB did make it in time. Big Koro may have made the mistake, but his team's still there to clean up the mess.
But it is a 2-for-2 trade, so Big Koro, very bold maneuver here. No Man's mid.
Xerath doesn't have a flash, so surely he's not going to go in. In fact, plus turn over the wall just to make No Man's safe.
No, but he knows that No Man's doesn't have any mana. So he's looking at him like, you get 2 tries.
It's a tough fight. Oh, had enough mana to steal away the red buff, so he's going to keep that one safe and away from Xerath.
So who gets the last laugh at the end?
Not Big Koro. That play was, as you said, Frostgurn, 2 bold.
2 bold. In China, they say 2 hero.
That was
2 hero.
That was absolutely 2 hero. So it's also a Cloud Drake Meliodas. Gonna refocus the team onto the objectives briefly, at least remembers that it's there. Blue buff over to Null, continuing to stack up farm and gold, so mid laners both looking decent here in this one.
Okay, guys, we need to reset. We need to calm down here just a little bit. Make sure that when you're fighting over something worth it. And it felt like this one was just about the swagger and the flex. The fact that Big Koro, he just doesn't have perfect information, and he just flies in there, and then he's immediately punished.
Like you said, the CC is there to lock down the Kai'Sa, so if it lands, generally this kind of stuff will happen, and Big Koro paid the price.
Yeah, just maybe he thought Sejuani was on his team.
Xerath, though, chases down the Sejuani under the turret, now flashes after boss, also chasing near the turret, so certainly bold is a good word to describe the state that Phong Vu Buffalo are in.
The scary thing though is that Zeros is now starting to pick up some of these kills, so it's no longer just being funneled heavily into Meliodas or Big Koro. And that's the nice thing about PvB's setup right now, is that the gold feels like it's split across all of their members on a comp that scales better, whereas unless Nanasik and Nomans are just showing up and just nailing these team fights, the same cannot be said for Vega Squadron's comp.
And in some ways it feels like, to a less extreme degree, but still similar here for Vega, where you went to tussle with Phong Vu Buffalo early and you paid the price again. It's not as steep as it was in game number 1, but Phong Vu Buffalo certainly know that they're playing with a gold lead.
And it feels bad because you look at Vega's composition, you know, this was supposed to be much stronger in the lane phase this time around, and it's still just not connecting with it. And they brought the resources to help them. Gadget and Santas in particular are just not having a good tournament right now.
Certainly Big Koro and Pallet continuing to have a strong showing for themselves here at MSI 2019. Still, also, the map being so small for Vega is just always troublesome, especially when you're getting 1-3-1, which Rise and Fiora will have a tendency to do. Collapse here on mid, will zone them away, and again, just a few hits on the turret, although ulti committed. Pallet going in, looking to find the taunt. Can't choose between them, finally gets the jungler, and Norther also roamed up, so that's Gadget dead as he got caught up at the pass. And now Braum ulti gonna try and buy some time. Redemption to reset here for PVB. And they're going to keep fighting. Meliodas finds a knock up. Big Koro grabs a double. Make it 3 as Nor able to grab the next kill in onto an Nanasik.
Zeros is cutting them off. That tower is one hit from just popping down. Vega Squadron needs to back up.
Falls down. Boss and No Man maybe too far forward. Perhaps Baron on the brains instead for the Buffalo.
And I feel like Nanasik, he recognizes that his map has collapsed around him, and he's just trying to find the right play. Unfortunately, he can't figure out which side to actually play around because none of his sides are winning. It means that he falls down, there's no jungler to contest, and this is a free Baron, and what looks like a very handed game for Phong Vu Buffalo.
You can only have so many buckets in so many hands to bail the water out of the boat for Oscar, and also the boat's on fire. It's just tough. Vega, they'll try and get something here. A TP will be committed by Phong Vu. Try and save the turret. No Man's with the ulti. Knowles pops the Seraphs. And that's going to be enough to stay alive and keep the minions away from the structure.
But that's the state of the game that we're at. You see the TP coming down. You know exactly who's it going to be and what they're landing with.
Ooh, I like this. On the pallet here. Very sneaky fog of war play from Vega. That will be a kill gifted over as Boss able to collect it.
Okay, we're on the board. We're back, boys.
See if they can take something here. Coming onto Knoll. Yeah, the Seraph still. Must have missed that one, but
careful.
Not that healthy on the rise. They're trying to commit for the turret. They will finally take their first tower of the game. But still down about 7,000 gold.
That's the best look I've gotten from Vega Squadron this game, though. That feels reassuring. They recognize where they had the tempo. They're trying to punish the fact that PVB are still being very disrespectful for how they're walking up to Vega Squadron and then just trying to brute force with their gold lead around. So Vega Squadron will say, no, you must give us at least this much respect.
And I like the idea of, you know, just letting Phong Vu play into you a little bit more, you know, being reactionary and punishing mistakes. That, of course, requires information, which in the early game maybe wasn't there as much.
And I think it's also really important that they were finally grouped up.
Make it short for us, because Zeros is fighting again. Boss now the target. Big Koro's here as well. I think they can continue. W's going to miss, though. Kaisa needs a little bit more to charge in there. 2v3 though, as we can see Santa's insta-cleanse out of the ulti. Here comes the Galio charging in, but that's Pallet going to try and save the day, and Santa's will be the first target. Pallet found a massive flash taunt as Big Koro grabs another.
Pallet for president. That's like the 4th 3-man taunt that he has found.
Yeah, you look at Big Koro's score and you think he's doing good, but always check the support next to the marksman. Ulti there from No Man's, but Pallet pops the boss going out to safety, and a reminder that Phong Vu Buffalo do still have Baron. So these turrets are going to melt pretty swiftly with the wave stacked up.
I mean, silver lining, the base isn't destroyed yet for Vega Squadron, but they are very quickly getting shoved in. And I was just commenting how, you know, the nice thing was that Vega Squadron were finally grouped up. Oh, no.
The boat's still kicking on fire, but it's still intact for Oscurin. 6 tower goes down.
But against this combo from Phong Vu Buffalo, we talked about it in Champion Select, its ability to split up the map and then use its mobility to quickly collapse either side is what's so devastating here. So Vega Squadron, they want to pair up with Ananasik and No Man to kind of follow that big burst damage, but they can't get there.
I think for me also is one of the reasons Ryze is such a powerful champion. Just very, very good in the side lane. And you don't have to pick something like the Fiora to make it work. But certainly that will kind of show you the extreme of this sort of splitting up of the map.
Just a hit and run League of Legends.
kind of hit, run, and then hit again in the case
And
of
again,
Phong Fu
and
Buffalo.
again, and again.
Yeah, but gonna go back, spend some gold. Baron will tick down, so only 4,400 gold or so on the Baron power play, and make it a Cloud Drake to boot for a bit of extra there for Buffalo. Does help them get around the map. Certainly nice. They actually got 3 for themselves. But I mean, as soon as you saw this play, you knew Zeros was going in.
The confidence and knowing that they needed at least 2 members to try to contest with this Fiora, and then the fact that they're able to collapse faster, that this is never going to be a fair fight unless they have a massive numbers advantage for Vega Squadron. Props on the cleanse there from Big Koro, basically frame perfect.
And as you said, Pallet swoops in, continues his strong campaign in the presidency, and find the 3-man taunt. This Phong Fu Buffalo up about 12,000 gold, goodness.
I lost his QSS. I was looking at Big Koro's items. I was like, I swear he had a QSS. Did he sell it? He's selling a lot of things, but
Wrapped it around the handle of his sword.
he upgraded it. I normally don't see that item upgraded.
Has starting to run out of things to buy there on the Kaiser. Still 1 slot though open for Big Koro. Nor also realm up to the top lane because he has decided that he must take the top inhibitor at all costs. With a minute 40 on Baron, we have Zeros in the long lane there in the bottom side.
And this is how it's going to play out for the map state for Phong Fu Buffalo. They're going to have Ryze and Fiora constantly cheating forward in those long lanes, and then it's going to be about rotating very quickly with the Kaisa ultimate or the Galley ultimate to either side.
Well, Ananasik back down here, but Zeros already showed that he's feeling confident in any sort of 1v2. Gonna start it off again here. Zeros there with a riposte, finds a stun onto Aurelia, pops the ulti just to start the duel, has the GA up as well. Will now resurrect. Here's a redemption, but a little mistimed. Looks for the stun, does find it, but again, losing the structures is the big deal here.
But look at Vega Squadron. Oh.
Yeah, Nor's taking matters into his own hands, Froskuren.
Well, he got it. You said that eventually at all costs.
Again, it's taking the turret. Now gonna just move in. Zeros still playing around. Walks into there. Oh, Galio's in. That's not very fair at all, is it? And Anasik gonna get chunked out. Pallet there with another taunt. And Ignite down, not quite enough to kill Sejuani, but they're losing the base. So 3 members of Vega will chase onto 2 members of the Phong Fu Buffalo, and the rest of them will steamroll down those inhibs.
And Vega Squadron are just trying to find something that they can crack, but nothing is breaking here for Phong Fu Buffalo.
And again, Meliodas, this time he's the one with the CC, finds the knockup, flashed in to get it. Looks like they are going to just take the last inhibitor tower and finish off the inhib as well. Jungle up in about 20 seconds here for Vega, so PVB will leave the area, but it's one of those things when all 3 lanes are getting pushed in, this far behind, it just feels like you have no good choices.
And especially when the Baron is going to be spawning in 3 seconds right now, so Vega Squadron, I think they clear out their base, and maybe you sprint towards the Baron, you try to place some vision and take the gamble on it, but they know they've got one option, and it's this fight 1 over Baron.
Well, again, PVB go back, reset. Make sure to run there. Also, Ananasik was the one that was dead, so he'll be more delayed to the objective. They do have a little blue trinket on it, so they know it hasn't been started just yet, but soon that vision will be snuffed out. Of course, Zeros is here hiding in a brush. Vanguard Z plants in there for boss. Zeros trying to dance around. Nice maneuver, though, from the Aurelia. But Zeros going to keep chasing. He's got his flash. So does boss. Stun's going to land, and Aurelia going to keep running the wrong way, unfortunately.
How far can she run, though?
Keeps going in towards the turret, maybe looking for the execute. Super Minions wave, hello? Boss taking the tower hits. Zeros wants it, he will collect it. Does get the kill, but no, actually, this time too far forward. At all costs it will be, he will forfeit his life, and that's 1,000 gold to the Syndra. Unfortunately, they committed so much that the Baron is over to PVB.
It's a heavy shutdown, but like you said, it was the Baron that was the true prize. So Nal gladly gives his life for that. You now have the ability to start funneling all of these Baroned up super minion waves into Vega's base. And just, it's a matter of time, it feels.
Few would give tactical credit to Null there for his positioning. I will not. But at least his death is not in vain. The team gets the Baron uncontested as a result.
His only job was to go forward and to look delicious. That's all. Just be a distraction.
Well, it worked. That was the plan. But PVB now, without their rise, he will be up in about 15 seconds with his teleport. And they have Baron for 3 minutes with supers in every single lane.
Are we going to pad KDAs? Are we going to end the game? What's the call here?
Time to walk the minions in. I'm expecting Zeros to tower dive any second now, but I mean, Vega have to go. You can't lose all your Nexus turrets without a fight. Big Coral even going invis in view of the turret. Forced to burn a heal, but again, Pallet finds the taunts. Turrets are going to fall. Galley going to try and tank up what he can, but he's not going to last too long. But again, the Nexus is open. PVB just have to wait here. And Big Cars is shooting the Nexus. You have to go. They dive in, pop the Vanguard ditch. They will get the kill. Meliodas revives. Big Car, how did he live? The rest of the team dives in. The Nexus is exposed. And that's going to be all she wrote. PVB, match point now in the series.
And they just made it look way too easy right there. The fact that Big Koro ate the Syndra ultimate and it only just half-healthed him, and then instantaneously was just back and ready for the fight, that says everything you need to know about that game. The AD carry was invincible.
Phantom Dance, a good item. That's the one that let him live through the rest of that. But, I mean, we thought, you know, how explosive the first 5 to 10 minutes of that last game was, that we were going to get maybe something a little more simmered down. Maybe the early game was a little slower, but the rest of the game was even faster for PvB. You can just feel the confidence building.
And I do want to give credit to Ananasic. I think in the early game, he was trying to get something going for his team, but Gadget and Santos are just too big of a liability right now. Big Coral and Palette are just punching holes through them, and that whole side of the map is just a no-go zone. It's collapsing way too fast.
Well, it's looking good so far for PvB, so to get more insight on the Phong Vu Buffalo win, let's leave it to the State Farm analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. You can leave it to us, but you might not even need us with the way that Frost just put it, because I think we're going to align kind of across the board on what she's saying. Vega opting to go for an even more standard draft this time around than game one, which means that they are just going to have to stack up one-to-one as good or better. That was not the case.
Look at my win conditions. Don't do standard play. Lucian Braum is pretty standard. It's not going to go well.
How did I ever give this team
What were you
a
thinking?
game? A singular game was all I asked out of the
You know what it was? You thought that they were the best drafting team ever.
That's what I thought it was, and unfortunately.
Not an overreaction. While they went for or opted into a more standard draft, I think Frost's point has to be acknowledged that Ananasic was doing as much as he could with the tools available to him to try and create an advantage, at least on the top side of the map.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, this is what I was talking about, that this guy will sacrifice his own farm, his own position on Summoner's Rift to be able to give advantages to other people, you know, teaming up with that Aurelia. The layering of CC is always going to be so nice, and this just shows that it is such a difficult matchup to win, because when it goes right for Zeros, he's able to turn the 2v1.
Yeah, I mean, this is why Zeros is considered so good and probably the best player in play-ins coming from the emerging regions. Zeros is so good, and Ananasic did the right thing. Even in draft, I was saying, like, oh, the Fiora is a little scary because you probably lose topside 2v2s. Maybe you can win 2v1s if you play it perfectly, but, you know, the Sejuani is really strong at camping. The problem was the fact that Meliodas didn't need to go top ever. Zeros was doing great, and the bot side was just a train wreck.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right, is when you don't have to just shore up a weak side of the map, you know, you're not playing in double lift or core JJ, you're not just trying to gain vision, you're actually trying to smash people. You throw a third member down there with the recognition that they have to count topside, they have to count mid lane to get the advantages you need, then you can just run a train over Gadget and Santas right now. They are putting up no resistance in a 2v2, make it a 3v2, and it just looks very ugly.
Yeah, Vega's bot lane continues to be a liability, while Palette and Big Coral, alongside Meliodas, really have found a way to pick them apart and use that, you know, to create as big a gold lead as they need to ultimately take the game.
Yeah, I mean, Substantial Koro had a great game. He's been playing Kai'Sa, which is not really super strong in lane, but they've still been getting good laning phases. He often is, you know, prioritizing a lot of damage early on with, like, Blade of the Rune King in game one, knowing that these are faster-paced games. He's absolutely crushed it.
MasterCard player of the game, that's one for Big Coral. The first game, it went to Palette, so the bot lane for PVB really showing up here today against the struggling duo for Vega.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I think that you have to take a whole look at the lens of Phong Vu at the moment, because they lost areas of the map that I think they should have won. You know, I think that if you get Rek'Sai up there, you can potentially turn some games. I think with Rek'Sai and Ryze, it's kind of cardinal sin to not at least burn summoner spells on that Syndra a couple of times, you know, put some pressure on the mid lane. They didn't open up the map, they didn't look at 1-3-1. There's lots of little things that you can nitpick. They're looking for greedy plays, but at the end of the day, when the gap between the two teams is this big, it just looks so hard for them to be able to find any avenue to kind of fall down, and when they do, it just doesn't. It looks like Vega regains control of a portion of the map. They never really gain anything.
Yeah, it was 8 to 10 in kills at one point, but they were down 2 turrets, and it was like a 5,000 gold lead at that point.
Yeah,
15, 18 minutes into the game, when it's like, well, the Phong Vu Buffalo are making tons of mistakes. You're killing them over and over, but you're not converting it into anything because you're so far behind in pressure and CS.
Right, you see a couple plateaus there in the gold graph, and that largely comes from the kind of overreaching that we talked about for PVB. And so from there, I turn towards game 3, and I think while we talk about the likelihood of PVB winning being, you know, almost guaranteed. My question is, what then do we want to see? I'm not going to knock a team for coming away with the victory, but I do think there is something to be said for looking for that cleanliness, looking to reduce those mistakes, because this is a weaker opponent. You're about to go into a stage of games against almost objectively better opponents across the board, and so you can't afford to make mistakes.
And that's what I want to see, Dash, because they've had their fun. They've had their 2 flex games. Okay, now turn scary. Like, clean up your gameplay, come in, take care of business. This is exactly what TL was able to do. I want like a 24-minute victory. I want the easy execution. And if they're able to execute on that, then you say, okay, this is a team that was very hyped coming into last year's Worlds and can potentially do damage once again in a group stage.
Yeah, I mean, Humongous Koro's been really good this series, so I want to see them continue to, you know, take something a little greedy in the bot lane because you're going to win it anyways. And then from there, like you said, I think it's actually the top in the solo lane that need to, mid lane that need to clean up a little bit. Zeros is phenomenal, but sometimes it feels like he's, I'm going to make a big play kind of guy. And that's fine, but you need to start curtailing that a little bit because you can't play like that, like we were saying, against the better teams.
And I think there is one wild card left that you throw if you are Vega Squadron. I think you go towards a Morgana bottom lane and you look to wave clear and just force it out and then get a roaming support for Santos. Like, just try and match on the map somewhere because they're losing on the map so early that I don't think just coming into it with, you know, an Anastick trying to out jungle is going to be enough. Like, just get more people onto the map.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We're headed towards Game 3. The hometown favorites, PVB, have selected blue side and are 1 win away from securing a spot in the group stage. We'll see if they can close things out after this.
Santos flashes away, but already ignited down. Stand behind Gadget, but the flash ball from Big Koro, he wants it, he will get it. Zeros, though, good riposte actually. Now going to try and make some sort of 1v2 outplay. We're going to get the first kill, finds it, ulti procs. Meliodas forced to flash over, good ult finds it. There's a soon to follow up, Meliodas low, but not fallen just yet. Flash forward, W is going to grab it. Nomad's right behind him. Vanguard's there to the follow up, and Zeros is able to get the vitals down still. The Chartan lands to Ross, now Meliodas in a 1v3. Cannot escape, will get a kill as a result. And they're going to keep fighting. Meliodas finds to knock up Big Koro, grabs the double, make it 3. They will get the kill. Meliodas revives. Big Koro, how did he live? The rest of the team dives in. The Nexus is exposed. And that's going to be all she wrote. PVB, match point now in the series.
So Josh, you going for our Drive Safe and Safe discount?
Yep, using the app, driving safe.
You want to go? You want to go, bro?
Hey, do not mess with my discount.
Woo!
You can save up to 30%.
Let's go!
Nice to meet you. Go get him, Tiger.
Sounds like you've got this.
Yeah, definitely.
Get a discount up to 30% with Drive Safe and Save from State Farm.
Welcome back for Phong Vu Buffalo versus Vega Squadron, where the team from Vietnam is 1 win away from heading to Hanoi.
And we have the answer to the age-old question, what is better, the buffalo or the shark? And unfortunately, this fight seems to be taking place on land because these sharks are just getting annihilated right now.
Yeah, not particularly fair, but PVB have certainly been playing maybe even above the level they'd showed early through the tournament. Yes, they had a tough matchup up against Team Liquid, but have clearly bounced back from whatever setbacks may have felt in that series, and they are just blitzing all the way through Vega.
Yeah, I'm gonna be frank. I tried to open up some crackers in between these games because I was really hungry, and it put up more of a fight than Vega Squadron's bot lane did against these guys. Big Coro and Pallet are just, I think Spawn said, running a train on Gadget and Santos.
They're playing exceptionally well, and again, when you think about this team, you often just call to the top side, to their top laner, to their jungler, but Big Car and Pallet, I think, have been playing better than the rest of their squad. A team that's been playing very well so far this event.
And that speaks volumes for the distance that if they clean out this best of 5 right now, how far they can go in the tournament or what kind of competition they're going to put up. Because you expect good things from the likes of Null and Zaros. It's usually Big Coro and Pallet that are kind of the question marks around this team. So only good things for them. But I want to talk about good things for Vega Squadron because I think I've got it pastry time.
Okay.
Okay. Tom Kench.
Yes.
And Ezreal.
Great champions. Love
Just
them both.
play the most defensive bot lane you can ever possibly put together. Just get away from Big Coro and Pallet.
I mean, that might be the answer. We'll see what they go for. I mean, it's tough to say. Like, again, it feels like with the opponents they've faced in the last few days, whether it's the Heimerdinger or the Lucian, it doesn't seem to matter. I think their opponents have just been better in the lane so far. Perhaps the answer is just to call your jungler there and have an Anasik back on camping duty, but we'll see how the draft shakes out. Karthus banned once again for PVV, and Vega make their way back over to red side. Phong Vu Buffalo did choose blue for this game.
I would like the adjustment to be, you played hyper defensive in your side lanes, and you just go back to what works for you, which is Nomans and a Nanasik. Nomans is kind of the best performing member alongside a Nanasik for this series, so team these guys up. Try to get something going there, and then start moving out to those side lanes, because obviously the 3v3 bot lane is not enough. Let's make it a 4v4.
Yeah, I mean, maybe give Boss a champion that he can give a little bit more. He's losing the hack group again here, but J4 and Silas will also be the bans away from Phong Vu Buffalo.
And what's the priority pick going to be? Will the Sona Tarot get through? That was quickly answered. We are playing standard. We know we can beat you in standard. You will play standard with us.
There's Kaisa also banned away, so Big Coro going to have to show us something else here.
So Akali has slipped through the bans. Jace has slipped through the bans. There's a lot of different priority picks. I expect it to be something like a Jace.
Also Aurelia, which has been quite popular so far this series. Rise, another champion. There's lots of, again, very strong champions you can take here. First one is actually Galio, I believe.
So Jace was hovered before going for the Galio. After the performance that Pallet has put up specifically on that champion, constant multi-person taunts, I think it's safe to say why he would get a priority pick like that.
Yep, again, being super good. I think a champion that a lot of teams will be happy to first pick here in this position.
Super good.
So there is Rek'Sai, the next pick there again. Number 6, sticking to I think, a pretty solid champion and a nice takeaway from Meliodas as well.
I also think that this is, frankly, a check on Vega. Like, the fact that you have the option to grab either the Jace or the Galio, and you go for the Galio, you're basically looking at Vega Squadron, and you're saying, you don't play Jace. You won't grab this. We can get this later on if we want it.
That's
yes!
Meliodas just flashing the Sejuani. But there's the Tom Kench you asked for, Froskurin.
They know!
We're halfway there.
It's Ezreal Tom Kench, or Varus Tom Kench, or Ashe Tom Kench. This is not going to be about laning. This is about PvE. We're just here to farm the minion wave, and we're getting the hell out of Dodge. Get the hell out of this bot lane.
So, I mean, Siva comes into the conversation now as well. There's a Kali locked in for Phong.
It all works.
It's a nice thing about Tom Kench in a lot of ways. Feels like sometimes it all works. As long as you don't want to interact with your opponents meaningfully in a 2v2, Tom Kench is a great champion at that.
That's why I play League of Legends. It's so I don't have to interact with people.
I have seen you play. You are certainly a simple player, as there is Lucian picked up for Phong Vu. It feels like they're picking to really, like, Early game's been good. They really want to stomp through these lanes.
This is PVB having the confidence. They know that they can end this in the lane phase. That's Lucian Galio. That's a devastating level 3. That is one of the most disgusting level 3s in the game in terms of 2v2s. And again, we saw the Jace being hovered doesn't lock it in. So I think this is one of those big holes. Vega Squadron, they don't flex the Sylas, they don't play the Sylas, and they are not playing the Jace either.
I mean, again, it would just be comfort here for Boss. Back to Aatrox here with the Hecarim and Ban. I believe it's his second most played on the year.
It is a comfort pick for him, yeah.
And then Zeros will lose his Fiora, but he's got plenty left in that bag of tricks, including the Akali they already have locked in.
So already from the first 3 picks from both sides, we said that Phong Buffaloes, that they're just gonna sucker punch you in the lane phase. They have a lot of assassination potential, they have a really scary bot lane. On the other side, Vega Squadron, it feels like they're setting up for a top camp. That they got Boss, his comfort champion. Depending on how they pinch the top lane pool, they can try to really exploit that matchup up there. And since you have a Tahm Kench, it's like Gadget Santas, you're on your own. Godspeed, good luck.
And in that case, if you're PVB here, do you take, say, LeBlanc away from Nomads, which they've done already in the draft? Or do you actually take the Ezreal away and say, play something with a lot less safety? Because if PVB do want to punish through their bot lane, taking Ezreal is a way to make that even easier. In fact, they ignore both those champions and ban away the Heimer.
I mean, I agree with you. I think by taking away the Ezreal, then you can force to try to break the tower. You know, it's much easier to get a hold of a champion that isn't the likes of Ezreal, but maybe, again, this is just a tester. Do you play it? Are you comfortable picking it up? Because we know that you're comfortable with Heimerdinger.
Doesn't play it this tournament. Certainly, I can tell you that much. Has not played it so far. MSI 2019. Jace was also the other band there for Vegas, so Zeros loses that option, and it will be Tahm Kench Ashe.
So a pretty stock standard bot lane, again, not the Lucian Braum, but definitely taking the other side of that. So the thing is that Ashe and Tahm Kench can fight for priority. You do have great pushing power right there, but I expect that Santas and Gadget will be playing a much more utility-oriented bot lane. So it's still nice to break that bot lane to start unlocking some of these semi-global ultimates like the Ashe Arrow and the Abyssal Voyage, but when are they going to break them?
Well, they have Rise there, so
I don't think he'll do that.
I would say that it looks like Zeros will be collecting the Akali, but of course we'll wait and see. Plenty of flexibility there for Phong Vu. And, you know, Pal having some fun. Flashing the Shaco, flashing the Sedge, and of course, oh, they lock it in! Okay.
So a much more traditional composition from PvP. It has the ability to play a 5v5 if this turns into team fights. It has the ability to play onto the side lanes with the likes of the Akali and the Rise, as well as multi-teleports. And really good big front lines with the Galio and the Sejuani. Everything that you want in a team comp, PvP got it with that.
Yeah. Vega also playing pretty standard here in this one. Last pick, Orianna, goes over there to Nomads. Already saw Nor play the champion in this series, game 1.
Okay, so this feels like it's about wave priority and just controlling the mid lane. Respect from Nomads that he's not taking the TP, that he has the cleanse, so expecting that this could be a hard camp on mid if he's not careful there. So needs to be able to walk out of that route. But I want Boss and Ananasik to team up. I want this Aatrox and this Rek'Sai to start popping off on the top side of the map.
Because if the other thing happens, and the Sejuani and the Akali start doing the same thing, feels like the game will get pretty quickly out of hand.
I also think there's an opportunity that Ananasik can just try to contest Meliodas himself. Maybe this Rek'Sai wants to get up in the Sejuani's face, because Akali early lane phase can be quite fragile. You know, she needs a couple of levels before she feels really free kind of fighting back.
And this is what we saw. I mean, we've seen this matchup already in this series. We're actually getting the inverse matchup now with Meliodas on the Sejuani, which is, you know, traditionally kind of the slower, more controlled jungler that isn't interested in getting particularly aggressive versus someone like Rek'Sai. So I'm curious to see if Meliodas does actually play a bit more conservative, or is just going to be like, you know what? My lane is going to be there for me. I'm going in.
For me, it's all about how Meliodas plays around the information that his laners are able to acquire for him, and just, it feels like he's always making the right decisions, especially for this series. So I'm all aboard something like a Sejuani that has the option, can go for the skirmish because of her potential burst damage early on, or maybe just wants to path around, scout out for his laners, and see it in the team fights.
And I think that's a great thing to highlight, because we look at these early games going so well for Phong Vu in this series, and you think, man, they're just pretty good players. And that's true, they are strong players. But I think so much of why Phong Vu Buffalo have been good at early game this tournament is because of Meliodas and his pressure and the information that he gives the team. Because it's one thing to just outplay your opponent and hope it works. It's another to actually get the information and then make a calculated outplay.
I mean, frankly, at this Champions Tournament, mechanics are just the bench line. You must have mechanics to be able to participate, to ride this ride. So we know that Phong Vu Buffalo have that in spades. What else do they have?
Well, we'll see what happens, because if they win this game, they are through to top 6. Into the main stage, into group stage of MSI 2019. And they'll go from one hometown to another, moving on to Hanoi if they can make it work here. They certainly have the crowd behind them, but they need to seal one more win in this best of 5.
And that's why you know, I'm okay kind of giving away some of the down and dirty League of Legends that we've seen from the Buffaloes today. It feels like when you do have that crowd behind them that is so loud, that maybe you get a little bit hyped up, you get a little bit over eager, you want to kind of flex or have that swagger, as we said. So I think that we can forgive some of the bloodlust.
And it looks relatively, I don't know if discipline's a word you should use too often when talking about Phong Vu Buffalo, because they go from 0 to what's going on very quickly, but I think they have shown just a really, you know, strong, solid set of gameplay today. And yes, you know, Zeros in particular has done his thing and maybe gone overboard once or twice, but for the most part it's been working out, and it just feels like they're outclassing their opponents in a lot of ways.
Yeah, but my eyes right now are going to be on Meliodas and Ananasik for this early game pathing. It feels like every single game we do have something that is interesting. Meliodas has gotten the better in terms of Ananasik's jungle pathing, but Ananasik has done better in the early gank stage, I feel, for the first 3 games we've had here.
No Man's also doing some nice work there. Hit level 2 and harassing down Null. You did see Ananasik throw red buff straight to this crab. So wanted to make sure to get that first. And looks like maybe full clear here for Meliodas, at least for now. Yeah. He's going to skip walls.
And Pineapple here on Rek'Sai can look for the double crab because he can cut across his mid lane since No Man's has priority. So that's going to feel really nice. Whereas, like you're saying, Meliodas probably taking it safe, recognizing that he doesn't have priority where he wants it. This is curious, though. Spotted out his Raptor camp and then slowly went to his red.
Yeah, kind of like what No Man did there, using that pressure, just threw a ward over the pit.
I think this is Meliodas trying to read what the pathing would be from Pineapple here.
Well, that hook shot's nice there from Gadget. You talked about utility, and now Ananasik here with the red buff, just going to take it down. Really, really like this pathing from Vega.
And you could tell that both junglers knew what was going to happen. Love that Ananasik pulled the trigger on that and finally said, no, I am not getting 3 buffed again. It is you who will feel my wrath. But when Meliodas popped over to his Raptor camp, he probably suspected, okay, it's probably a mid lane cross into double scuttle. This guy can contest me at red. Maybe I can burn it down fast enough. So felt like a heads-up play from both junglers. In the end, though, Vega Squadron, again, off to a very early jungle start.
Yep, Rek'Sai, the more aggressive champion, plays the more aggressive route, and is rewarded as he pre-seeks the wave, just to help No Man's keep up the pressure that he's built for himself. Meliodas still only level 2, did take the wall, but it wasn't enough to gift him over the XP, and now Ananasik gonna see if any camps, junglers are available. No Gromp right now, but might be spawning in a few. Probably not though, so at least he's just going to check out and get the info, but there's no jungle at all to really clear.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's kind of pathing issues like that when, like, Ananasik should have just assumed and then gone back to his jungle. He doesn't place any wards. Maybe there's a possibility that he looks for a dive, but you're against the likes of an Akali who has access to the Shroud as well as the Flash, so you want to respect that, at least early on when all these champions are quite squishy. But he does lose, you know, a bit of the tempo that he got by stealing away that red buff by peeking in and looking at that top blue side jungle.
Well, it was briefly a 2-level lead, but with the Krugs now being finished off by Meliodas, there's only a 1, but now the rest of his blue side jungle will be started by Ananasik, so Meliodas really only one thing left to do, it's try and gank a lane.
Will be spotted out by a ward as he comes around this corner though, as Santa's trying to get back in position, back to safety.
Wave pushing in, so no need for Gadget and Santa's to do anything crazy. And Meliodas actually going to see that the blue has not been started, and Ananasik does finish off the Gromp. Don't know if Meliodas knows this has happened here. Ananasik going to sneak over, level advantage, pops over. Santa's also roaming around, so does seem like Vega happy to fight here. Tongue left lands for the slow. Flash knock up there from Ananasik. Meliodas flashes, but still getting bitten down. The tongue is good, and that's first blood to Vega.
And just a complete misread there from Meliodas. Big Koro and Pallet were not rotating over. Maybe if the Galio and the Lucian had joined him with that invade, as well as Null pulling the trigger on the TP in the mid lane, maybe that play looks better. But kind of a strange desync from the bottom side of the map for PvP. We don't normally see that.
And for the good things continuing there for Vega, not only do they get first blood and a lead in jungle, but No Man's actually gets a pretty early blue here. So I think the other player, aside from the jungler that we looked here for Vega to maybe have a strong game, having an early blue will help you, and at least he's doing his job of pushing out the lane to give Rek'Sai some room.
Yeah, Spawn and Medic were talking about this the other day on their cast. I'll hold the point though, because Meliodas now looking top.
Yeah. Onto boss. No ulti here for the Aatrox, but just Umbral dashes away, and that's all she wrote on that play.
But look at what is happening underneath him. That blue buff, the fact that Orianna has the priority, allows a Nanisik to constantly get underneath like here and just cause hell for Meliodas. This guy is just going to be very disruptive in the jungle and constantly challenging him. Level 5 to level 3 between Rek'Sai and Sej.
And Nanisik unfortunately does not check for the Gromp, but he knows now that he can just go ahead and get him off. It would be a smite fight for it. Does go over to Meliodas, but still has to worry about potential engage. Null also very low. No Man's trying to find it. Forces a flash there with the Q.
Could be something to punish later on, as Meliodas maybe getting a little bit greedy for this wolf camp right now.
I'm not sure he should be here. Does still have his smite though.
He does feel confident because it's the tower that's behind him, and it's not like No Man's at this stage is going to walk through the tower aggro, but it does start to feel like between a rock and a hard place, especially because like you're saying, Ori with blue, she's always going to have the priority in this lane now because she has the mana to expand, and it's going to lead to Nanisik blitzing into Meliodas' face.
Yeah, No Man's off to a great start, almost 20 CS ahead. Came into lane with Doran's ring and really made Null pay by burning the flash. He'll return to lane and pick up some CS for himself as Zeros getting aggressive, dashes back towards his Shroud though. Just playing with boss for a little while.
Meanwhile, down bottom, looks like the Tom Kench and the Ashe have paid off. You know, no one's died, which it feels like in the previous games people were dying at level 2, level 3, so we've at least survived that mark.
Also with the build toward a Cutlass now completed for Gadget, going for the Blade of the Ruined King first. Feels pretty safe, although it does have to be careful without the TK around. Now Santas does return to the lane.
This is also one of the classic tricks from PVB's bot lane. They love using rush and kind of like different back timers to make sure that someone like Pallet, who when he has a champion like Galio, disappears into Fog of War, kind of makes you forget about him. Maybe you suspect, but he just sits there so patiently and then try to abuse with a flash taunt.
Vega just keeping the wave here. We'll now push it back out of the way. Does make it to tower, but should be able to get most of these here on the Ashe. So it looks like, again, just a push out and then moving back around the map for the PVB duo. Zeros also returning as a wave crashes in towards the top lane. But nothing too crazy right now. It is just that first kill. Vega, I think, should be very happy with this pace of game.
And I agree with you. This feels good to celebrate for Vega because, you know, again, not everything's on fire right now. You're surviving the lane phase where traditionally you just get blown out of the water previously. But if you look at the composition, that still doesn't feel as good. You know, PVB on the other side are just as happy to play a slow lane phase. They have superior scaling options, you know, pending like a massive shockwave or like a huge wombo combo of like shockwave into Aatrox to win fights.
No, Zeros actually caught in the chain, so we'll disengage there. Zeros was maybe thinking about an all-in. Vega though, feeling strong enough here on the bottom half of the map to take this very early Infernal Drake. So just under 9 minutes, they'll pick that up.
Oh, best dragon spawn they could have asked for. Double back-to-back Infernal when they have the push power.
And No Man's again continuing to play up towards Null's turret. Null does have blue this time around and is gaining levels, so a little easier for him to try and clear this out, but still Orianna pushing down, looking for a second plate.
And the issue that PVB is waiting on is, yeah, they're happy to sit in their lanes and to farm up because eventually they'll just outscale this game with the composition, but they're waiting for Meliodas to have access to level 6. He's been tracked very well by an Nanisik, so hasn't found his opportunity. Once he has that ultimate, it's much easier to try to break some of these lanes by ganking through the lane instead of trying to gank through the river, which Meliodas, or excuse me, a Nanisik has controlled.
Well, for the first time what feels like a while, Meliodas actually towards the top lane, but maybe just covering for a potential gank there as No Man's the one to watch here alongside the jungler. Null going to be the target. No flash there. Shockwave is going to land. The knockup follows and a beautiful dive there from Vega.
Very well tower aggro juggled right there. The fact that they traded it off, it's just, I believe, 3 shots total between the two members and punishing the flashless rise.
No Man's continues to get gold. Going to collect even more plates for himself. And the gold lead's actually 2,000 up for Vega. And that's with no towers being killed just yet. There's all that early kill gun and the plates to watch this again.
Yeah, taking another look at it. You can see that Null, he was trying to run as quickly as he could to get on the outskirts of that shockwave, but just picture perfect there.
Nicely done. Last chapter now finished as well. We'll get even more plate gold, so the third one falls as Meliodas just trying to clear these minions out. Does get all of those, including the cannons, so that feels pretty good. But now No Man's getting his blue buff again.
But that's the big winner, is the fact that Meliodas actually gets to farm in the mid lane, now has access to level 6. So the Sejuani ultimate is there, and we were talking about how ganking through river is so hard because he'll be spotted out so early with all of the vision control from Vega Squadron. But with the Sejuani ult, you can just run up the lane, toss out the ult, and see what you get.
Well, certainly if we want to use early games as the measuring stick for this series, much better for Vega. First 2 kills on the board, have that first Infernal, and Gadget's up in CS.
Oh, finally, we did it! No, I like the call. I think that if we get to game 4, that Tahm Kench Ashe is really the way to go. Just stop fighting them in the lanes.
And Tahm Kench certainly a champion at enabling that sort of situation. Meliodas still trying to stay active. PVB maybe feel like they have enough strength on the top side to fancy a Rift Herald, but nice hook shot there from Gadget. They actually are swapping up for now.
Yeah, but it's being called, I believe. Depending on where Big Kuro goes, which he's running at mid because he's waiting until his team has full information before he makes the choice. Do I join you at Rift Herald or do I go bottom? But it's a completed item for Lucian and just the components for Gadget.
Well, that back may actually turn the tide here for PVB, who have brought almost everyone up here. Zeros notwithstanding, who's actually going in for the swap and moving into the bottom lane.
I think this is actually really dangerous for PvP. The fact that you're dealing with really key ultimates this early on in the game, like the Shockwave as well as the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, I like the call to just say they can have this one. It's not worth walking into an area that we were already late to rotate to.
Yeah, and again, Vega were there first. They got set up for Vision. They have the Speed Shrine. So that's going to be Rift Herald over to Vega Squadron.
Finally feels like we got the calm, collected, controlled game that Vega Squadron really need to showcase that they can be competitive in this best of 5.
Big Core again, gonna meet Gadget there. And Zeros almost up to the Gunblade, doing decently there, although a little bit behind in gold.
Big gold difference though is between those two junglers. That is 50 to 77, and Anasik is just schooling Meliodas this game.
Yeah, gonna pop the Rift Turret as well, so No Man's is gonna cash in even more turret plates. Will get the first turret gold and the plates over to himself as well. So this Orianna also has so much gold built up.
And opening up the map like that is so pivotal when you have the Ashe and the Tahm Kench. We're gonna
walk through there. Okay, Meliodas, saw it coming.
It's a big tank line.
Whenever you see multiple people walk through a choke point next to an Orianna, have to hold your breath for a second.
You just clench.
No level 11 just yet for Orianna. No man's not far off though. Plate's gonna go over. Caster creep. Not enough. It's like one little wizard spell away from that caster creep for giving the plate over. So Gadget and Sanders will keep the push up now.
Just a stiff breeze comes by and knocks it over.
Pallet back up here to join the 2v2. As Meliodas again just getting consistently harassed in his jungle. Loses his red buff again.
He's getting ripped around the map, and we're starting to see big discrepancies between the lanes, not just in the CS, but mostly in the experience, particularly that mid lane, level 9 to level 10. No Man's is a big deal right now, closer to that level 11.
Big Crow a little bit low, but they are going to start the fight off here. Culling popped, Ignite down onto Gadget as well, but not enough to get the kill there. I'll stay safe.
There's one rule, guys. We don't fight.
And hey, they obeyed your rule and it works out. In fact, Infernal even up here means that they have the presence, they have the pressure to take their second Drake in a row.
Teaming up with No Man's and Ananasik, I was just talking about this Orianna, level 10, that much closer to level 11. As soon as she gets it, which she got it right there, now No Man's and Ananasik are very scary for this ball delivery system. So I want to see how Vega Squadron continue to open up this map and really try to abuse the utility of their bot lane with that Ashe arrow.
And look, the first, kill or two was okay, good job, you're like making a game of it, kind of slowing things down. At this point, they're actually really far ahead. I mean, these are comparable gold leads to what PVB were delivering in the last few games. Meliodas looking for something, but a cleanse from No Man's makes that a non-factor.
Yeah, walks out of it. It's going to be now another repeat. Maybe you attempt that gank again on No Man's, but I was actually looking at this, who does Meliodas actually pick to try to gank with the Sejuani ultimate? When you're against a Tahm Kench, I'll hold it.
Gadget flashes, Pallet follows, and that's going to be the first kill over to Phong.
Force him to guess. Don't flash early and tell him exactly where you're going to go.
And as you said, goals don't fight. Unfortunately, Tahm Kench not there to save the day. So that is Gadget falling down and giving the first kill over to the VCS representative. Big Corey now with that blade, going to try and push down and get a bit more turret damage done. But as you can see, 6 plates and 0 versus 0 means almost 1,000 extra gold given over to Vega.
Still a lot more power stacked into this Vega Squadron lineup, especially as Orianna now starting to cheat up towards the bottom lane. Without Sejuani ultimate, Vega should feel really confident that if PVB hung around there, that they would look for the fight.
Yeah, No Man's had the rank 2 ulti, has the Luden's already done with an extra blasting one plus the Sork shoes, so good position here for No Man's to take over this game alongside his jungler that's had another good game. Again, we talked about these teams in both their groups. You know, when they had a lead, they really just ran away with the game for the most part. So this is finally Vegas time with a pretty substantial lead in the early game. So the question now is, can they run away with the game?
We're also going to see what PVB look like playing from a back foot and if they can actually turn that into a victory. Because anytime they fell behind Team Liquid, it was basically just watching them run into the wood chipper.
Well, not what you want to see if you're a fan of the home team. PVB again would like to finish off the series right now. And Anasik to ulti, maybe a little too far forward. He's gonna, oh, Tom Kench gonna save the day. Flashes away to the tunnel. That would have been fine just in case.
I'm a little bit scared about this choice of where you're going to play on the map right now. Yes, Nanasik is very strong, but his bot lane just hasn't counted it for him. I feel like he needs to be prioritizing boss and no man's, and that if this Rek'Sai is going to make a play, he needs to look left and right, and as long as Orianna and Aatrox are there, that's fine. If it's just Tom Kench and Ashe, don't make that play.
You see Zeros also knowing that he's getting pressured a little, so with no man's off the map, although he's back to mid now as we can see. Zeros just gives up the turret and decides to give a bit of extra gold over to boss. And PVB again just definitely picked a comp that's a bit slower, fallen behind in the early game thanks to the efforts of primarily Vega Squadron's jungler. So a little happier perhaps to sit back and play slower with this comp, but not the kind of deficit you think of. Even when you're picking something that's not quite as high tempo as it has been in the first two games.
They still need to be really respectful of Vega Squadron. Yeah, probably in comms right now, PvP are like, it's fine, play scale, we're playing for farm right now, we're just trying to create safe opportunities, and then if someone overstays their welcome, then we look for punish. Maybe it's this bot lane. But they probably aren't thinking, you know, hit the panic button, there's a possibility we lose this game, because there's still so many options left for them as the composition continues to scale up.
Certainly not out of reach by any means. Zeros dancing back in onto boss. Will he commit the ulti? Will look for the stun, but doesn't land it. Still gets Aatrox ulti out of there. Oh, missing that E. Might have been it there for Zeros, but forcefully ulti times out, and he uses the second charge, and boss walks away safely.
And we're kind of in this lull where there's not a lot of obvious objectives for either team to play around. This would be interesting. There is TP for boss, so he could TP back into this lane.
Very long lane for Zeros to try and run out of, and he already used his ulti. He does have flash.
He's actually...
Shroud though.
He's walking back.
No, is it gonna try it? I think you have to go for it. You stayed down here long enough. Now Zeros sees what's up. Prayseeker misses. Zeros gonna flip away. That's gonna be enough to get him out.
I'm not sure about that one.
It looked very scary.
I'm a little bit lukewarm, I think.
Zeros gets out of it. This time actually stays in the bot lane. He's pretty confident, and Nanasik has walked away from his lane. No man's though actually in the side lane right now versus Big Koro. Zeros apparently decided that he wants to fight again. Oh, he has his jungler, of course. Although that's Tom Kent.
He's got more than a jungler.
Zeros in. Oh, gets knocked up. The arrow's gonna miss him. But there's Santa going in. Pallet roams in as well with his ulti. Flash not committed. Noldo commits for the flash route, but it's still 4v4. Vega walking back towards their turret now. Maybe they can turn tail and try and get the fight turned around for themselves. Pallet locked up in the chains is gonna get caught up and killed.
They've overextended, and Orianna is running behind them.
Yep, no, Realm Warp not going to work. That's Gadget grabbing the next kill. And here's No Man's going to cut them off with the Shockwave. Oh, it looks so good. Finds the Shockwave, gets one and a flash. Melody fail flash. And that's going to give the kill over to Rek'Sai. Vega are really coming alive.
Hope is alive for this Vega Squadron in game number 3 right now. They got the minion wife behind them. They even grabbed the aggro, so the minions are going to survive just a little bit longer, but immediately punish the overreach there from PVB and shove down the tower.
PVB, for the first time, almost all tournament, look very passive in this game. I mean, yes, you have to play, you know, knowing that you're behind, you have to play with respect, but they're almost giving them too much at this point.
I don't know if that was respectful, though, Patient. They, like, TP'd and threw everything. No, I agree. It's been, like, slower, but as soon as they thought that they had an inch in, they decided to try to take the fight. But the ability for Vega Squadron's composition to disengage from the initial attempt here was what really punished them. So it felt like who was going to win in this 1v1? Boss and Zeros have been going at it all game long, but Tom Kench actually just means so much.
I was going to say, we talked about the power of Galio and his globals as Noel jumps in here. And this is kind of what spelled disaster here for PVB, because now you cannot run.
Yeah, good positioning by Gadget as well. I like the fact that he doesn't immediately commit. He's just there to, again, provide that utility and help his team walk them down. But it's Boss and Santos that were kind of leading the charge.
Yeah, Boss's confidence on Aatrox also showing. He got 2 very nice knockups there to basically get those 2 kills. And then Meliodas, slight mechanical error. Probably would have died anyway, but you can see the fans not happy.
I'd like to point out that guy in the middle space.
Well,
That
this
was
kill, so Santa's dead's nice. Gadget though will live. Finally, PVB finds something on the scoreboard. But again, I think, you know, it's funny that, you know, you mentioned it a few times, but Tomkin is a big difference maker. When you're playing against a team that wants to be aggressive, he diffuses all that, and you're able to match global power and just move to fights as quickly as PVB are willing to start them.
And Gadget and Santos have experience playing with this pick. You know, it's not something that's completely out of the wheelhouse or out of the blue for them. So I'm curious why it took so long for them to grab hold of this. It felt like, you know, sometimes you just have to put up the white flag. You just have to say, this one's probably on me, guys. I can't beat these guys. We tried to go toe-to-toe. It didn't work, so let's just play defensive. Let's change the game plan. And I'm glad that it finally happened for Vega Squadron. But the question is it too little too late?
Perhaps, but it would be funny if the smallest change in draft is the one that makes the biggest difference for a team that has shown us so many creative drafts throughout the tournament. Still, PVB did grab a kill. They're woefully behind still at 6,000 down. But PVB will make a go of this game. I don't think they'll go silently this good night.
But I really like the Vega Squadron are forcing them to group up. So they're not giving them a lot of space or time to play around these sidelines. They're saying, hey, our comp is really strong right now when we are grouped up around how strong No Man's and Anonisic is. Let's just force it down, PVB. Let's take what we want and not give them the opportunity to trade cross-map on objectives.
And that decisiveness was what got PVB into such good positions and made them such quick games in the first 2, so Vega certainly have the ability to show similar strength here. Don't want to play too slowly. Much like Goldilocks has to be just right. Even when you have a lead, you don't want to wait too long.
The classic lukewarm.
Gadget finds himself some minions to arrow down. Certainly have to think that Baron is in the forefront of both these teams' minds.
Isn't it a completely different game when Vega Squadron have tempo and control? Like, it just... PVB, they're in control, there's kills, everything's all across the map, it's very scrappy, it's happening very quickly. And I just love the fact that, again, Vega Squadron chose not to play into that and finally said, let's play our game. Let's try to see if we can force this team to be responsive to us.
And so far, so good. Again, building a big lead. They have the runner Drakes right now, including 2 Infernal. Have a Cloud coming up in a minute 32 to add a potential 4th to their collection.
Yeah, double Infernal in a mountain is always going to feel good, especially when you have a Bork on an Ashe.
No Man's also rapidly approaching item number 3. Zera still trying to find his foothold in a 1v1, but with the ulti up and not much vision, Zeros can't really overcommit there.
And that's the key thing there, is that he knows that he's got the foothold. He can kick Aatrox when he is down right now. He's taking very short trades before he's looking for the all-in, whittling him down and kind of buying his time, but it's not having that perfect information, knowing that an Abyssal Voyage could really ruin his day.
Again, you have to play with so much more respect when there's a global that can make it happen. Ulti finds Meliodas there. Arrow is good, and that's a kill for Anonisic.
And it's just that easy. Throwing the arrow from Fog of War, you can see all of the vision control that Vega Squadron have gotten. They've basically had priority over this mid lane since minute 1 in this game, especially with the early transfer of that blue buff, and it hasn't let up. And now that's a Mountain, double Infernal, and such easy Baron access.
Oh, No Man's running interference. Really nice there again. Orianna so good in these choke points leading up to Baron. Norley is here. Vega actually are going to commit that. Zeros keeping straight into the pit. Gets out, has to use charge 1 of the ulti already. The Baron is low. I don't think they can get it. That will be over to Vega. Smite is good. Zeros forced to get out. Boss is a little low, but he still has his ulti. So Zeros is going to get chased down. He's slowly flashes into Anonisic. Unstoppable just gets an easy kill.
Everyone is flashing into a wall from PvP. These are mechanical missteps left, right, and center here. And here comes Vega.
Oh, knock up in the shockwave. That's a kill for Gadget. And they're not going to get off the map. Maybe they thought reset after that 1 kill on the Baron, but with another one now, just go straight for the objective.
And that's 2 key members there, especially the Ryze, who's your primary source of wave clear, that are dead and down. You have the wave and the Baron behind them. I'm curious how confident Vega are going to feel in this push. Maybe they push for an in-hit.
If you turn the names off, I assume that Vega are actually Phong Vu Buffalo, given how the series has played out. They're basically doing exactly what has been done to them in these first 2 games, just making it look almost effortless.
And it feels like Vega Squadron finally found the blueprint. It It wasn't about playing standard. It wasn't about playing cheese. It was about playing slow, about trying to control this team. Team Liquid managed to dismantle PVB when they were able to slow down the game. Don't buy into these guys. Don't get scrappy with them.
And again, I mean, this is desperation here for PVB. They have to try something, but you don't have a jungler. You can't really force a team fight, so they get the Baron, and it's inevitable here to get a couple kills at least.
And you have to think that this is just a massive mistake, not just the obvious ones that you see on your screen about flashing into walls, but, you know, why are you expending your teleport? Why is PvP even looking into that pit? You're not going to get the smite contest. You don't have vision control. You decided that you weren't going to take the 5v5. You could have held on to those summoners. You could have held on to your lives and tried to trade the Baron time for at least some gold.
And I present this gold graph as a visual representation of this game's narrative. It's just been a very calm, steady snowball for Vega Squadron.
And now it's about if they can just crescendo on top of it. Feeling confident. They've got everything behind them. We've seen maybe some nerves at play for Vega Squadron. When they did have leads against the Flash Wolves, it took them a very long time to close that game out. I want something a bit crisper here. You have the muscle, now use it.
Have to agree, but Vega's still working on these structures. They've already got one inhib. They took the top after that Baron. Boss is working with the Baroned up minion wave there for the bottom inhibitor turret. And of course the rest of the team in the mid. So really clean stuff so far there for Boss. Nice double markup there as well. Clearly knows his way around this champion. Zeros getting, well, he's poked off. That's actually an ulti from Rek'Sai. It's an assassination! Rek'Sai just leaps in there. And PVB forced back to their nexus. Boss pops the ulti, walks up, Sanders in the belly of the Tom Kent stays safe, and this is going to be carnage here, I have to think so. Boss pops the wall then, they're still trying to dive under the turret. Vega trying to give them a taste of their own medicine straight into the base and back to the turrets.
Yep, but now they have a waiting creep wave for them as well as a cannon. They can continue this siege, and PvB are just trying to mount the defense right now, stop the bleeding.
Zeros down, 20 seconds up. Inhib gonna go over, tower falls in mid, No Man's just putting in work. They're gonna try a realm warp here, but Vega walk out. Gadget very respectfully flashes.
They haven't gotten an inhib yet. Vega Squadron still need to complete the mission that they were sent here to do.
There's one in mid, and bottom lane should be finished off by Ananasik.
There they go.
With the help of the Baron up minions, so maybe stay a little while. Zeros is back up. PVB might try and find something here.
They have no Sejuani ultimate, so I like this window that Vega are abusing.
Yeah, they're trying to end the game. Gadget takes the first Nexus turret down. This is a deja vu from the last game. We saw Meliodas gonna get picked up by No Man's. What a snipe by the Orianna. And it feels like it's gonna be all she wrote for this game. I mean, PVB have to go soon. And even if they win the fight, it's only gonna potentially delay the inevitable. Vega are moving in for the kill. They'll find Null, they'll knock him up, they'll force a flash out of the way. Again, the Rek'Sai comes back up. They blow the Nexus open and exposed, and Gadget is just gonna put the last few arrows into their structure as Vega finally find themselves on the scoreboard.
And we finally have a series here. Vega Squadron, it took a couple of goes. They were trying to problem solve, kind of Rubik's Cube, how they're gonna deal with PvP, and I think we finally settled on a strategy. The problem is that when they figure out a strategy, it seems really easy to ban it away. And I'm not saying that Tom Kench is the only band-aid here, but when Big Koro and Pallet didn't get the opportunity to just punch down on Vega Squadron's bot lane, suddenly the game looked very different. So maybe it's about forcing them to play a kill versus kill bot lane.
Also not sure, you know what I mean, in retrospect it's easier to say Sejuani didn't work out, but I think that's more to do with Ananasik just doing so well in the first 10 minutes of the game. I mean, we've talked at length about how one-sided a lot of the early games have felt, and it's been all Phong Vu until now. That game is all Vega for the early game.
And a lot of it was started with No Man's. I think that's kind of the other thing to look at is how they used mid lane priority to attack the jungle. So I think if PvB want to try to run back at this, you want to force your bot lane, or force their bot lane to fight yours, and you want to make sure that you're finding tempo in the jungle, that you're not playing to Ananasik just constantly running you down or blitzing into your face.
And as you said, it was a different look. You know, once they had the lead, they played quite a bit calmer, quite a bit more controlled, which is more of what we've seen from Vega in their play so far throughout the tournament. But it was just as effective. That game ended in under 30 minutes very easily.
Yeah, and again, a completely different vibe, a completely different look. The fact that this bot lane was finally like 2-2 and 9 collectively, I think that's the best scoreline that Gadget and Santos have had.
Well, for more on how Vega kept their dream of groups alive, let's hear it from the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much. Pastry time. Spawn!
I'm a genius.
You're a genius.
I never doubted it. Here we go.
They got the win that you predicted. Let's talk about it because we were ready. We were writing them off. At the end of game 2, we were completely writing off Vega. We were saying, nope, this is actually a 3-0 PVB. Look to outclass them pretty much across the board. But they did strike back.
Yeah, and especially with the draft, I was like, oh god, this is so standard. There's no way that this is the right decision for them. And then they go ahead and have a fantastic early game completely off the back of an handshake.
Yeah, they certainly do, and I think that this is an example of when Meliodas' lanes aren't willing to help him after he spent kind of the first couple of games trying to help them out. He's also had some back-to-back pretty terrible performances, and when you do fall behind on something like a Sejuani, you can't have any pressure. And Rek'Sai thrives on a situation where she has more pressure than the enemy jungler, and we saw Anasith really visit multiple areas of the map again, but this time get the kind of leads and the kills needed to be able to generate this kind of the gold graph.
I mean, just look at that gold graph too. It's a steady, straight decline from basically minute 1.
And look at this. This is 2,200 damage Sejuani for the whole game.
Doing better.
Yeah, that is a useless Sejuani if ever I have seen one.
Yeah.
And I think that the scary thing for Buffalo is that you could see the games following this trajectory. First game, very, very quick, very decisive. Like, they obviously came to play. Game 2, they start that way, it gets bloody, they peter off, they kind of troll around a little bit. It's hard to flick that switch coming into game 3. We wanted them to do it, and they weren't able to.
I mean, look at that goal difference, 1,200 at 15 minutes for just the jungler. I want to run through the rest of the goal difference stats at 15 because it's kind of interesting here. For Vega, the top lane was up 300 gold. Mid lane was up 1,800 gold. For Vega. The bot lane, though, still down at 15. Not by much, 240 and about just over 100 in the support position, but it does kind of show that it took the jungle and rest of, the top side of the map to kind of circumvent what had been a liability in the first couple games.
I mean, you have to be fair to Gadget as well. Like, they didn't get slammed because a lot of it was just individual performances in the first few games where they were getting crushed in 2v2s. And the fact that they stepped up, they went even this time while their jungler was having a great performance, and the mid laner as well. No Man's was fantastic. So I think the scary thing for me was just how, non-existent Phong Vu Buffalo was at all this game. Like, they were getting crushed in mid lane, in top lane. And that was surprising because I thought for sure that they had the better mechanical players. And these matchups, they got killed in.
And we do need to talk about the fact that, this is an Aatrox matchup that is very swingy. So once the snowball starts, it is hard to chase it down. When you're playing Ryze into a standard control mage, once again, you fall behind that curve, you can't take him to a side lane. All of your win conditions start to disappear as the map deteriorates. So I understand that the game state does come into it, but the fact that they can't even, use some of that speed, some of that craftiness to generate a play to try and get themselves back in the game, really did look sloppy when they looked for it. They were missing flashes, they were mis-executing in team fights. There's lots of little things going on in this game that made you a little bit worried.
Oh, that's the thing that jumps out to me. Every once in a while, hey, if you get behind early and you lose just because a lane went completely in the other direction, okay, you can kind of shrug that off sometimes. But to me, it's evident that the pressure to some degree might be getting to a few of these guys, that in that loss, they started overreaching, that they started making bad mechanical plays. As you mentioned, multiple terrible or useless flashes.
Yeah, because if you are in a situation where you've made a bad call, I can understand as a flash walls. But when your jungler flashes into a Krug wall and your mid laner, your top laner flashes into a blue buff wall, they're not even hard walls to flash.
Yeah, I mean, that's the really scary part, is how much of this was somewhat self-inflicted by Phong Vu. And I think, Vega did play very well. Like, there were clear, marked improvements in individual performances, but it was at the same time as Phong Vu kind of nosediving in some of theirs.
Well, and I think if we talk about what did work then for Vega, as we mentioned, of course, the top side of the map and the jungler playing well, I think returning to that bot lane and talking about how they kind of shored up the weakness that it could have been, in the picks, actually. I personally appreciated the Ashe and the Tahm Kench above all things in that bot lane. Take something very safe, utility focus. Hey, Ashe can help start fights. Don't need to outfarm my lane opponent too much, understanding it was a Lucian, so I'm going to outscale eventually.
Right, and this was what we kind of called for even in the last series versus Flash Wolves when Frosty and I were on the desk. There was a chance when they had a good Tahm Kench pick. They didn't take it. This time around they do, and you get to see the influence that champion can have when you're more focused on stabilizing your bot lane.
Not only that, it influenced the rest of the map. If you're talking about we're going to play 1-3-1 quite heavily, why not take a Tahm Kench to shore up the 1-4? It makes a lot of sense when you have a look at it, and it kind of beat them to the punch multiple times. Also, form of engage in the bottom lane as well. You can see Gadget is a guy with the itchy trigger finger. He wants to get involved. We'll give him more tools to be able to do so if that's the case.
All right, so I imagine for, Phong Vu Buffalo, it's about returning to what we saw in games 1 and 2, eliminating those, those kind of out of the blue mistakes, and playing a more controlled game, right? Like, you've shown that you can win beyond the 20-minute mark, so you don't need to go down.
Just pick the draft that suits your playstyle. So you can either play more controlled if you want to take Sejuani. You want to play fast, just don't pick the Sejuani. Pick something that can fight. Take a Xin Zhao into the jungle, as we saw Flash Wolves do against this exact same team. When they tried to fight early game, Xin Zhao just said, okay, I'm the best early game jungler. Level 1 to level 5, no one beats me. Like, just do something like that.
Well, our series score has moved to 2-1. We have ourselves a series. MasterCard is committed to providing League fans with unforgettable, priceless moments. And today, they awarded Tam, Phong, Huang, and Nam with those Gnar plushies and were named Fans of the Day as they cheer on Phong Vu Buffalo and aim to head to Hanoi. A few of those fans there, I believe, are from Hanoi themselves, so hopefully we'll be making the trip back to home alongside the Phong Vu Buffalo.
Yeah, and they looked like they were headed for a 3-0, so everyone was probably feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I got an award. And wait, my team just lost.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, cheer harder. You got 2 more games. You only got to win one of them. And that's that.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think that as we look at how the series has progressed, it still is on track for a Phong Vu Buffalo victory. They just need to show it up.
Yep, there it is. Clean, clean, clean. Get clean. The LCL reps have picked up their first win. We'll see if Vega Squadron can take this series in Game 5.
Welcome back to MSI 2019, where Vega Squadron bounced back in Game 3 and now choose red side heading into this matchup in Game 4 versus Phong Vu Buffalo.
And I think they finally figured it out. It's not just about the Tahm Kench pick, but it's making sure that nothing has to be about the bot lane, that Ananasik can spend his time elsewhere, whether that's teaming up with Nomans, whether that's giving attention to boss, or in that game, just putting it to Meliodas. I love that change up there, and I hope that we continue to see Vega Squadron in a high-tempo jungle matchup.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Nanasik with a lead, certainly looking like almost a different player. I mean, really, that was a completely different game than we've seen so far in the series. Vega, I think, still showing that they are the, softer, more controlled team, which is certainly not a bad thing, but managed to find the win in just about as much time. I mean, I feel like all these games have been under 30 minutes, so clearly when a team is ahead, they are just running away with the snowball. And for Vega, if they can do that 2 more times and complete the reverse sweep, then they'll be moving on. If not, Phong Vu Buffalo, who still need to find 1 win in the next 2, will put themselves into the main stage in groups of MSI.
See if we're gonna find ourselves at Silver Scrapes or if it's all going to end here now. Same sides here. We've got blue side for PVB, red side for Vega, and already it looks very similar in terms of the game plan here from the drafts, taking away the likes of the Karthus, making sure that boss never gets his Hecarim.
Yep, there is same 4, I believe, and Tarek gonna make it same 5. Can't quite remember off the top of my head what the 6th ban for Vega was in the last draft, but I'm sure when they banned it, it was Kai'Sa, so it's actually the same 6th pick. I knew I remember when they banned it.
Although this would be a different priority pick. Last time around, it was Pallet getting the likes of Galio, but as you can see, they're flashing through a lot of them. Galio, Jace, Akali, but the Rex side.
So this kind of harkens back to what you said at the top of this series about Jarvan, where they are willing to pick Jarvan, they like it so much, over a lot of these stronger solo laners. This is basically the same thing. It's like Jarvan's ban, Rek'Sai's been great this series. Give me Rek'Sai.
And it feels like both teams now have the exact blueprint that they want for how they're going to feed into each other. PVB are like, we cannot take the Sejuani into Rek'Sai matchup. We cannot lose control of the jungle matchup. We're going to put priority on getting that, priority on Meliodas. Whereas on the other side, Vega Squadron like, run it back. We don't get the Rek'Sai, but we'll find something to deal with it. Let's get Ashe, let's get Tahm Kench.
Yeah, all about this lane for Vega. Looked good before. And they'll run it back here again. PVB, pretty quick selection. Switch over to Varus and Braum. So pretty aggressive 2v2. Of course, very tough always to crack Ashe Tahm Kench, but they're going to give it a go.
And it feels like they're trying to find, laners that can have push priority, even though Galio and Lucian were forward in that lane when Meliodas got slammed by trying to take that invade. Either way, we'll see if maybe they respond better, having that push priority and rotating to Meliodas when he calls for his laners to assist him.
Also, Meliodas is going to lose some jungle picks here, potentially. Aurelia being the 3rd pick here in Phase 1 for Vega. So that's dual lane and a solo lane locked in there for Vega. So they'll take the Fiora off the board. If Boss wants to pilot Aurelia again, so he does not want to run back into the Fiora.
And this is pretty clear from both teams. This is a Nanasik versus Meliodas. Meliodas trying to pinch that pool. Something that can deal with Rek'Sai, especially in the early levels, is something like Kindred. It's a bit more of a niche pick, so maybe you still ban out the likes of, like the Sejuanis, the Skarners, the Lee Sins, these types of picks. Probably not Lee Sin, because Rek'Sai is a good matchup into it, but like Skarner and Sejuani. Or maybe you take a gamble that they'll pull out the Kindred, you take that one away.
Here's one Kindred game for Nanasik this tournament, so certainly capable of playing. Actually had a ton of unique picks in the playing group stage, but Gragas is a selection, so wanting to take the tanks away here.
That would be interesting.
That would be.
I'm just getting more excited. Okay, so something...
Oh, wow!
Okay, so something you need to know about the CIS region is that they have a really high priority on Vi because Diamond Prox is in the region, and it just feels like the LCL is determined by a lot of their key star, like these legacy names that will bring in these picks, and they basically just shape the meta. So this is not, like a hat trick that they pull out in the play-in stage in like a very intense best of 5. This is actually something that's very common for the CIS region.
Well, fine. Not the jungle we expected, but what Ananasik will get here for this game 4. Akali left unbanned though. We'll go over and see if Zeros has a better time in his matchup, or if Null wants to take it. Depends how they want to flex these picks around. But also LeBlanc banned there by Vega, so Null lost that as a potential pick. There's maybe something like Zoe, but can be tough to blind.
I kind of feel like it might be an Azir. Maybe the Ori. Okay, so it's the same concept though. I feel like Null learned that if he loses the push priority there by just getting shoved in constantly by the likes of the Orianna, that it was really impacting his jungler negatively. So I expected something like an Azir that would contest with that wave clear, but he himself kind of getting the buy one get one free. I get a wave priority champion as well as I take that pick away from No Man.
Yeah, we had the rise up, but it looks like it might just drop through this draft actually.
The No Man special. So we're getting CIS comfort right now. We get the Vi, which is a mainstay in CIS, and we're also getting Corki, which is No Man's special pick. He likes to pick this blind. He'll pick it into so many different matchups. This is like his go-to champion.
Well, if there's ever a time for it, it's trying to push your team to a Game 5 and one game closer to qualifying into MSI groups.
Now, the thing that I want to focus in with Vi is that she does have a rather binary play pattern, because it's pretty clear what a Vi wants to do, and once she's in, there's no ticket out. She's only going forward, so we need to make sure that Vega Squadron are able to get their laners ahead. They can follow a Nanasik when he decides to dive in with this Vi.
So it feels like, again, you know, teams have played a few games of, I think, figured each other out in some ways. I mean, these picks are surprising from Vega if you're not familiar with the team and the region, so perhaps some of this is unexpected here for PVB, but if they've done their homework like you have, clearly I think these are picks you can expect. So it does feel like the teams have finally said, okay, you know what? We need to match at about the same spot and just see what happens in the early game. I think Vega have learned to not overextend, to play a bit slower, and I think PVB have learned to play maybe not so recklessly.
And it can be one of those situations where even just having some of these strange picks like Vi, especially if you're not ready for it, or even if you know that it's coming, can catch you off guard, because you're thinking, you know, how many experiences do I have knowing how much damage Vi is going to put out, knowing how much burst that she has capable on her kit.
I mean, with how global of a game League of Legends is, it's actually quite rare to find picks that are, you know, really specific to one region. It certainly does happen. There's plenty of competitive leagues around the world. But I mean, even if you know to expect the Vi, the chances of you playing against it when it's a regional specialty, very unlikely.
Here we go, game 4, it's all on the line. Are we gonna get Silver Scrapes? Are we gonna get game number 5? And is Vi going to be the thing that takes us there?
Well, that would be, I think, a very fitting way for Vega to push themselves to that 5th game, and PVB aren't interested in that narrative at all. They're looking to they wanted to seal it up last game, they couldn't do it, so refocus, reset, and push themselves to a solid game 4. That's what them and the home crowd are hoping, at least.
And we said it before, and we're gonna say it again. It feels like the teams know it, we know it, the audience surely knows it. Everything is determined by the junglers in this matchup so far. We've seen a couple bad looks and a couple good looks from both of them. I feel like Ananasik, especially in the last 2 games, has kind of been stepping over Meliodas, so all eyes on how he's going to continue to try to exploit that with this pick, or if Meliodas is going to kind of return to form and start getting off these crazy ganks that we know him for.
And again, between watching the pathing and the lane priority, there'll be a lot to look for here in that first 5 minutes. Right now, we can see all 10 champions just spread across the neutral zone of the Rift. Doesn't look like too many wards are going down, nor maybe going to rotate it over, but just going to ward that brush there for the scuttle. And I think, again, for both these teams, take a deep breath, just try and play this game out, and I'm expecting things to slow down a little bit, at least in the early game.
Although, we do have an Infernal Drake, so...
Alright, maybe not that much.
I'm ready to speed it all up. It's not going to be a leash, but it is going to be a bottom start for Meliodas. Again, watch this for Pallet and Big Corvo. If this team goes to the main stage, they love doing stuff like this, of making sure that they get priority towards the lane, that they can play aggressive. And so even when Meliodas does start on their side of the map, they almost never assist him or never leash for him.
He's going red into Krug, and Ananasik is red over the wall straight to top lane.
Welcome to CIS.
Has the queue up in 2 seconds.
Enjoy your stay.
In he goes. Xerath only level 1, does have the flash. Probably going to have to use it pretty quickly here. Does use it.
And of course, one of the cool things about Vi is, like Nidalee, she's one of the few junglers that can look for gank paths like that, because you can go or have access to go over the walls such early on. And it just makes pathing and kind of the speed to which you can get these early ganks off really impressive.
And then, unlike Nidalee, actually it's CC when she goes in. Albeit, it's kind of tough to hit before your ultimate, but still a very aggressive path. He takes the Scuttle Crab. He's actually going to force the map vertically now as he moves towards the blue buff.
So we talked about the vertical jungling previously. You can now see it in effect this time around, as it feels like both junglers are just going to trade their blue buffs. And that's simply because Boss has now helped in burning Zeros' flash, and they want to get Boss ahead. It seems like Ananasik is like, it's fine, I can take over this, there's no reason for Meliodas to be here, you can be aggressive and try to punish this Akali. And since we have Tahm Kench and Ashe, they should be safe enough to play with the added pressure of Rek'Sai peeking around down here.
They're actually going for a dive. Meliodas waits for the wave. Now going to try and go in onto the Tahm Kench. You have to think TP in from Vega, going to try and defend here. So Phong Vu Buffalo will back off, but that's Boss committed. Look just on Big Koro, good flash there. It does have to use the summoner to get out.
I mean, the silver lining here is that Boss doesn't lose a ton by making this TP. You know, he TP'd from the aggressive position up into the top lane. That was actually a really cheeky Prey Seeker there, trying to cancel the back. That would have been actually big brain for Meliodas if that worked.
Fortunately not quite in range as Ananasik is back ready to try and queue somebody. But Nor just going to walk away as Meliodas can't really decide where he wants to go here. I mean, he had opportunity to maybe take a buff away, instead chose to gank. So if Ananasik goes for this blue and gets it, again, Ananasik will 3-buff his jungle opponent.
And this just feels like... I'm very curious what happens in comms for PVB, because it just feels like the louder voice is winning out. The fact that Meliodas has the opportunity to go to vertical jungling, and he tries to break it or force ganks both times, and then it just ends up really punishing him is kind of a head scratch right there. The fact that you're trying to force a dive at level 3 against people who have cleanse, who have 2 flashes, one of them is a Tahm Kench, and you're not accounting for an aggressive TP. Like, yeah, it's nice to get the TP off of Boss. Maybe that helps Zeros out in the long run, but I don't know. That could have gone very sideways for PvP.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused, to be honest. But if we think about the jungle matchup and how integral it's been, I believe that's our 4th 3-buff in a row. And fun fact, the jungler that has gotten the 3-buff has won every time. So if you're a Vega fan, good news.
I love fun facts. As we're probably...
Trevor's not here yet, I have to do something.
No, quick stats!
Oh, don't worry, I'm not going there. Vault Breaker coming in. Look at a big Koro, fights Pallet instead, they'll take it. No first blood this time for Gadget, but at least gets the damage down.
Again, just trying to create clever gank pathing by using the ability to go over walls is, he's not done here. Maybe he is.
You never know which way it is. But Ananasik just takes the control ward. Doesn't want to go too crazy onto Meliodas.
The thing is,
having a level lead.
I can't get a read for these players and their aggression. I'm like, he shouldn't do that, but I think he really wants it.
Nola doing work here up against No Man's. Doesn't have Ignite, but he's going to just force the Valkyrie away. Of course, with both having Flash, not really likely to get a kill, but Orianna continuing to show power here in the matchup.
Hold up.
Boss is proxying. Zero slow back towards the tower. He's struggling a little here. After getting that flash burn, Boss is actually up almost 10 CS.
I want to say he's struggling a lot here. That's a big CS difference, and even more importantly, the fact that Boss is able to play so aggressive and so far forward that he's actually going to get away with not needing his TP for a free back to match Akali's TP. He can force that lane in, and then just take a free back and walk.
Oh, he's level 6. Vanguard's Edge will connect, but in the Shroud still. Terra's gonna have to pop out soon, but Boss doesn't want to dive. Here in the bot lane, looking for a big car. They do find it there with the knockup. Damage is there, and Gadget again will grab first blood.
And it's finally working out for Vega Squadron to pay attention to this bot lane, and Meliodas just looks completely lost on this map right now.
And Ananasik certainly getting the better. Oh my goodness, PVB. This reeks of desperation. Big Kara and Pallet both down, and they get nothing.
I mean, at the same time, it's an unsealed spellbook Braum, so I agree with you. Maybe if that was like the top laner and the mid laner that showed up, you're like, oh no, not this. But because it was the bot lane just trying to trade around, I do like the change up of tempo here, going from defense back to offense and being like, okay, we have a buy advantage, we had a TP, let's try to force Infernal, but it's being matched here by Vega.
Yeah, Sanders also with the unsealed spellbook, so is Null, by the way. We'll talk about that later. Meliodas looking for No Man, flashes in. Pallet gonna have to try and protect him.
Null's got no mana.
Yeah, and Meliodas has got no health. So I'm not sure that PVB can do too much here.
Yeah, I think that means that PVB have no chance. We'll see if Vega Squadron are respectful. It looks like it. Ashe, not sitting on a lot of items, has like some biscuits and a Doran shield to her name, so probably wants to take that back.
And Gadget does not have TP notably, so doesn't have the same luxury, and teams will just walk away slowly from the Infernal Drake. Meliodas trying to finish off the Raptor camp. Should be just fine here.
I feel like I was faked out by the observers right there. I was like, he's really low. He's on the Raptor camp. Is he gonna die?
What do they know that I don't? Well, nothing right now.
He's okay.
Ananasik, and actually both junglers getting quite a bit closer to level 6. That, of course, changes the equation considerably for both of them. But do have to tip the hat again to Ananasik, who seems to be maybe getting in the head of his opponent a little bit. Certainly feels like he's gotten the read on the situation, is only playing better as the games have dragged on.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with the mental fortitude coming out of Vega Squadron so far. Like, people watched the first 2 games, and I'm sure a lot of people turned it off. They're like, this is over, there's no comeback here, but to settle yourself, especially when you're against the hometown heroes of the Vietnamese squad, can be no easy task. So, already in Game 4, I'm actually really impressed with Vega Squadron.
Yeah, I was kind of with the crowd, and it just seemed like it was all over after the first 2, but...
You ready to write the obituary?
Yeah, thankfully didn't pick up my pen, because it would have been very wrong in that case. Vega's still fighting strong. They have a small lead of about a few hundred gold, but as I think somewhat expected, this game is playing out pretty conservatively between the 2 teams. I think Vega can start to realize that, okay, we can win this series, so we don't want to throw it away with some reckless play. And I think Phong Buffalo, if they didn't realize that already, really setting in the gravity of the situation. Like, this is a team that, you know, in a region that wants to prove themselves on a big stage, and they're playing at home. The pressure's certainly mounting for Phong Buffalo.
And so now it's where do Vega Squadron attack the map now that they've unlocked something like a Vi ultimate. Gadget level 5 right now, there's the possibility that you wait for the level 6 Ash Arrow and try to stack ultimates, or maybe you play around a package window.
Right now, PVB getting their push on, but Gadget and Sanders will tank this up. Again, we still have that Inferno to talk about. Hasn't been taken, and we're almost at 10 minutes.
I have a feeling that's what we're going to see both these key ultimates used for.
Just gonna knock up the crab, and maybe a catch. Oh, good juke around, but still tagged by the Q. There's the Braum ulti as well. Very well played by Pallet. And Anasik maybe forfeit, but Santos there for the Devour. Here comes Vega. Pallet now the target. Boss flashes in, finds the ulti on a big corner. We'll get the flash. Finds the stun. Immaculately played by Vega.
They just destroy and wipe PVB off the face of that dragon. They then turn to the Infernal, and unless Meliodas can look for a steal here, doesn't have access to the flash, I think they have to give it away.
Where was this team 2 games ago? Looking, like, honestly completely different. They'll get the Infernal Zeros. Yes, he will get some turret plates there in top lane, but 1,000 gold up, starting to, again, pack that snowball together.
And, you know, credit to Ananasik, because he eats up a lot of time here, able to dodge out the Varus ultimate. Yes, he's tagged by the Braum ultimate, but kind of bicycles the animation of the stun there by immediately locking onto the Vi ultimate. Yeah, so he basically comes out of the air from the Braum ult directly into Vi ultimate, so not a lot of time wasted.
And of course, Santa's there, ready with the save. And Boss with a beautifully aimed Vanguard's Edge. Vega their 3rd kill of this game. And Anasik also back down here. Gonna try and pressure for some plates. No ulti back yet for the Vi, but it's not that far away.
I also think, you know, he can set up the gank. Doesn't have a lot of the key ultimates up. They are just about to come up. Or if Santos and Gadget want to play aggressive, he's there.
Yep, being patient again. Setting up the tent. Not a bad day for camping on Summoner's Rift, and Anasik starting to show a ton of attention here. No luck on that attempt, unfortunately for him.
What is Meliodas going to do with the information now? So Ananasik is like, I've been spotted. I'm now teaming up with the Tahm Kench. We suspect that they're going top lane. And look at the response from Vega. Immediately, No Man's pivots towards the top lane to protect or to scout anything out. They place vision on the Rift Herald and they say, okay, we've revealed our jungler. We have Meliodas figured out. He's going to try to trade something across map.
Zeros here. Up a little bit in gold, I think, thanks to the turret plates that he's gotten after Boss's TP. But, I mean, still even on CS. Early's doing just fine there in the 1v1. In general, actually, CS is very close. Bot lane may be the exception because was up 20 at one point, but that's been halved down to 10 or so. As Gadget will move in to clean up the rest of the wave that's being pushed in. And again, kind of keeping the more reserved pace indicates really the significance, the weight of this game for these 2 teams. Ulti down the bottom side, PVB may find an opportunity. Gadget will be forced to flash away. Big Cora wants it, he's gonna chase in and he does grab the kill. Oh, afraid though, the tower just too much.
But the thing is that the wave is still pushing in, so still an advantage for PVB, but across map, it's Vega Squadron that are starting up the Rift Herald.
Yep, again, playing to where their strength is right now. Boss feeling confident, and Anasik the same. And they've pulled Santa's up as well. So Zeros gonna have to be careful here.
careful as he walks into the pit.
Yep, straight in, looks for the stun, finds it. 2v3 into the Shroud right now. Zeros can get out with his ultimate here, but they actually want to try and commit for a kill. Zeros looks for Boss. They TP in as well. Boss is going to look to go down. The ulti is enough. Picaro actually comes in with a TP and finds a snipe. Now Nor already found the shockwave. Will flash after No Man's who follows.
So Vega Squadron did manage to get the Rift Herald out. It's now placed on a Nanosick, but TP play from Big Core, as you're talking about, comes back from the grave, immediately participates in the fight to clean up in the back half, and it looks like we've got a lane swap, possibly into a dive, as Varus is top, but everyone else is looking mid. No
Man's just used the flash, does have the Valkyrie though. So here's a Nanosick now going to look for a snipe. Meliodas completely caught out of position. Can't run out of that ulti. Gonna have to keep running in towards his teammates. Pallet here to maybe try and save the day. No, is enough to ward off the rest of Vega as Gadget forces Zeros' flash.
And he did that without the Ashe ultimate. Look, it's still on cooldown for Gadget, so really curious how that one happened.
Later the Ruin King, apparently enough in the 1v1. As Big Car and Pallet trying to collect some plate gold. There's a lot of movement on this map as the teams try and match each other. You can tell that both teams really want to break this game open for themselves, but so far all this fighting has really resulted in something that's mostly even. However, this Rift Tower is probably going to change that.
Just feels like much cleaner macro rotations this time around from Vega, however. I love the fact that all of those plates ended up in No Man's back pocket. I think it means so much more for the likes of a Corki versus that Heimerdinger we were talking about a couple of games ago.
You can also see that PVB trying to collapse where they believe they have opportunity. Every little play that fails, that wastes a bit of time, does keep the gold ticking up for Vega here. Still only 1,000 golds up for the CIS, but trying to continue to defend here as a Nanosick will join Boss, and Big Car and Pallet know there's no reason to stay around.
Yeah, and there was a trap being set up. You can see further down the lane that Santas and Gadget were waiting in the wings for that Abyssal Voyage, so seeing if Big Coro and Pallet would kind of test that 2v2 on the top side, maybe to get ganked, but it's now used to just continue the macro rotations from Vega Squadron, making sure that they're eating up every available resource of gold.
I mean, we're going to talk about globals. Oh, actually, hold that thought. Sanchez going to get knocked up here. Gadget also getting tagged. But Big Coro can't really get it done. Oh, he does find the snipe. The Grey Health was not turned on. Now exhaust on the Gadget. Zeros here looking for a dive. He's ready with the ulti, but here comes No Man's in the mid. For Null, that damage might be enough. Valkyrie forward. What a great shutdown 1v1 kill as Zeros also finds his mark in top lane.
So the mid lane's going well for Vega Squadron, but finally Pallet and Big Coro managed to get their hands onto Gadget and Santos and break the 2v2 up into the top side. But because it leads into a tower, it feels like it means more. Vega Squadron need to follow up on that Rift Herald mid lane and break that structure.
Well, they will get themselves a Cloud Drake at least, so it's trading on the opposite side of the map for now, but this is going to be a fun one, no matter who wins. And this very well may go to 5, because you can just tell that these teams are kind of done playing. They've figured each other out, they've had enough time to kind of feel out what the other team wants to do, and now it feels like they're starting to meet very close together as far as their execution and skill goes.
And I'm glad that we're finally seeing Vega Squadron kind of go back to comfort and go back what works for them. You know, as a famous, handsome man once said, play your style. And that's what Vega Squadron needed to do. And it wasn't always about the cheese picks. It was about these comfort picks, like the Corki.
Sanchez had the cleanse, but that was not enough to save him here.
Yeah, I do like the snipe, however. You can see it looked like delayed on the Grey Health. Wasn't really expecting that one. But this is what PVB want. They want the skirmish. It feels like they're relying a bit too much on winning fights before transitioning them to objectives, where Vega Squadron feels much more like they're setting up objectives, and it's not about the fight itself. If a fight happens afterwards, that's nice, but it's about the dragon, it's about the tower.
I actually think it's a great representation of these two teams' different styles. You know, PVB fight first, then take the thing. Vega, you know, a bit slower, you know. Fight for the thing, or set up for the thing, take it, but if it doesn't happen, maybe look for an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, it's a fact that if the fight ensues, then it's just kind of a cherry on top, because you usually have the confidence to take the objective if you're walking over to that you can take the fight. Personally, I prefer a style like Vegas a little bit more, but you can never discount just the raw aggression that PVB can catch you off guard.
Neither are wrong, I think is fair to say. PVB continuing their streak of aggression, they take the turret, Zeros charges in, looks for Gadget, does find the execution! And now the stun in gets another kill. PVB starting to heat up. Frosker
But here comes Aurelia very deep into the back line.
Vanguard Zed lining up. Good ult there from Ananasik with the flash out as Vanguard Zed finds 3. Shockwave though was really good, but Ananasik does find the shutdown. It's 2 kills for Corki on top of it all. Shockwave is not enough to save Nolan Co.
And in the end though, Vega Squadron come out on top. That is one member from PVB that just kind of limps away from the team fight right there. And yeah, they lost the tower, but they've got the minion wave behind them, and they're pushing it back down.
So Vega, good response. Oh, Pallet. Maybe a little too far forward, but does get back towards the safety of the turret. And I wonder if this is kind of a sign of PVB, you know, getting too eager too swiftly.
It's, again, it feels like they're not there for the mid lane tower, even though that was the primary objective, but they really wanted to dive. Like, if they stay, someone in the comms is saying, go for the dive, go for the dive. If they stay, we can dive them. And they just don't account for the kind of the retaliation that Vega Squadron are able to output with their champions.
There's a good TP in from Boss. As I was looking at it earlier, although again, hold that thought. Every time I want to talk about globals, no flushing out of the way, and Ananasik camps the brush, but it's 2 from PvP up here already, and Ananasik out of there. Nomad's maybe not so lucky. They'll dive a little bit, and that's goodbye. Shutdown over to Null.
That moment when you realize top first tower is still available.
Okay, well, Ananasik gets out of the way, and it is one of those things where there are so many teleports in this game that both teams, I feel like, the same thing has happened. When we don't bring enough people to the fight, we lose. We don't want to lose fights, so we're going to try and make sure we have as many people there as often as possible, and that means multi-teleports plus spellbooks across many different champions in this game.
I mean, that was the thing. There was like 3 spellbooks in this game, and maybe the TPs have exhausted themselves a little bit, at least for some of these members, but...
Including spellbooks, there are 7 TPs available in this game. But as you said, it seems like some of them not available for a little while. And we'll definitely be interested to see if this game goes longer than our first 3 have gone. They have been quite short.
This is
How the teams can use those.
one team fight away from a Baron into what feels like a collapse. And you can tell that both teams are confident making hunting plays like that.
Nice ult there from Big Koro. Well aimed, but Santa's had the cleanse, so nothing to write home about after all that. Cloud Drake back up in a minute. Vega do have the first 2. But Baron for the first time up in 10 seconds as well.
And I do want to note that Vega have what I feel like is a map advantage in terms of how they want to play their win conditions. It feels like PvB are much more reliant on playing a 1-4 or playing grouped up with their composition for it to really work. Whereas Vega Squadron, I feel like, have more options to play these side lanes because Corki is so strong, and because Aurelia and Vi are also in really nice places.
Again, if we talk about the formula we saw last game, certainly still enacted here for Vega. And 6 had another good start. No Man's is kind of the recipient of all his hard work. And on a signature pick for him like Corki, already with the Triforce and the Eye Edge done. Those are really the 2 like tough humps for Corki to get over because they're so expensive.
The most expensive build path.
But once you're there, things only start to get better for Corki, who scales exceptionally well.
This is a Cloud Dragon that's spawning, so if Vega feel like their vision has been exhausted from this area and they don't want to face check into it, there's no reason they can actually just let this one go. If they contest for the Cloud, to me, it says that Vega are feeling so confident that they want the team fight more than the objective, so they can quickly swing to Baron.
Well, we're going to move into the area, and Zeros actually went to the bot lane, so he does have TP, but will not really be here in time for this Drake. In fact, there's the arrow out, and Anasik finds the ulti on a big Koro. They've got no way to really save him, but a good shockwave may be enough here. Bot's going to try and dive in, but Nomad straight in there with the package, moves into the backline, and that's actual demolition from Vega Squadron. That's the ace.
And PvB have just been wiped off the face of this map right now. It's only 1 member left for Vega, and they're marching towards that Baron. Like I said, it wasn't about the Cloud Dragon, it was about the fight. It was about the Baron.
And the fight they found, Nomad's even leaving the area to get the turret started early. He's seen the party in that Nexus. He wants to go straight there.
And the momentum is now behind Vega Squadron. They have learned that they can do this. They managed to win that uphill mental climb over PvB being 2 games up on them. And not just 2 games, but a smashing performance from them.
At this rate, it would feel... I'm trying to think. It just feels like we're going to game 5. I'll put it that way. With the way Vega are playing, how confidently they approach this team fight, I would be shocked if we didn't go the distance here.
And this team fight is really kicked off by how many engage tools that Vega Squadron have. The fact that they can throw the Ash Arrow and then very quickly follow it up with the Vi ultimate. You had a gorgeous Valkyrie there from Nomance to follow his Aurelia into the backline. Just ripped PVB apart.
Upgraded by the jetpack as well, and the thing I missed was that Null TP'd in the middle of that fight. He had Spellbook swap to exhaust, and I have to assume he was trying to press the exhaust button, which might have done something on the back half of that fight, but didn't even get that done, and No Man's cleaned house there.
You cast your mind back to that TL series, it was also Null that was making very uncharacteristic mechanical mistakes, you know, messing up his flash over the wall or not comboing correctly. And so another maneuver like that, you have to think maybe something's getting in his head, something's messing with him.
I think the pressure is starting to get to Phong a little. We've seen, you know, some failed flashes last game from them. See that mistake there from Null in the middle of that team fight. I mean, there's just so much pressure in this game. Best of 5 series are always grueling, and if you have to play one more game, given the momentum that Vega have shown you throughout this series, well, this catch would be good. Nomad's going to be the target. That's a shutdown for Big Koro. There may be signs of life yet.
But that said, that's still a lot of Barons alive on Vega Squadron. Another tower that's going to fall, and No Man should be able to walk out. Oh, just shake that one off. Still sitting 6-2 on the score key. Very fat and happy.
Won't be happy to give over the gold, but certainly, I mean, already 3 items. We were talking about his 2-item spike a few minutes ago. Now he's already at 3.5.
It only gets better from here.
PVB, though, need to stay strong. Minute 30 for Vega left on the Baron buff, but a pick onto No Man's probably calls off the rest of the siege, so it's unlikely Phong Buffalo will lose too much more, at least while the Baron is still on the members of Vega.
It just feels like because Null also had to go second item into Banshee Veil, you know, respecting a lot of the CC potential, that unfortunately that kind of subs him out from this power window. Like, if Phong Buffalo want to have another go at this, you're basically looking at an Orianna to just rock people with a shockwave, but because second item defensive, it's going to take her that much longer before she's actually going to be a relevant party in these team fights. So this is going to be a very long stall game for the Buffaloes if they want to come back in this game.
And I know we kept highlighting the differences between the jungles, but you can look down at those inventories, and I don't need to tell you what the number is for you to know that Ananasik is incredibly far ahead of his opponent. But if you care, it's about 3,000 gold ahead.
It's a lot. And now this is the setup. How can the collective wave clear of the Buffaloes stall out long enough for them to hopefully get a wombo combo miracle fight back? Or are Vega Squadron just going to see their moment, pull the trigger on the arrow, follow it up with the Vi, and end this and take us to game 5?
Seems like it's lights out, but certainly PVB will fight on. They're capable of winning this game, although it is a very tough ask given the deficit they're already in. Baron is thankfully wearing off, so that siege power will be dropping off before the next wave can crash.
We are in a bit of an ARAM right now.
I mean, PVB don't want to go anywhere else, because if they leave, I feel like they know they die.
It's fine for PVB to be in this situation. I feel like there's options that Vega Squadron could actually be playing multiple lanes, but No Man's has seemed to decided that he is going to stack up with his team. I feel like Corki should actually be out in one of those side lanes, and they should be trying to split up PVB.
Yeah, I wonder how much longer they'll stay out here, because again, they've got gold to spend, I have to assume. Yes, they do. Not that much, but still something you might as well go and cash in. That next Drake's coming up in 13 seconds, although it is only cloud number 2. Yeah, very persistent to want to knock down this mid-tier 2. Maybe just waiting for the Drake spawn until they find their reset, thinking that PVB probably not going to challenge them for that.
They're slowly chipping away at it, so yeah, they're doing some damage, but I agree with you, Pastry Time. They're basically just feeding in free gold to the Buffaloes right now, specifically on Null's Orianna.
Well, Ananasik did go down to finish off that Drake. So it looks like Vega will be taking a reset pretty shortly, and with Baron back up in a minute 30, we want to get themselves out onto the map and setting up for that objective once again.
Which means that the ARAM mid lane doesn't hurt them as much as I feel like it did for kind of the last 2 minutes, slowing down some of the tempo for Vega. They want to make sure that they keep priority here, kind of mistime some of their backs to pick up vision. You can see the control wards now in Santos' inventory. And it's just going to be the Baron chokeout.
Again, let's go visit the lanes. TPs are almost coming back off cooldown as well. So No Man's maybe feels a bit more comfortable pushing a side lane, given that he can join a fight nice and quickly. Vega just going to push some Meaning Waves win and then go and get some vision there around the Baron. And seems like, again, a nice controlled position for them to play out. See if PVB have anything creative in the tank. because finding a fight is really tough, given the deficit they're still in.
My eyes are on Zeros right now, in this 1v1. I was curious if he was able to make it good.
Not much of a 1v1, just has to disengage, force the flash and the ulti and the shuriken flip plus the shroud.
So there we go, there's the answer. I wanted No Man's into a side lane. I thought that he would have the 1v1 advantage. Now No Man's knows that he has the 1v1 advantage, burning the flash right there. And Vega, if they want to, can continue to kind of leverage these types of lane assignments to abuse proper positioning or better positioning over the Baron.
Yep, nice handoff there. Boss is like, okay, I'll go back down to the side lane now. Zeros is unknowingly about to get gressed on by the Aurelia, but Boss is going to miss that stun as Zeros drops the shroud. But he's the one that's going to apply pressure here while the rest of Vega go play around the Baron.
Yep, push the mid lane forward, walk into upper river. You're then going to start staggering your sweepers, clearing out all that vision. And I guess hitting the Baron even though it's warded.
Yep, Sanders is like, needs to go over. Oh, just a little bit to the left. Alright, he does find the ward. No Man's also ready with the package. Yep. Eliota's going to dive in, but package out, unstoppable during that. As Null, again, going to get ulti. That's rough. Goodbye, Orianna. Probably going to dive back in, but I don't know if PVB can win this. No Man's are going to say, you absolutely cannot win this. And Vega going to grab every single kill. Only Zeros left because he was in the other lane.
And that's a free Baron if they want, but more importantly, they can actually just shove this wave into the mid lane. Zeros can't stand there.
There might be a discount Nexus instead. He's invisible, but not going to matter too much. Again, tries to find a kill, and Nanasik dodges out. TP back in from the Koki. No Man's decides to rejoin the fight. That's an ace. Away go to game 5. Frosco and Vega Squadron playing absolutely incredible across these last 2 games.
I don't know if they can end it though on this wave. They are trying to protect the cannon creep so that they can keep the tower fortification down.
They're going to make a go of it if nothing else. Vega, so much power, so much strength. And looks like they have enough to knock down the Nexus. The respawn's barely up in time as Vega Squadron going to have a scraping silver all the way to game 5.
And you can see the look on Gadget's face right there. Pulls out the headset. Woohoo! It's a long day. And you got one more to play. You've done your part. You've figured out what's worked. You have the Tom Pinch and the Ash. Let the rest of your team do the muscle work for you in the early game.
I just cannot overstate how ridiculous this situation is and how different these two teams look in wins versus losses. All 4 games, I'm fairly confident, have been under 30 minutes. All 4 games have felt not particularly close for the team that's won. So what on earth is going to happen in this game 5?
I mean, the big thing for me is just the mechanical missteps from PVB. That last Baron fight, Big Coral flashed over the wall to try to save an Orianna that was already dead. Orianna wasn't approaching on the same side as their team, just eats an arrow and instantaneously dies, burns his flash for no. Like, these are mistakes that when you talk about the PVB, you're like, what is strong about them as an emerging region team? Well, mechanically, they're very sound. In this series, that is not the case right now. They are failing mechanics left, right, and center.
I feel flustered, but we have to catch our breath to break down how Vega Squadron tied up the series. Let's head back over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Pastry Time. Well, this went from a smashing in one direction to a smashing in the complete other direction. Series now tied at 2-2 with Vega putting up another win.
And a team rallying behind their jungler for a 2nd game in a row now, showing what he can do. And Nanasik opening up the champion pool, showing us some more of that diversity and having a great game.
We got the Vi. I'm the happiest person alive.
James loves Vi, so he's going to break down the entire rest of the game. I think that the other thing that really blows me away is that Hecarim ban is still up there. When you the bot lane of Vega is their weak point. You know that. They just beat you with Tom Kench Ash. And Kench is a great pick into your playstyle. It's a great pick for surviving lane. And Hecarim had been losing for them yesterday. It's one of Boss's best champions, but he didn't win that much on it. Ban Tom Kench.
Right.
That's why they took red side, was so they could Ash Kench again. Like, they telegraphed what their play was going to be, and Phong Vu just do nothing to react to the previous game and draft. They do 0 things.
Yeah, and this is what we saw yesterday with Rek'Sai. Whilst it is the strongest, standard early game jungler, there are still things in the meta that can shut it down, whether you want to go for something like a Vi, a Xin Zhao. Like, there are answers to it that are a little bit off. The other area, not to harp on it, but the Jace was so successful in game number 1. It shut down all of the early game pathing, guarantees the push. It feels like Zeros right now has a point to prove that he is a very good Akali player because he just keeps going back to it. And I had to break it to him. It does not look all that successful at the moment.
No, not at all.
That was a lane that Boss teleported away from twice, came back to him, was 10 CS up. That should never happen in a competitive game of League of Legends when you're expending your resources to go back top.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things going on in these games. It's partially draft and partially play. So, like, the draft phase, there's so many identifiable things they could be doing different, like, you know, what their bans are, what their picks are. And then when you get into game as well, they're also starting to flub a lot of these plays that they were pulling off in games 1 and 2.
Right, a lot of those mechanics, as Frost pointed out, are just missing all of a sudden. But I don't want to take too much credit away from Vega and what they did well in this game, again, off the back end of their jungler.
Yeah, Nanosec is literally the reason that they are still in this series, and they know that themselves. So they're like, dude, what are you feeling right now? And he says Vi. And they're like, great, yeah, lock that in. You're playing Vi, go off. Starts camping the bot lane to protect that bot side that we said is sometimes weak. They still lost this lane kind of hard. They were down 30 CS after all this attention that you see him just constantly throwing down there. But that's fine. He understands what he needs to do as a jungler to get his team off the ground.
And not only that, he went top lane level 2 to guarantee the flash. Just walked at Zeros until he had to burn the summoner. Zeros was still level 1. Then he goes, okay, boss, you're on the island now. I've given you the advantage. I'm helping out the side of the map that needs it. This is, once again, playing 2 areas and shoring up multiple weaknesses.
Level 2 gank top lane, 3 ganks pre-level 6 to the bot lane, one of those netting a kill. Didn't back until beyond 8.5 minutes. The dude had 55 CS and an assist. Full buys a warrior, comes back out onto the map now, level 6, looking for some more kills. Stellar play out of him. It's the way, you know, that you want to see Vi played. Ultimately, she does need to get ahead a little bit so that she can keep using that ultimate to go in. But when Phong Buffalo continues to overreach as well, I think that's another thing we have to talk about, is that beyond the laning phase, beyond the jungle pathing, Phong, yes, they make a couple moves to get a few advantages and maybe build a gold lead, but things are getting turned around even in the teamfight phase.
Yeah, I mean, this was a play that if you're playing Tahm Kench and Ashe well, you should be able to have the Ashe situated in front of the Tahm Kench, so if they use the Varus ult, Tahm Kench eats him and you run away. Not positioned correctly, but don't worry, the rest of the team's going to come in and save the day. They get the nice Vi ult and split the fight with the Aurelia ult as well, so they basically take what should be a 5v3 and split it into a 1v2 and a 2v3 that they can win because they have more resources.
And when we talk about panic, this is what we're talking about. Flashing away with your team, even though you're Vi ulted. In this fight alone, watch Koro on the back end of the team fight, does the def. Shout out to EDG's AD carry back then, teleports in place. Obviously not used to running that unsealed spellbook, and this is just those small, uncharacteristic errors that start to creep into your game when a team is coming at you hard. You expect it to be in the driver's seat. After game number 2, you were styling, you thought you were the better team. Well, now the tables have turned, and you can see the Phong Buffalo are not handling the pressure well.
I mean, there's so much, like you said, pressure just from being the hometown crowd. Like, you can probably feel the air in that arena if you're there right now. Like, it's just going to start dropping. The energy level of the crowd is dropping. Those loud cheers start turning into groans. And, like, that is pretty palpable when you're in a decent-sized stadium.
Well, there's now pressure on both sides, though, too, right? I mean, for Phong Vu, they've now, you know, they were in a position to win, walk away with this 3-0, and now they're fighting for their lives with 1 game left. On the side of Vega Squadron, you know, you're in that situation down 2-0 in a series, you've got nothing to lose, so you throw it all out there. But you just clawed your way back into it. So now it's about staving off the pressure that might try to creep back in around the fact that you could actually win this series now.
But this is where the history behind the organizations come in. Phong Vu, a team that has already been to Worlds, big expectation. They're expected to take the VCS to the next level. No one expected Vega to be here. Analysts were betting against them in their domestic region. They proved everyone wrong. They show up today. It looks a little bit ugly, but now they're on the journey to do that again. And I think that with the momentum coming into this game, it looks pretty hot.
All right, let's talk game 5 then. Let's talk do or die for both of these squads. Phong Vu Buffalo has chosen blue side with selection. So they're going to stay on the same side they just lost on here. With that first pick, do we want to see the Jace? Is that the go-to?
They're taking Jace. They have to. I think they need early priority in the top lane. Bottom lane, especially if they're going to allow Tahm Kench to still be open, you have to be able to win and push in somewhere else.
Yeah, I like the Tahm Kench ban as well. And if he wants to play Hecarim into Jace, okay, you know, you'll slam that early, I think. So I don't know why their draft turned away from Jace without any other people banning it or anything. He played into the Aurelia game 1 and teleported away and kind of fell behind. There was some pressure top, but like that was fine because, you know, you're still Jace and he continues to pressure after that point.
Right.
So I think a lot of that's like, I think Phong Vu should still win. I would still predict them to win the next game. But only if they do the right changes in draft, because I feel like
you draft that again and you don't have that kind of confidence.
I feel like their drafts haven't been great recently, and the fact that their quality of play is kind of dropping from games 1 and game 2, you need to start fixing the draft problems And I think if they do that, the quality of play hasn't dropped so much that they can't win.
See, on the flip side, when Phong Buffalo were playing in the group stage, they blew out Bombers in their first game. You could just see how much of the map they opened up through Meliodas, and then they continued to play that way. Then when we saw them drop games in the group stage, it was actually because Meliodas got shut down a little bit. Right now, Ananasik looks like the better jungler in 3 out of 4 of these games. If you can continue to shut down that highway, if you can make them take long ways around the map, they're not going to do it. They're going to treat. They're going to try and get to an area first. They're going to try and take shortcuts. Their vision game isn't all that great at the moment. I think that if Ananasik plays a similar game, like not even elevate, just to this level, that there's a very good chance that Vega Squadron take this one out.
Are you saying Vega's going to win? Because I'm still picking Phong Vu.
You know what? Tell with it. Yeah, sure. Vega win this game. Absolutely.
I mean, I think there's a really interesting conversation, probably one that we don't have time for, around Meliodas and either how he individually steps up or how the team props him up, right? Because there is one discussion around maybe the matchup that you could secure Meliodas to have that control in the early game, or around securing, again, strong laners across the board so that they can move in and help him when Ananasik is in a position to challenge.
They've never really felt like that kind of team where the team moves to him, so I think getting stronger laners so that they already have priority and then he can work with them is the right idea.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I've kind of been saying from the start, right? You need to open up. You need to be able to take Null with you, because when they open up Null and get him around the map, I'm just having flashback to the Zoe games, the bubbles flying through every piece of terrain and him flashing over walls. So if they go back to that playstyle, a lot more confidence. But I don't think people understand like how hard it is to change an 0-2 swing. It's been successfully done once today. To ask for it to be done a second time and for Phong Vu to close this series out, I think is a very big ask.
All right, well, it didn't happen in a way rather than anyone expected, but we are going to 5 games in this series. This year's MSI skin, Conqueror Alistar, is available in client today. Alistar's bundle will be available until June 11th with a fancy loading screen border and the MSI 2019 Ward. 25% of revenue from Conqueror Alistar and his bundle will go towards the teams competing at MSI. So pick yours up to support your favorite team.
I've been a black AP Alistar player nearly since season 1. This skin might take me off it. It is a very nice skin.
You're lucky though to have the black Alistar skin. For everybody else, it will be this one above all else. Although I don't know, Mukau's pretty good, but this one's pretty sweet. All right, it's time for game 5 as PVB and Vega Squadron have one game to secure their spot in the groups. We'll see who comes out on top after this.
Flashes in, finds the ulti on a big corner, will get the flash, finds a stun, immaculately played. Sanchez gonna get knocked up here, Gashford also getting tagged. The big corner can't really get a dot. Oh, he does find the snap. Vanguard's Ed lining up, good ult there from Ananasik. Welcome back to Game 5 of Phong Vu Buffalo versus and Vega Squadron. We're straight into draft. Frosco, and it's no nonsense this time around. Game 5, everything on the line for the last MSI qualifier slot.
I actually really agree with you, Pastry Time. I actually think this is Phong Vu Buffalo versus PVB because they have just been beating themselves in these last 2 games. The mechanics were just not there. I want to echo what the analyst just said. Ease of execution. Go back to what works. That's what's been behind Vega Squadron. Their comfort picks, the likes of the Corki, bringing out the vibe. They know they're sitting in their pocket. They have the confidence.
All right, well, Karthus Tarek there for PVB. Kaiser Silas J4. No changes for Vega Squadron. But Aurelia, boss, the threat there versus Seros.
And I think this kind of answers some of the questions that the AD were asking earlier. You know, why did he move away from the Jace? Well, maybe he felt scared about the Aurelia matchup. The fact that it goes down and then instantaneously Zeros is like, I hear you, Spawn, I hear you, Mark Z, I'm locking in the Jace and I'm ready to take this one home.
But this should be no surprise if you've followed the series. Ashton Kench straight away for the Vega bot lane.
And now we're going to decide, will this Game 5 haunt them? Will you pull up the Reddit comments and it'll be like, why did you ban Aurelia when you could have banned Tom Kench? Why do you allow Vega Squadron to skate through the 2v2 lane phase every single time with such a defensive pick? They think that they can break it, so PVB, they know it was coming. They threw down the gauntlet, they gave it away.
Well, Meliodas gonna lock in. Gragas did not like receiving bans in phase 2 of the last draft.
It's also a really big comfort pick for Meliodas. If he doesn't get Jarvan, I think that his second best champion is the likes of the Gragas. Very heavy playmaking, much with the ability to look for early level 2, level 3 ganks. So that's what I'm expecting from Meliodas. The pathing, it's not working for him. I think he's gonna go hard camp.
So like this, again, just giving Pallet the Gallo. Once again, he's had a very good series, despite the 2 losses that PvP have suffered. Of course, remember, if Vega win, they will have reverse swept their way into MSI groups.
And I know that there's often a conversation about who really has momentum in this point in the game, and I think it was the legendary Scar himself.
Ooh, I love it.
Who said that the team that's coming off of the 2-game win for the reverse sweep has the momentum, and I agree. I think that everything is probably behind Vega Squadron right now. They're in the minds of their opponents. They say, we've got you figured out. We're gonna run the Eagles. We didn't even break a sweat.
Yep, bye again here for Ananasik in the deciding game in the series. Very important for both these teams to just, you know, take a moment, take a breath, comfort for all these players, because when everything's on the line, you just need to play what you know best in a lot of situations. But cannot forsake the draft as LeBlanc banned by Vega away from Null. Trying to get, I suppose.
Can also then open up the likes of either Syndra or Corki there. As I say that, it seems like PvB have the exact same read. If you see the LeBlanc go down and take away No Man's Syndra.
I maybe think that they'll actually will follow with that Corki ban as well that you mentioned, No Man's. It's, you know, getting to this point and even getting to play a game 5 where it felt like they were written off in the series after PvP were 2-0 up, is Gadget and Santa's playing this defensive bot lane, and Anasik out-jungling Meliodas in the first of all the early game.
And also No Man's having pushing priority on the champion that he selected, so things like an Orianna, like an Azir, like Oxik, to take advantage over the fact that he could cut across his mid lane and not worry about the enemy mid laner disrupting his pathing there. So it's not the Syndra, but No Man's to empower a Nanasek to very quickly get around the map, as Jake said, open up those highways, and that could do it.
Certainly could. Boss will lose.
That could also
his
do it.
Champion, but that's
going to be a mid lane Cho'Gath or a top lane Cho'Gath. Now, if you take that Cho into the Jace, you're probably not going to have a very good time. Into the mid lane, though, could be very interesting, because I feel like Cho is still offering a lot of C and follow-up. I like the fact that also gives him a very meaty front line and really excellent monster objective secure. If this game comes down to a Baron, they now have a feast on their side.
Well, there's also a Sivir ban as well there for Vegas. So Big Koro pushed down to Ezreal, and Null, we've seen this time and time again. Meliodas opens up the top of the map. As Spawn put it, Null is opened up on the River Highway on Zoe from there. So as far as, you know, blueprints and what we've seen from Phong Vu Buffalo this tournament, I would say that this draft on the left is about as good as you could ask.
And it's so much long-range poke. Zoe, and then if you put a Gragas cast on top of it, there is so much ability for PVB to whittle you down and to force out fights.
And Vega, will they pick something as bold as Cassidy? No, they won't.
Chances are that this game is probably going to go late. It's game number 5. This is your access point into the playoffs, or excuse me, the MSI group stage. You don't want to gamble it on something like a Cassidy. Maybe you don't have the wave clear that you need, so you go for something a bit, and then you drop that ball on by, and you just cinder it.
I was gonna say, if there was ever a team to gamble, we're saying, you know what, we've played pretty straightforward, we've stuck to our plan, and it's done us enough to get us to this point.
But now the question is, how do these slight adjustments in the draft now change the outcome of the games? For PVB, it feels like all eyes are on Meliodas. Can he get back that momentum, that power that he found in his previous play-in stages, or is he going to continue to get shut out by Ananasek?
All series long has been about the jungle in the first 5 to 10 minutes of the coming into this game on 3 buffs. And the jungler that has been 3 buffed has lost.
At the same time, though, can Ananasek continue to run over Meliodas and work in tandem with his bot lane? Will this Ashen Tongue continue to hold? It is an Ezreal and a Galio, so going back to Palette's kind of tried and true champion, maybe looking for that all-in level 3.
I mean, you know, at this point, it feels like Ananasek kind of has the download complete. You know, Meliodas seemed like he was on top of everything, just had his opponent figured out. Now, the shoe is on the other foot, and in Game 5, where absolutely everything is on the line, tough spot to be. But my goodness, you can hear the home crowd there. Reminder, Phong Buffalo are playing to continue their way through MSI with the home crowd behind them. Vega looking to play spoiler to the hometown heroes.
Feels like it's poke versus engage here. So many hard engage tools from Vega Squadron, but if PVD can get an early snowball, an early springboard for the likes of Null, if he can have 100-0 kill pressure on someone, that can certainly change the tides of this game. But maybe the poke doesn't whittle down. Maybe the hard engage comes out, and then this poke composition is just ripped apart. I love it when, you know, important games, Game 5 of this series comes down to who's going to execute better on the composition.
And it does feel like Phong Buffalo have at least picked themselves into a spot where they probably do need to put their foot down a little earlier than, say, Vega Squadron will. I think we've gotten to a point where both teams kind of figured each other out. Vega is saying, we're the slower team, we're happy to play more of that style of game, and Phong Buffalo, we know you're the aggressive team, so they're wanting to maybe find opportunities earlier. That being said, I agree with you that we're likely going a little later, most likely.
I want to point out that Null is again running the Unsealed Spellbook on his mage in the mid lane. We saw the catastrophe that was his TP in the middle of a team fight, so hopefully he doesn't make the same error this time around.
And I'm curious just how, you know, how aggressively Phong Bu play this game. But I guess we'll find out after this. And something rare, you mentioned this a few games in a row now, but Meliodas commonly does not get help for the start of his jungle. This time, Big Korra and Palette give him the leash.
And I think it's recognizing that we need to get this guy moving through his jungle as quickly as possible. So we're going to help him out and try to, again, springboard. But this is also a really clever ward. So
nice adaptation.
Yeah, exactly. Putting the ward in the Rift Herald pit means that they spot this out. They say, okay, you fooled us once, you're not going to fool us twice. Zeros knows what's up.
So on the division right now, we'll now get the information. Pops in a hammer for a bit of extra move speed. Dodges out. Oh, and has to flush the Rupture, so unfortunately for Zera still has to burn the Summoner.
And we were just complimenting the adaptation, the fact that he knew the Vi was there, and he still greets for it and forces out the Flash. Now, it's not necessarily as punishing in this matchup as it was in the one in game number 4, but that's still Flashless Zeros, and looks like a repeat gank here.
I like this though, Meliodas gonna read the play. Good Q from Ananasek, gets out from under the belly slam. And looks like he'll just go back to his blue buff. Ananasek will have to settle with either a red side camp, or if he wants to run all the way to his buff, he can do that now as well.
The nice thing is that Zeros is trying to let the wave get stacked up into him, so he's not putting himself into danger because he doesn't have flash, as well as standing on the outskirts there to punish boss if he steps up.
Let's see how the matchup develops. But in bottom lane, Big Korra and Palette, knowing where the jungle attention has been recently, trying to play up and aggressive in this lane, getting the lane pushed in. This was pretty common throughout the series, even in the the more defensive games that Gadget and Santos were playing. Didn't really get much initiative.
I like this.
Meliodas though, again, this is a classic for this team, camping for the top laner. There's the flash committed. Boss gonna use his flash as well. Will they go for the dive? They sidestep the rupture. Zeros wants the first blood, but he's not gonna get it.
They're not able to find it. Meliodas does fall down pretty low right now. I was curious what Ananasik was going to do with the information. He was starting to skirt up towards the Cho'Gath, but says, no, I'm just going to take these Krugs. This could be dangerous here.
Level 2 still for the vibe. It now ticks over, and that Q is just going to poke.
Okay, good. I was going to say, he needs to be respectful because Boss is still sitting on the TP, and if he decides to overcommit for that, especially using something like his belly bop to gap close, maybe trade some damage, that's very easy for Cho'Gath to just turn and trap him.
Meliodas, though, does not overstep his boundaries, and instead going to go back around to his
We're ganking
side of the
top
map.
again.
And I feel like one lane has gotten attention in any given game, and this game we've seen a lot of bot lane direction for both these teams, but certainly it is all about the top lane matchup.
And it was now just cleared out that top side jungle. I was actually wondering if Fnatic would then just run back up top lane. One of the nice things about when you have a Cho'Gath into the top side is that your ability to gank and to dive is actually really strong, not just because of the tanky stats, but because of the area that you can cover between the Rupture and the Silence. But
Pallet there finds the taunt onto Gadget, who's going to have to flash pretty soon here. Devour, though, actually maybe going to make me alive, but Santa's now going to be the target. Tahm Kench on the table for first blood, but not enough damage.
And the Tahm Kench pick pays off right there. They tried, they threw everything in the kitchen sink to try to crack that lane, but you just can't bench the Kench.
Well, Santos will have to go back, but just walk down and be okay with the situation. Nor also getting poked out. Nomad's continuing to have a pretty good run here on this Orianna once more. So that's Nor going to be forced back away or lose minions to the turret here.
It's going to get easier for Null now that he is level 5. Zoe's going to struggle in the wave clear against Orianna for the early few levels, but as soon as he gets more points into his abilities, gets some more items under him, he'll be able to kind of contest just this priority that No Man's is applying to mid.
Also, Null does have Spellbook, so that TP able to get him back to the lane and loses, I think, only 1 minion. So we'll write that there as No Man's is going to walk back, but doesn't look like he'll lose too much either.
Going for the tier, Orianna.
Don't see this too often, but certainly an option you can have. Maybe just investing in the late game they feel like they may be heading to.
We'll keep our eye on it. You're right, normally you do see the Lost Chapter, but obviously you're kind of getting the same thing, which as soon as your wave clear mid laner has access to Lost Chapter, so they can have a perma push and never really deplete their mana pool, tier can help you do the same thing. To an extent.
Nice to see Zeros again playing aggressive. Boss will catch up and CS a little, but actually never mind, not with this dive brewing. Predator pop by Meliodas, making their intent very clear here.
Okay, Boss, no flash.
Oh, Nanasik already here though. They've taken so long for this dive.
Here comes Orianna as well.
TP in, I think they have to pull away, but Meliodas caught by the Rupture. Gonna get silent, gonna get knocked up by a Nanasik Vault Breaker, but the first blood goes over. It's actually Meliodas that gets it, and Nanasik now maybe in trouble as Nor finds the snipe. He will go down to the turret, but Nomad's already burnt his flash. Can't really chase. The shockwave is beautiful though, but Meliodas gonna land the slow. They might even fancy going in for it, but no, Nomad's able to grab the kill.
And from the mid lane, No Man's walks up there. He is able to turn it around in the back half, though. It's still a massive wave that Boss is missing out on the Cho'Gath. That said, the Orianna, big beneficiary here because she picks it up. And Pallet, you're looking a little crazy. I see it in your eyes. I don't agree with it. Just let it go.
PVB really just wanting to get this game over with, it feels like in some ways. We talked about Vega's patience and the more cool, calm, collected nature pushing them to this point. That's not how PVB got here in a lot of ways. They want to play aggressive.
I mean, if Vega Squadron are going to play their style, I guess I just got to embrace the PvP style. And here's the cool thing. So we were talking a lot about the mechanic and kind of the mechanical breakdown of the Buffalo's players. The mechanics were back on point when they attempted to execute this dive. Unfortunately, the rotations were not, but hold that.
Yep, Santa's already in trouble. That's going to be Big Koro cleaning up the kill. They do complete the dive with Ashe absent.
See, I agree with this one because Ashe was absent. So good job, Pallet and Big Koro.
And it just feels like there aren't many breaks on this train. The Phong Buffalo up actually almost 2,000 gold just from those kills on those plates and the CS.
It's a GLP, Orianna.
Oh.
Yeah, she's going for the, what's the little Hextech revolver called? Hextech revolver?
The revolver's the component that builds into the GLP.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, we'll see. Hold there from a Nanasik into the Rupture. That's beautifully played.
delicious.
Yeah, Zeros even with the flush there, not really able to get out of that one.
And you can see how this combo is going to work out. It's basically the bounce house. You wait for the Vi ultimate to connect, and then you just rupture them up into the air. Zeros is like, oh, this is fun League of Legends.
Important though, very much needed there for Boss, who's 40 CS down as the wave comes in. And now PVB like, all right, you know what? You got to kill. Not for too much longer.
Disengage. Run.
Bubble, long range, doesn't find the target. Boss though is going to be the one to go for. Oh, and that's actually really big misstep there from Meliodas. Is only level 5 pallet, no flash, so can't really chase. Null did get a GOP off the ground, but only gets a slow and can't find a follow-up. So that's just Meliodas feeding a kill over.
Yeah, that was basically the Uber Eats of ganks right there. Gragas is like, yeah, you want some more on that? And Boss feeling actually really good into this matchup now. Yeah, the CS discrepancy is still there, but the nice thing about Cho'Gath is he's still kind of like a traditional low econ tank. Because of his natural base stats, he's still going to do exactly what you need him to do, which is layer that Rupture, followed up with the Silence, and just be that super obnoxious meat shield.
Yep, gold's only 300 between the two, so with Boss picking up armor, has to feel pretty comfy. Don't know how long this lane swap's going to last for. I think they're just covering the lanes because Null already roamed up towards the top lane. But you can see Zeros is trying to be the player that he's been so long in the VCS, just completely dominant, taking over a lane. He's on a signature Jace. He's had some luck, but again, when you do something this obvious, it's very easy for Vega to find the reaction.
And now it's about, you know, what can Zeros do with that window advantage that he has? The fact that he has put Boss so far down, and he has these big windows to look for roam as he shoves that wave up. Like, Zeros now needs to take the attention that his team has given him and somehow translate it back to him. If that's, you know, constantly cutting back towards the mid lane, if that's helping get deep vision into Anonymous jungle for Meliodas, or if that's starting off something like a Rift Tail, it just needs to be more.
You can see Null, for all those roams, actually down almost 20 CS himself, so the top side kind of being sacrificed to Zeros here to make sure he got that lead. Meliodas, though, is gonna try and use this pressure to take the Rift Herald away.
And this is the first start of it, but on the other side, it is a Mountain Dragon. You are, again, still dealing with the likes of a Cho'Gath, a Blade of the Rune King 80 carry, and then a very early Mountain. That means that if the Baron isn't warded, if they're not accounting for it, it's so easy for Vega Squadron to abuse later on in the game.
No Man's also does a nice job spotting out Meliodas, and he's only level 6, and Oriana's level 10, so No Man's, if Null isn't here, can actually contest this pretty comfortably, so we'll move in, reset it, and that's Ananasik just getting the Drake and maybe an extra buff here as well.
And this kind of goes back to the previous point that I was making of, like, Zeros needs to translate his power elsewhere onto the map, and the Rift Tail was one of those areas, but he didn't rotate down, and instead it was the mid laners that bullied around. But now bot lane, there's the arrow.
What an ulti. Big Korra gonna get snapped to pieces. Ananasik chasing in with a chilling spite. Now Pala gonna get ulted, and the bot lane for Vega once again has the jungle abuser, and that's 2 kills over.
Just nailed him. Gadget making that Ash pick really count for him. Known for his mages, but hitting the arrows when it matters.
I mean, Zeros again, he's trying to bully. He's still up a massive amount of minions, but this feels like, again, starting to not matter. Now it's Vega actually find themselves in the league. We were talking only moments ago about how PVB were up 2k. Now it's Vega up about 700.
Because they're only winning on one point in the map. Look at all of that vision that is scattered around Vega Squadron's bottom side jungle there. That is, everything is lit up. There are so many choices that Ananasik gets to make with that type of information, and he's making the right one every single time.
Yeah, we didn't have a 3-buff this game, by the way, but Ananasik certainly feels like he's really come to form in this game, or in this series, I should say. Null gonna try and line up the Drowsy, does grab it, but here comes the Vi, cleanse out from the Oriana, and Zeros, you know, now finally making his way down here, but nothing really to gain, just the summoner spell.
Also, just a really good read from Vega Squadron to recognize that Zeros was on the hunt. Now, they will take away the red buff, I think, but that's chump change to them for the fact that Oriana's still alive. Back to Gadget, nails the arrow when it counts. It's then perfectly followed up on Ananasik, and finally punishing Big Koro for not taking something like a cleanse. Yeah, it's Ezreal, and you do have the access to the arcane shift, but he's taking teleport every single time. He's just playing so arrogantly down there.
I also like that, you know, we had Medic in counter illustrating strong side versus weak side. Too far forward on your weak side. You don't know where the enemy jungler is, and it's a Vi. Usually you think you can get away from most junglers as Ezreal. Not the case in that situation. They didn't even need it with Gadget's aim.
And I just love how they're comboing with this Vi by making sure that they just have so many multiple pieces of CEC to help Vi really land her ultimate. The fact that it's not relying on Vi to open up the fight and to press R, but you have something like an arrow, which I think is kind of like the key, most important takeaway of making a champion like Vi really work in a competitive meta.
Yeah, good point there, although now honestly gonna get jumped on. Barrel not quite connected because I think he queued away from it. I thought he flashed, but Meliodas tried to line up that combo and could not complete it.
And slowly but surely, they're starting to lose control over this top side of the map as now you're talking about strong side versus...
Arrow barely misses Null.
Okay, you might as well throw it. Are we checking now on top lane? Are we waiting for the arrow because it already flew by?
Yeah, I think it's floated on, but...
I was saying that the strong side has now swapped over. The fact that Gadget and Santas made an early rotation. Gadget's still down there, does have TP. He's now pulled it now.
Yeah, could be a big fight over the Rift Herald here. Zeros gonna get jumped on, forced to flash over, and Nanasik follows with the ulti. Boss over the top, feasts on Zeros. A shockwave does miss for Nomads, but still already the first pick done for Vega.
We're gonna call it a zoning shockwave right there. And all Nomads needs to do is to get his ball laid down in that little choke point. So waiting for Drowsy, will probably step back forward, and he's just gonna keep all three of those PvP members at bay.
Good poke here though, again from the Ezreal and the Zoe. Rift Herald not getting done that quickly here. Continuing to charge in and poke down. Big chunk there onto Gadget. Boss trying to zone them out of the way. A great silence there. And with the Rift Herald done, I don't think they're going to get too much here. Pallet does have the flash. It is the TP and PVB committing for a play. Meliodas looking to go over the top, but he can't make it over the wall. Pallet finds the two-man taunt. Zera going to get himself the kill. Santa's maybe forfeit next.
They're going to shake and look for the dive.
Another stick moving in. The next Q doesn't land. Nor tries to find it. Goes Drowsy, does the Tom Kench. And that's Big Koro picking up a sitter.
And something will get back for the Buffaloes here. They're also going to try to pick up Boss. Surely he will fall right now. Grab the minion wave, maybe a top tower.
Kill shot accuracy looking good right now. And there's the order from Meliodas saying, don't need accuracy with that one.
That was just dodgeball up there. He like popped the righteous glory. He's like, wait, what way is it going to be?
And that's the tower over as well, but let's revisit this one.
Okay, so I actually really liked some of the initial setup here. The fact that they were able to disengage by using the Orianna ball to zone away. But at this point, PvP, no. We've committed too many resources. We must find something here. Big guy Pallet finds the flash taunt, at least picks up some of the kills, and then helps separate Vega Squadron, who are just like every man for themselves. Everyone get out, everyone run away.
Power of Zoe, once you start chasing, usually don't have to stop for too long. Rift Herald though is channeled mid. Abyssal Voyage was committed also for Santas, so Vega do answer back and get a turret for themselves. But once again, the gold lead has flip-flopped back in favor of Phong Vu Buffalo, up about 600. But again, Ocean Drake up, and this is a very high-tempo game at this point.
And checking in back on No Man's build, I was excited. I wanted to see the GLP Orianna. Instead, he went for the Archangel, so looking more for having more of that late game feel that you were talking about, and now we'll also have access to the shield. So Orianna shield on top of Archangel shield, like he's going to be really tanky and can survive these sustained damage fights for a long time. It also helped a lot against the likes of Zoe. So if Zoe ever does find him with one of these big pokes, he now has kind of two shields to work with to absorb a lot of that nuke damage.
Just needed a book to read on the way to his first item. Has that spare tome.
I saw the extra book. I was like, yes, give me that utility Ori. Give me Ash Ori.
Would be fun, but not this time around. That's Null. Now playing in a long lane there in mid. Big Koro also here in the bot side has a Manamune charging up and the Iceborne done. Nice and cheap, of course, are the Ezreal items, so not too surprising. I imagine the goal between the two is somewhat equal. Now there are no objectives really on the map to easily take. It feels like the game is going to slow down a little bit, but Phong Vu have definitely bought the pace I expected, and Vega, to their credit, are actually answering relatively well. Null, though, is starting to really open up the game. True Shot Barrage and the Shock Blast almost made it a one-shot.
Okay, this is literally a game of dodgeball for Vega Squadron. Can the poke damage connect from the Buffaloes? If not, then they can just turn around with these big wombo combo ults. But the thing is you're then playing around timer. So if you look at Vega Squadron's comp, like, they are so reliant on long cooldowns on key ultimates to finish fights, whereas the Buffalo's composition, because those champions rotate through cooldown so quickly, the likes of Ezreal, of Zoe, of Jace, they're not reliant on big, long ultimates to decide fights. They can keep tempo a lot in this game. So Vega need to be really on point of when they pick their moments, because if it ever doesn't connect for them, there's going to be a much longer window while they're waiting for their ultimates to come back off of cooldown that Buffaloes will just throw punch after punch at them.
Well, when they did miss those first few punches, however, Boss actually just casually takes the top outer turret because Zeros was with his team trying to find that poke. Again, I get it, mid outer turret's a very important piece of the map to try and dismantle, but perhaps committing a little too much there in the situation, as the map will kind of move back to normalcy for a little while longer.
I think we're going to be in a farm state until, like you're saying, another big objective comes up. The most important objective on the map for Buffaloes here is going to be that mid tower. It's going to be really hard to break as long as Orianna has access to mana and is alive in the lane. And they don't have the same CC, so I'm actually looking at Meliodas. If they want to break mid lane tower, they really need this Gragas to threaten with the cask and possibly break or sweep her off the structure. But if Meliodas isn't paying attention to that lane, then Vega Squadron can stall out this game for a very long time by just having their mid lane tower stay alive.
Null also got the blue buff, so makes Operation Poke the mid tower that much easier. Also see that Santa's moving around quite a lot. Another good component to have if you're just trying to save someone from a Zoe bubble. TP down also from Big Cora to the bot lane, just returning to try and keep the pace up as far as farm goes.
I'm actually really surprised that Big Cora and Pallet returned towards the bot lane to just kind of trade farm here. I feel like we're tunneled in a little bit too much for the Buffaloes on finding these kills as opposed to prioritizing the objective. But here we go.
Yeah, no man's chunked again. But Ananasik already here to answer. Actually found Meliodas TP in from Vega. Arrow's going to land in as well, but Meliodas with a great stopwatch as Pallet swoops in with a hero's entrance. There's the ulti out of the way, but now Pallet's going to try and get out of there. No, instead they re-engage down for the assassination. PVB able to grab the carries. Orianna still alive, but Big Cora over the wall takes down the jungler. And Phong Buffalo just brute forcing their way through Vega.
And the thing is that Vega Squadron didn't find the engage. They didn't make it work with all of those big cooldowns. And once they were expended, you can see how the Buffalo's competition just immediately rolls over you. And it was the worst time to fall down right there. There are so many objectives that Buffaloes can take on the map. Is it going to be the mid tower? Looks like it's going to be the Baron.
They're going to make a go of it at least. 7 seconds till the buy is back up.
Oh, the indecision.
I think they've realized that maybe it's a bit early for this Baron.
But this is actually really indicative. If you want to talk about like nerves or the hype getting to them, the fact that they misread a call like that, where are we going? Are we taking the mid tower? Are we taking the Baron? And then in the end, they don't get either.
Oh, it's painful to watch for a VCS fan, but Vega lucky to get out with what they did here. The team fight, though, really nice from Phong Buffalo, despite the good engage.
Yeah, exactly. It's the fact that they think that they find a pick, they follow up the Vi ultimate with an attempted Ash Arrow, but it doesn't connect because of a nicely timed stopwatch. Now that you have all of these big cooldowns down, the flank, the pincher, the dodgeball, it all happens.
And Zeros, despite falling there, he knew his job there. Just go in, try and smash the carries. And the most dominant player in the VCS is starting to come alive, and the crowd is coming along with him.
So at least finding something right now, looking to step up towards this dragon.
They're going.
The cooldown is down.
Not going to get it, but Ananasik into the bounce house. That's going to be Meliodas dead, though, but PVB just unrelenting in their pressure. Ananasik will die. Zeros now still off to the side, but he's going to try and take down Nomads with him. The shot down from the Kens, but Null able to grab the Orianna instead as Boss going to get kited out by Big Cora, and he should fall as well. Rupture is good. The last Q won't quite connect, but Destroyer, there's nowhere to go. Last few autos make it happen, and that's an ace. Just barely for Phong Vu.
Gadget just now barely alive, does have access to the teleport, but this is just looking devastating. The only silver lining here for Vega Squadron is they did get the mountain, so 2 mountains and an ocean to their name as we take another look at that 1v1. And why is Gadget just walking down there when his team's on the dragon?
Hard to say, but again, Phong Buffalo knew that no matter what, they were going in for this play. And despite the fact that Ananasik dies trying to, Meliodas dies trying to steal it, the rest of the fight goes their way.
And visually, it's going to be very clear to see who wins these team fights just because of the nature of these competitions. If you see blue dots everywhere and they're just all over the screen, Phong Buffaloes have already won it. The amount or the ability of this type of competition to, again, just kind of rip everyone apart from the inside out. They layer and they whittle down with the poke, and then they jump in and just start snowballing around the fights. Versus Vega Squadron want very much a traditional front-to-back fight. You want your line of scrimmage set. You got red on one side, blue on the other.
Well, Zeros is kind of, you know, in feast or famine mode in some ways. He's making some great plays, some very aggressive ones, but it is costing him in the death column. Null, however, is the player that is stepping up on this Zoe. When his top side that's traditionally been very strong for the side has not been stepping up, he is landing with frightening accuracy these skill shots onto Vega.
And there's just too much to dodge, you know. Maybe you sidestep Null once, but then you get nailed by a shock blast. Maybe you're paying attention to Zeros, and so Null slips underneath the radar, and if one connects,
It's about Sanchez,
you're
because
dead.
that's why he's dead. Blue buff over to Zeros as well. Phong Vu Buffalo starting to get cooking here, up about 5,500 gold.
And Vega Squadron just need to reset. They need to shake it off. They need to figure out how to get back into control of this game and slow down the pace here, pump the brakes a little bit. And I think that does start with the vision game. And Santos needs to make sure that when he's playing that vision game, he's not playing it by himself and getting caught out like that.
There's a team, though, that does not want to slow down in this situation. It is Phong Vu. Even Meliodas just getting no man's out of there, does not want the shockwave to be a thing.
Now, one of the scary things is the only way to alleviate the pressure when Vega Squadron are kind of stuck under their tower like this is to pull the trigger for a hard engage. Because they have a Cho'Gath and because he's so far behind a very powerful Jace, you can't alleviate this pressure by trying to play a different point on the map.
Gadget, oh, you have to be careful. Shock Blast is good, but no, can't follow with the Q. But he's going to, again, keep throwing pot shots in the tower. PVB trying to finish this off.
Which just means that Vega Squadron need to pull the trigger before they lose too much of their health, which is why you can see Ashe standing into Fog of War trying to throw a blind arrow here. But I feel like PVB, they recognize that. They say, this is fine. We're in control of the game now. Slow it down. Zeros wants to back. He probably has a pretty big buy behind him. And we're just going to continue to play out this 1-4. We have all of our poke lined up. We're going to take pot shots at you underneath every single objective. And then Zeros can win a side lane, and eventually we'll either kill you or we'll take an objective.
So Vega, you said it already, double mounted and the Cho'Gath. They're going to go for the Turbo Baron here.
This is the Hail Mary play. They know that they can't get into another poke war.
They need to poke them though, but now Vega may be turning off. The Baron reset, so the attempt is done.
Oh, it's desperation.
Oh, Vikora, what a flash.
Oh.
Got chunked by the shockwave, but did not die.
Vega they're getting desperate. They don't have a shockwave. They're approaching the Baron again just because they want to try to zone people off. They're now cut away from where they need to be. You can see Ezreal preparing the wave in mid lane.
Santos and Boss just move out with the Abyssal Voyage. Null also going to take a recall. It does have Spellbook if he can swap to TP. If they want to go back in swiftly on this one.
And everyone, take a breath. They got really scary for a minute there for Vega Squadron fans. They know we can't get pushed out under our tower. We can't have extended poke wards with them. We either need to force an objective, get to an area, maybe set a trap, but this will be another situation that if Vega are back to their tower, they're going to just start throwing arrows, throwing shockwaves.
PVB building in strength. Zeros almost up to a Black Cleaver. It's his third item. And Null's actually done. Already finished his Zhonya's, his Banshees, and his Ludens with a 10-stack Dark Seal.
I actually think it's really important that Boss has also completed his Warmogs, so has the utility of the Righteous Glory, because again, the only way that Vega Squadron execute against this composition is through the hard engage, but because you are dealing with so much poke, and we have, you know, teams that are sitting on the map for a really long time, that Warmogs can give him so much value if he's able to over-sustain or out-sustain multiple iterations or multiple fights.
Let's block with your face. Ooh, Second Ocean actually... break out. That's dead. Meliodas able to find the snipe, but there's another stick in onto Zeros. He's forced to flash away. Null again trying to find it, but Gadget forced away as another stick does get the kill onto Zeros. However, Pallet, we're going to make the plays once again. He's got the flash, but he does not commit it. Null, look for the angles. Oh, we almost found Gadget with the bubble.
And it was another situation where every man for themselves. As soon as all of the ultimates went down, Vega Squadron like, we have to get out of here. Now, this should mean that the tower possibly falls. No Man's wants to wave clear, but it's just too dangerous. If he dies, it means so much more loss.
Can't face check Null. He's just so strong at this point. I mean, Zeros, he's making the aggressive plays. He's sacrificing himself for the better of his team at this point. They do take the turret.
Now, teleport is up and available for Boss. He can try to look for a TP. You see pinging on deep wards behind them.
Yeah,
there he goes.
Vega.
Gadget's coming with him too. This is a two-man teleport.
They can see it though. Boss in. There's Gadget though. Meliodas gonna find it up. A big Corey gonna try and cut it out of there. Stun onto Pallet. Meliodas goes in. He's gonna try and buy time. Here comes Zeros as well. Vega, you cannot kite out
Vega Squadron right now. If they want to go for the end, if they catch them, this can be game over. Series done right here. At very least, it's full Baron control.
PVB will take probably the most aggressive option presented to them, and right now that is going to be the Baron. Big Koro has already started it. There's even a controller in the back, so this is not a secret to Vega, but they can't face check here.
And I don't blame Vega Squadron for looking for that type of play. What I do blame is also putting the Ashe there. There was no reason to have your ADC land on top with your tank and then just instantly die.
And again, PVB make the aggressive play that gives them over the teamfight win. It gives them the Baron.
And I want people to pay attention also to where Meliodas is. He's on the back end and he's also sweeping out, so he knows he's not seen. So Gadget thinks he's safe, making this type of teleport play, and then bam, just smack down and completely disengage. That means all of the damage in the follow-up is lost, and now the team is split. The Shockwave doesn't connect with anyone, the Ashe Arrow wasn't followed up on, there was just nothing from Vega.
Yep, they lose their jungler and their tank in the top lane. That's Baron over to Phong Vu. About 8,000 gold ahead or so. They can see the win. Null started some heavier reading. He's got Magi's looking to stack it up even further.
And what a turnaround from the Buffaloes, especially on Null. You pointed it out, Pastry. This guy has just had a very up and down last two best of fives. Kind of mechanical mistake after mechanical mistake. And now picks up a very intensive champion like Zoe. 5-1-9 right now, is putting in the work, and not just him, but you know, it started with Zeros in the top lane. Big Koro also flexing on the likes of this Ezreal. Like, I don't know where they found their Wheaties, who gave them the locker room talk. It was the crowd that was just like, you know, getting behind them, that 6th man. But the Buffaloes have come back to play and are looking like we expected.
Well, still smashing down turrets despite the Drake deficit. They just have so much power to play with still. Gold Leaf's starting to get bigger. It's very close to 10k up now. Trying to do what they can with about 2 minutes left of Baron buff. Want to break some inhibitor turrets if they can. They've got the siege to do it.
And this is the terrifying situation. You take 2 pieces of poke, and it's basically over, and it just puts you on a clock. How long can you dodge for? How much can you survive before you just have to look for the engage?
And all over the wall again. Forces Santa's away. Also got Zeros in the mid lane, trying to get the minions shoved in.
All eyes on this Ashe Arrow, all eyes on the Shockwave.
Vega, when do you pick your moment? You probably want to save this tower if you can. You gotta go before you get poked out. Meliodas just with the ulti to try and zone them off and chunk Gadget a little bit.
I think that was a fear ultimate. He threw it out way too early.
I like that from Santos. Just picking up the Baron up cannon and saying, alright, that's out of there.
At this point, I think Vega Squadron will probably let the single inhib go. Losing 2 is really the nail in the coffin, but again, you're waiting for that Shockwave cooldown, so I like this. Hey, we didn't connect with the Shockwave, we can't fight them, let's try to hold on to our other key ultimates, and then just slow down how much of our base we're losing.
Progress falls asleep, but that's probably the one target you're okay with on the Vega side. So Inhibitor does eventually fall. PVB will stay out on the map. They've got an Ocean Drake that they might want to take away to prevent the triple in 20 seconds. For now, they'll at least go back and spend their money.
Would also help open up the possibility of an Elder. Just another objective for them to play around. Again, this comp really loves to play around when Vega Squadron want to hold like 1 point on the map, and then you've got all of these projectiles flying at you.
Drake is up. Meliodas will get some vision with the Scry's Bloom. Big Koro now with 4 items completed, actually on record pace to finish off his full build. He's gonna go do the Drake with his jungler. That should be forfeit. Not the most exciting Drake to pick up, but might as well grab it for yourself.
And it's just a breather moment here, as
haven't been many this game.
see how cleanly the Buffaloes can finish out what should be their game. Can never underestimate, again, the power of a well-placed wombo combo.
No Man's also getting cheeky, trying to find a carry and delay the push.
But it does feel like the Buffaloes can taste it. That they know that this is their game to lose, that they are so close to that group stage.
Can't just sleep, not gonna follow up. Good chunk of damage. And we have to just be a little bit more patient. Zeros getting the mid wave going. Boss is busy in the top lane with the supers. Don't think this tower's gonna last too long here for Vega. And the sweeping out as well. Again, denying what vision you can. It's already dangerous to face check when Zoe and Ezreal are out and about. You can't see, it's even more so.
And PVB doing a good job. Multiple sweepers going down, a lot of control wards. They're trying to make sure that their flanks are safe, that when they are approaching these structures to look for the siege, to look for the poke, that there's no crazy teleport coming in behind them. You check on the timers, you can see that Gadget and Boss's TPs are about to come off of cooldown. The Baron has worn out, so we could be possibly playing around the next timer, which is in 1 minute. And there's now another window where Vega have the opportunity to look for the sucker punch to get their foot back into the game, but I feel like that's almost like the last window. They get one more shot at this.
Meliodas even. He's going the AP build this time around. Actually now finishes Zhonya's. So everyone from Phong Vu very well equipped to fight around the Baron that's coming up in 45 seconds. And I feel like this Baron will be the make or break moment for this game. If Vega can find a way to steal it or somehow win a fight around it, then they get to keep playing. Actually, if they lose this Baron, I think the game's over.
I agree with you. I think it's really fun that he went for the AP Gragas, because I think when you're working with Null, even the Ezreal, like if one piece of that CC or that poke lands, like they're basically half health, and an AP Gragas drops a cask on you, the ability to assassinate someone from long range is actually really cool. Like, as a comp, this is really fun, but very hard to execute. I've been very impressed with how the Buffaloes have done it.
Yeah, you know, you talk kind of like dodgeball, having to dodge all these skill shots. The card's kind of like the critical hit ball that you throw it at the end to finish off your opponent.
You always see that one kid that just gets slammed in the face. That's what that Gragas cast does.
Again, just keep pushing the waves up. Baron is now up and alive, so PVB going to pick their spot once they've got the waves in positions they're happy with.
And you know, we haven't even talked about this. Buffaloes don't need the Baron to end this. They have so many ranged champions. Yeah, there's an abundance of wave clear, but you can starve out No Man's mana pool, if you'd like, or just whittle away with the poke and start to starve out some of these health bars. So I actually like this idea of, you know, we don't need Baron. That's kind of the one way that Vega would get back into this. Let's just try to exhaust them on this map.
Still got Inhib up for a minute as well, I think, which is a thing I'd forgotten. So Super Minion is now going to have to be dealt with by No Man's. That means they can keep pressuring around and throwing their skill shots in. Zeros actually stepping up to chunk down the turret, does a decent amount of damage to it. And Gadget is dodging well. No Man eats the cast from Meliodas. Big Korra gets slowed. Someone's fallen asleep. Oh, it's a minion. A melee creep slacking on the defense of this inhibitor tower.
Minions have feelings too, Pastry.
Well, better the melee creep than your carry at this point, most certainly. And looks like PVB decided that, alright, that's enough sieging for now. Inhibitor's coming back up, and this is a pretty straightforward two-man, although Hawkshot will spot it.
Anonastic
He's asleep.
Yeah, he's trying to get over
Wrong
the top.
time for a nap, buddy.
Him and Agent Santos, can they get into this pit?
They're going to try, and Noel's going to make sure they cannot. PVB actually pull off the objective to try and maybe force something here. I like this. Again, like you said, getting the Baron stolen is one of the few ways this game is wrested away from you.
But I feel like it's a bit too much, like, respect there. Maybe they're trying to buy time for Zeros on this side of the map. They are starting it up two-man again. But I think at some point, the Buffaloes just need to say that they're pulling the trigger.
Palin may be caught out here, but it's actually going to flash out to safety. All over the top, forces the Devour out of Santa's. Here comes Zeros. Good chunk, but not quite enough. Inhibitor's back up again, so Vega have to worry about that entry point into their base. Phong Vu Buffalo will actually reset. Elder Dragon up in 20 seconds. Now the map has two major monsters to play around.
This is interesting, though. Vega could just walk up to this and try to very quickly burn it. This is still a double mountain, double ocean team with the Cho'Gath. So playing around the Elder might just overcomplicate things for Buffalo because they can't just leave the Baron unattended. The ability for Vega to just burn down that objective, or the Elder if they choose so, is pretty massive. This feels like a game of juggle that Buffalo really shouldn't want to play.
And as predicted, this game has gone much longer than our last goal, almost 37 minutes in, and Vega are at least going to tap the dragon. Pallet can see them, so he knows what's going on, but this dies very quickly.
Yeah, look how it's burning.
I mean, they've got so much damage already. They've got the secure. They will grab it. Now they're going to run and not get picked off, and Zeros actually is assaulting the base. Maybe PVB can stop some backs, but they're just running straight towards him.
This is one of those scenarios. You're going to look back at these type of intense decisions. What was the clutch call? Was it the right call to give away an Elder? Because eventually, Buffaloes will have to go through this team to get to the base.
The minions!
They're so strong.
Really clutch bubble there by Nor, although Zeros has overstayed for this. It's not going to matter at this point. He's going to lose his GM. I mean, PVB are going to try and force here. They actually get the combo in onto the Cho'Gath boss. He's going to fall down. I think it's close to Stoneplate Pop, but if not enough to keep his life. And now Orianna forced to insta-cleanse. They're going to try and force them out of the base here. Already one inhib gotten. They've broken the towers almost everywhere but the Nexus.
Oh no.
Big Koro is on point. Buffeted out of the shockwave twice now. PVB aren't stopping either. They say, we don't have a Jace, you don't have a Cho'Gath. No one can really sustain this poke. Gadget certainly cannot. Crucial barrage in, that's going to force the Devour. PVB moving in forward, going to take this inhibitor. Vega running out of health to play with here. They just cannot tank this poke for too much longer.
And they run out of cooldowns to play with. As soon as that shockwave went down, Buffaloes were given the confidence to step back forward. It's now 2 inhibitors taken away. Like you said, it was a clutch bubble. It was an even worse shockwave though. As soon as that shockwave was down, you knew that it was going to be the mid inhib. This is the last leg for Vega.
We've got 1 inhib left to defend, 2 Nexus turrets, and the final structure all remaining on the table. Phong Buffalo fancy themselves something around the Baron. Nanasik over the wall, looking for big Koro, but that flash wasted.
And even if he finds Big Koro, he has a GA. For the safety that Ezreal has, access to his flash, his E, the GA, I don't know if you can kill him without burning multiple ultimates. And then what do? There's so many damage threats on that team. That's an AP Gragas.
And now Zeros with a QSS, almost finished full build, level 18, pushing the side lane with the stolen enemy blue buff. Elder Dragon's about to wear off. Didn't help much versus the poke anyway, unfortunately for Vega.
And it looks like now we're going to play the map Baron game for Buffalo. They weren't confident enough to close out the Baron play on a single inhib. They now have 2 inhibs to play around.
But you can't go, because I think Zeros will end the game if you commit too much to the left side of the map. And he knows it too. He's just sticking in the side lane.
Very tough decision for Vega Squadron. A rock in a hard place. They get, one mom spaghetti to make this one work.
One control that's starting to be erased from Vega's jungle. They have lost almost all vision around this Baron. In fact, PvP say that's enough. Hawkshot is really nice from Gadget. Again, that utility helping out a ton here.
Look how they've done their lane assignments. They have the Abyssal Voyage with Orianna to quickly get here, and they're making sure that Boss is near the pit. He has Flash, he has Feast. The call is clear from Vega. They want to try to Feast steal this unless they catch out a fight.
TP in from Zeros, so they're going to try and take the jungle, but as you said, they still got the Feast, even if an Anasik dies. He's got the GA, Abyssal Voyage in. They're going to try and start a team fight here. Santos, though, too far forward, and Anasik still caught out of position. Big Koro cleanses out of the big arrow, and Milanes finds 2. Going to look to knock them back into stasis. There's the neck down, and Anasik will fall after the hero's entrance. Boss will be forfeit as well, and PVB might not need the Baron to end this game.
It's just 3 members alive. Can they hold against?
Gadget, goodbye! That's game, PVB! It looks like they have done it. Vega can only run away from this point as PVB will surge into the base to end the game. Santa's force, Nomad's the only one left alive as PVB will push the final minions in towards the Nexus.
And all the analysts just wanted is they wanted to see Zeros. This is who they came to see on that Jace, and they finally got him. The ace comes through, and the Buffaloes are charging towards the Nexus.
They will earn their place on the mid-season's biggest stage in front of their home crowd. Phong Buffalo fought so hard to get here, but they will take the final spot in MSI groups.
And you can hear that crowd behind them. A little dance of victory, the 6th man that somehow pulled the Buffaloes out of their tailspin in those game 3 and 4.
3 more games than that crowd would have wanted. For the Phong Buffalo pull it out in the end.